the dignity of the heavenly Khan. Clearing his throat awkwardly, he shot a glare at Li Yu. That was merely my protective instincts as a husband. Besides, at that time, I had never seen such a miraculous object. How could I know whether you were human or ghost? Ignorance is no crime. Mention this again, and I shall deduct your salary. Empress Zhongsun stifled a laugh in the back row, her eyes glimmering with nostalgia. Indeed, at that time, Erlang was truly frightened, cornering Yue against the wall. However, upon later seeing the photograph in which I appeared so resplendent, Erlang rushed to capture more images, striking several imposing poses. Guanyin maid. Li Shimin exclaimed in exasperation, have some consideration for me. Once they embraced the notion of refraining from soul absorption, these individuals became utterly unhinged. Li Tai discovered the video function, discreetly aiming the lens at Li Changqian, who was crouched in a corner, picking his nose. Big brother, he chuckled lewdly. Li Changqian abruptly turned around, only to find Li Tai grinning mischievously at him, the screen displaying a close-up of his unseemly act. You wretched glutton, what are you doing? Li Changqian fumed, lunging to seize the phone. Dare you capture my disgraceful manner? Are you intending to show it to father? This is a record of the truth. It is the historian's duty. Li Tai exclaimed while dodging. Father, save me. Big brother aims to silence me. The back of the carriage descended into chaos. The little one in the middle clapping and laughing. A fight. A fight. Li Shimin turned with a dark expression, barking, silence. If you continue this racket, I shall cast you down to feed that iron tiger. At the Xi'an International Medical Center, due to Li Yu's financial prowess, the medical team had already lined up in the VIP corridor to welcome them. Mr. Li, I presume? I am Director Liu, a shrewd-looking middle-aged doctor, adorned with gold-rimmed glasses. Approached. He glanced at the group clad in traditional attire, a flicker of realization crossing his eyes as he recognized the wealthy cosplayers. They were ushered into the VIP ward, the environment refreshing their perceptions anew. The walls were pristine white, the floors polished to a mirror sheen, and unfamiliar instruments emitted rhythmic beeping sounds. A faint scent of disinfectant permeated the air. When a nurse approached with a syringe, the Supreme Emperor erupted. Boldly insolent, Li Yuan recoiled his frail arm. Eyes wide with fury. You dare to pierce me with a needle? The nurse trembled in fright. Li Yu quickly restrained Li Yuan. Grandfather, remain calm. This is not sorcery. It is a blood test, to ascertain whether there are parasites in your body. How else will we know if you can indulge in lamb? Do you not desire all-you-can-eat hot pot? For the sake of lamb, Li Yuan gritted his teeth, closing his eyes with a tragic countenance. As if he were headed to the gallows. Very well. Be gentle. I fear the pain. In the radiology department, Li Chengqian was brought to the entrance of the CT room. Upon witnessing the enormous, circular machine emitting a low hum, he trembled uncontrollably. Brother Yu, Li Chengqian's voice quavered, gripping the wheelchair tightly. Is this truly not the elixir furnace of the supreme old man? Does that opening not resemble the maw of a beast? Will I be transformed into a pill if I enter? Is that buzzing sound not the three mystical fires within? The imaging doctor nearby chuckled. Young man, your imagination is quite vivid. This is merely an oversized camera designed to capture images of bones. Just lie inside for a minute. It is neither painful nor itchy. Trembling, Li Chengqian gingerly lay down. As the crimson laser beam swept across his body, he tightly shut his eyes, fervently muttering, Amitabha, Jade Emperor, Father, save me. Brother Yu Wang, rescue me. The doctor was preparing to attach electrode pads to Li Shimin's chest. Li Shimin, observing the pads connected by wires, furrowed his brows and inquired, is this a thunderous technique? Are you attempting to summon heavenly lightning into my heart? I am the true dragon of the heavens, unafraid of lightning strikes. The doctor interjected, my dear sir, please refrain from dramatics. This is merely to monitor your heart's rhythm. Relax and take a deep breath. 2 hours later, in the VIP conference room, Director Liu held a thick stack of reports, his expression growing grave. Adjusting his glasses, he initiated his dual role as a professional physician and commercial promoter. Mr. Li, esteemed family members, he gestured to the various graphs displayed on the screen. The situation is more complex than anticipated. He first pointed to Li Yuan, Li Shimin, and Li Tai. Your family's genetic predisposition is remarkably potent. This is a classic case of familial hypertension syndrome, essentially a precursor to a stroke, as per traditional Chinese medicine. The elder gentleman's condition is particularly perilous. He suffers from severe hypertension, with multiple arterial plaques in his cerebral blood vessels. To put it plainly, the pipes in his brain are nearing blockage. This explains his frequent dizziness and irritable temperament. As for you, sir, he continued, addressing Li Shimin, though you are in your prime, your blood pressure is already at the critical threshold. Coupled with your chronic insomnia and anxiety, your heart is under immense strain. The electrocardiogram indicates premature beats. This is a ticking time bomb, as the 40s present a significant turning point. And this young lad, he remarked, gesturing towards the chubby boy, is grappling with severe obesity and insulin resistance. If he continues down this path, diabetes before 30 and coronary heart disease by 40 are inevitable. His blood vessels are already clogged with fat. Li Shimin, drenched in cold sweat, realized that this was the so-called wind disease, the nightmare that had plagued the Li family for generations, now laid bare before them. After delivering this disheartening news, a professional smile re-emerged on Director Liu's face. However, since you are here at our center, these issues are surmountable. My recommendation is to enroll in our comprehensive VIP inpatient program. We offer a Royal Supreme Life Management package, lasting 1 month, with all-inclusive care. This encompasses imported thrombolytic medications and hyperbaric oxygen therapy, tailored meals by professional nutritionists, and personal trainers for weight loss. The cost, while steep, is 180,000 for all 6 individuals. Yet, health is priceless, wouldn't you agree? Li Yuan's eyes sparkled with intrigue. Rejuvenation? A decade younger? This is the work of celestial beings. Erlang, let us proceed. Bring forth the treasury. No, the funds must be gathered. Li Shimin, too, felt tempted. 180,000? While unsure of the currency's value, it sounded formidable. If it could save a life, he would spare no expense. Li Yu, seated in a swivel chair, tossed a segment of orange into his mouth and spoke with a calm demeanor. Director Liu, the theatrics are excessive. Let us cease. We have no time to waste. We have only 3 days. After 3 days, we must depart Xi'an and return home. Therefore, I require no rehabilitation plan nor extensive examinations. What I seek is a diagnosis followed by management. The surgery must be minimally invasive, performed today, with a discharge tomorrow. The medication must be of the highest quality. Sufficient for 6 months, and portable. Regarding my brother, Li Chengqian's leg, there is a special request. We absolutely cannot use steel plates. Due to the lack of conditions for a secondary extraction surgery, I urge you to perform the most meticulous minimally invasive debridement, thoroughly cleansing the necrotic tissue, and then applying the finest imported external fixation, one that is lightweight and breathable, and can be removed by ourselves after 3 months. As for the payment, I am willing to pay double the VIP standard. Is this feasible? Chapter 59. The entire Li family, our patient's Director Liu was momentarily taken aback. He had not anticipated that this young man was so knowledgeable and forthright. He quickly calculated in his mind. Although the hospitalization fee was reduced by 1.8 million, the double treatment fee, along with the premium imported medications and surgical costs for 6 individuals over 6 months, along with consumables, still amounted to several hundred thousand, a substantial order. With a short cycle and quick returns, it can be done. Director Liu immediately became decisive. Since Mr. Li was pressed for time, we will utilize the emergency green channel and make special arrangements. Now, I will provide a detailed interpretation of the diagnostic results. Please prepare yourselves mentally. He picked up the laser pointer, illuminated the screen, and commenced a physical examination that transcended millennia. First, let us discuss the hereditary illnesses within this family. Director Liu directed the laser pointer towards Li Yuan, Li Shimin, Li Tai, and Li Chengqian. This is a classic case of familial hypertension syndrome, commonly referred to in traditional Chinese medicine as a stroke-prone constitution. Your vascular walls are more fragile than those of the average person and are more susceptible to the accumulation of debris. Old master, this is your carotid artery angiography. Director Liu pointed to several prominent bulges. Observe here and here. These are atherosclerotic plaques. To put it simply, the supply pipes in your brain are on the verge of being clogged by sediment. Li Yuan trembled with fear, his beard quivering. What will happen if they become clogged? Should you experience emotional agitation or a spike in blood pressure, the plaques may dislodge, leading to a cerebral infarction. If a blood vessel ruptures, it would result in a cerebral hemorrhage. Your frequent dizziness, numbness in your hands, and irritable temperament are manifestations of insufficient blood supply to the brain. Li Yuan's complexion turned pale, his teacup trembling in his hand. Does this mean I am beyond saving? There is hope. Director Liu presented a plan. Over the next 3 days, we will administer intravenous therapy with a potent thrombolytic agent to clear the blood vessels. However, the key is to take Xinxin daily, without fail, along with aspirin to prevent thrombosis. As long as you adhere to the medication schedule, manage your blood pressure, abstain from alcohol, limit your intake of fatty meats, such as lamb, and consume more vegetables. Living to 80 or 90 should not pose a problem. Upon hearing he could live to 90, Li Yuan was overjoyed, but his expression soured at the mention of reducing lamb consumption. Next, Director Liu directed the laser pointer at Li Shimin's electrocardiogram. Sir, although you appear young and energetic, your heart is already under significant strain, teetering on the brink of hypertension, accompanied by notable arrhythmia. This indicates that your heart has been operating under high load for an extended period. Do you often stay up late? Are you anxious? Easily angered? Do you have a penchant for sweets? And do you insist on handling everything yourself? Li Shimin's body tensed. You are spot on. This is a ticking time bomb. Director Liu stated bluntly. Without intervention, you will face a critical juncture in your 40s or 50s. Once it detonates, the likelihood of a sudden cerebral hemorrhage is high. This affliction progresses swiftly, leaving little time for farewell words. Li Shimin listened, drenched in cold sweat. So this is what a stroke feels like. This is the nightmare that has haunted the Li family for generations, claiming the names of many beloved relatives. It turns out that it is not some curse from the supernatural, but rather an issue within the blood vessels. Dr. Li Shimin's voice was somewhat hoarse. Can I still be treated? He asked. Yes, nodded Director Liu. With medication, we can manage it. The disease may not be eradicated, but with lifelong medication, one can live as normally as anyone else. The most crucial aspect is one's mindset. Avoid anger, refrain from staying up late, and do not shoulder all burdens alone. You are a human, not a deity. Li Shimin fell silent. Avoiding anger? Not shouldering responsibilities? Such notions are exceedingly difficult for an emperor. Yet, gazing at his wife and children beside him, he nodded solemnly. As for this little chubby one, Director Liu shook his head, pointing at the lab report. Severe obesity, insulin resistance, elevated uric acid levels. This is a classic case of metabolic syndrome. Though he appears lively now, if he continues this way, he will certainly face diabetes before turning 30, and by 40, coronary heart disease. His blood vessels are already clogged with fat. Li Tai recoiled in fright. What should we do? Medication? Medication is merely an aid. Director Liu chuckled lightly. The key is to control your diet and exercise. When you return, I will provide you with a weight loss meal plan, consisting entirely of vegetables. You must run 5 kilometers daily, or prepare to be in a wheelchair by 30. The lady, Director Liu turned to Empress Changsun, softening his tone. Your lung function is severely compromised, only at half the capacity of an average person. Allergic asthma, coupled with early emphysema from prolonged exertion, means that exposure to cold air, willow fluff, or pollen will cause bronchial spasms, resulting in suffocation. This condition can indeed be life-threatening, but it is treatable. He presented a small blue L-shaped device. This is a salbutamol inhaler. When you feel tightness in your chest, spray it into your mouth, and within 3 seconds, your airways will expand. This is a life-saving tool. Additionally, there is this budesonide, to be inhaled twice daily for lung health. Empress Changsun accepted the lightweight vial as if it were a precious treasure. The respiratory affliction that had troubled her for years, causing her immense suffering akin to drowning during episodes, could be alleviated by this diminutive item. At this moment, however, Li Shimin was most concerned about his youngest daughter. He interjected anxiously, "Doctor, what about my daughter? Does she have hypertension? Any heart issues?" Director Lu glanced at the report and smiled. This is quite peculiar. Statistically, with both parents at risk, the probability of inheritance is high, yet this little girl has completely normal blood pressure, even slightly low. She has not inherited hypertension. Li Shimin exhaled deeply, his tense body relaxing as if he might collapse to the ground. Heaven bless my child. Heaven bless my child. It is a hard life for her, as long as she is free from this ailment. However, Director Lu's expression turned serious as he continued. Though she does not have hypertension, her immune system is exceedingly weak. Her immunoglobulin levels are alarmingly low. To put it metaphorically, her body resembles a city without walls. Unguarded by soldiers, any bacteria or virus can waltz in. She is like a fragile porcelain doll, unable to withstand any strain or cold. A common cold, which others might simply remedy with water, could escalate into severe pneumonia or even heart failure in her case. Li Shimin's heart raced with anxiety. What should be done? Over the next 3 days, I will administer the finest human albumin and immunoglobulin. This is akin to enlisting an elite mercenary force within her body. It will safeguard her health for 6 months. The medications to be taken home primarily consist of high-protein nutritional powder and a variety of vitamins. It is imperative to nurture her carefully and ensure she does not catch a chill. Finally, Director Lu's gaze settled on Li Changxian, who sat nervously in a wheelchair. A clear and terrifying 3D reconstruction of a leg bone appeared on the screen. Young man, I can clearly see the condition of your leg. Observe here. The fracture has not healed properly. The bone has grown crooked, forming a false joint. Moreover, there is a shadow in the medullary cavity, indicating chronic osteomyelitis, which means there are pus-filled cavities in your bone, continually festering and eroding your healthy bone tissue. Li Changxian trembled as he gazed at the image, akin to an X-ray. He had perused medical texts and understood the implications. Osteomyelitis, which in ancient times was deemed a terminal illness, often necessitating amputation for survival. Is this truly osteomyelitis? Li Changxian's voice quivered. Yes, but in medical terminology, this is referred to as a routine orthopedic procedure. Director Lu replied casually, as if discussing the weather. He produced a pen and gestured on the screen. We 1T need to incise the entire leg. I will create 3 small openings here, here, and here. A miniature camera and curette will be inserted to cleanse the pus and necrotic bone. Then, we will implant artificial bone powder and realign the bone. Given your circumstances, we will avoid internal fixation and instead use domestically produced polymer plaster for stabilization. Polymer plaster? Li Tai's eyes brightened as he interjected. What is that? How does it compare to traditional plaster? It is 100 times lighter than clay sculpture, and once dried, it is harder than ordinary plaster while being breathable and waterproof. Director Lu casually explained before continuing to Li Changxian. The surgery will only take 2 hours. We will perform it this afternoon, observe you tomorrow, and you can be discharged the day after. After discharge, you will need to take antibiotics for 6 months and use a wheelchair for 3 months to allow the bone to heal. After 3 months, you may use a blunt object or scissors to gently break apart or cut the plaster. By then, your bone will have healed, and you will be able to stand, walk, and even jog. Director Lu paused, gazing into Li Changxian's eyes, filled with longing, and solemnly made a promise. While you may not be able to compete as a professional athlete in a marathon, playing soccer and horseback riding will be entirely feasible. You will lead a normal life. Really? Li Changxian lifted his head, gripping the armrests of the wheelchair tightly, oblivious to his nails breaking. Tears blurred his vision as he trembled, repeatedly confirming, I really won't need to have my leg amputated? Just 3 days? I can really ride a horse? Indeed. Director Lu affirmed with a nod. This is a procedure that has been perfected, with a success rate of 99%. In that moment, the once gloomy and tempestuous crown prince of the Tang dynasty burst into tears like a child, covering his face as years of pent-up grievances and despair erupted. All right, enough with the tears. Li Yu approached, gently patting Li Changxian on the shoulder, offering him a tissue. Gao Ming, I have told you, this is nothing. Wipe away your tears, you still need to sign later. Witnessing this scene, Li Shimin felt his eyes welling up. He abruptly rose, adjusting his attire, and bowed deeply to Director Lu, expressing the most sincere gratitude of a father and the highest respect of an emperor towards a masterful physician. Doctor, you are a miraculous healer. If you can restore Gao Ming's legs and save Guanyin Bai and IS lives, I shall reward you handsomely. Please no? Director Lu hastily supported Li Shimin. Brother, you mustn't do this. It overwhelms me. This is science, not sorcery. We are merely craftsmen repairing the body. A craftsman, Li Shimin murmured, his eyes filled with astonishment. To be able to mend the creations of nature is indeed to be a divine craftsman. All right, Director Lu, Li Yu interjected, pulling out a black card and placing it on the table. Let us proceed with the payment. I desire the finest of all medications. All surgical supplies must be top tier. 6 individuals, a 6-month supply, fully prepared. Director Liu accepted the card, his eyes narrowing into a gleeful slit. Certainly, I will arrange everything for you. The surgery is scheduled for 2 o'clock this afternoon. Chapter 60. The golden robe of black BYD Tang sauntered into a tranquil upscale villa area amidst the hustle and bustle, shaded by verdant trees. The villa's nestled within lush gardens, with Nanhu Park not far off, the air infused with the moistness of the lake and the fragrance of foliage. The car came to a steady stop before the ornate wrought iron gate of a 3-story villa. Liu was the first to alight from the vehicle. He walked to the back seat, carefully unfolded the wheelchair, and assisted the immobile Li Changqian, whose legs were encased in a high polymer cast, as he descended. Take it slow, Gao Ming. Don't exert your legs, Liu advised. Seated in the wheelchair, Li Changqian, despite the heavy white shell encasing his legs, appeared unusually spirited. He gazed at the uniquely designed house, adorned with grand floor-to-ceiling windows and a private garden, his eyes brimming with wonder. Shortly thereafter, Li Shimin supported Li Yuan, while Empress Changsun held the pouting little Zizi, still sulking from an injection, and Li Tai carried various bags of medicine and snacks like a porter. Is this house truly 3 stories? Li Yuan looked up at the villa. Though it lacked the grandeur of a palace, it exuded a certain elegance. What kind of stone is used for these walls? They are so smooth. Before Li Yu could introduce this meticulously selected short-term rental luxury home, the group was captivated by a sight at the opposite side of the entrance. Outside the villa's grand iron gate, 7 or 8 electric vehicles of various designs were parked neatly. Next to them stood a group of individuals clad in strikingly bright yellow uniforms, donning matching helmets. Some were engrossed in their phones, while others carried insulated bags of various sizes towards the entrance. The sea of bright yellow shimmered in the sunset, appearing particularly dazzling and prestigious. Li Shimin, who had initially been striding toward the door, halted abruptly, his brow furrowed deeply, his expression a mix of confusion and a hint of offended anger. You err, he said in a lowered voice, pointing at the group. Who are these people? How dare they don such bright yellow? In the Tang dynasty, yellow is the color reserved for royalty, a symbol of the Son of Heaven. The hues of ochre and bright yellow, garments reserved solely for the emperor, are deemed inappropriate for commoners. To don them is an act of usurpation. This ostentatious assembly, parading through the streets in clusters, hardly resembles officials. Could they be imperial envoys instead? Li Tai edged closer, murmuring softly. Or perhaps they are the private soldiers of some influential figure. Li Yu, preoccupied with verifying his mobile orders, let out a bemused laugh upon hearing this. He approached and accepted the heavy bag handed over by the delivery rider, chuckling. Dear uncle, relax a bit and turn off your imperial radar. This is a Matewan delivery person, essentially a modern-day steward for meal deliveries. I've mentioned before, we live in contemporary times. There are no stringent dress codes anymore. Li Yu gestured towards the charming ear decorations of the departing riders. In this era, as long as one possesses wealth, don't even speak of yellow garments. One could stroll through the streets clad in a dragon robe without a soul batting an eye. This is what we call freedom of attire. Moreover, in modernity, this yellow is referred to as a safety color. Its conspicuousness ensures visibility on the bustling roads, reducing the risk of vehicular accidents. This is merely a commercial color scheme, devoid of any connection to imperial authority. Li Shimin observed the riders bustling about, delivering bags to Li Yu, cheerfully exclaiming, enjoy your meal, before swiftly departing, some even lamenting about exceeding their delivery time while on the go. Their industriousness and lively demeanor bore no resemblance to the solemnity of royal decorum. A realization dawned on Li Shimin, and he nodded thoughtfully, his furrowed brow gradually easing. It seemed that this once revered yellow had, in later generations, become the color of service, adopted for safety. Perhaps this reflects a benevolent governance. Yet, despite his words, an incongruity lingered in his heart. After a lifetime of wearing yellow solely for himself, witnessing a throng adorned in it felt oddly disconcerting. Enough with the color analysis. I'm nearly fainting from hunger. Li Yu exclaimed, his hands laden with 4 hefty bags of takeout, the tantalizing aroma wafting through the seams of the insulated bags. Invading his senses. Let us hurry indoors. This meal is a splendid showcase of Chinese culinary delights. For this feast, I've sampled half the fine establishments in Xi'an. The villa, adorned in a new Chinese style, featured redwood furniture and ink-wash background walls, harmoniously complemented by central air conditioning and a grand LCD television. This setting, rich in modern convenience yet steeped in ancient charm, evoked a sense of novelty and familiarity among the guests from the Tang dynasty, alleviating any feelings of estrangement. Li Yu meticulously arranged all the takeout boxes on the immense solid wood round table in the dining room. Having just undergone health examinations, some guests with hypertension and others who had recently undergone minimally invasive procedures were advised by doctors to adhere to a bland diet, low in oil and salt. However, glancing at the medical advice and then at the ravenous faces of his ancient companions, Li Yu inwardly cursed, to hell with blandness. They've come all this way. They can't subsist on boiled cabbage for 3 days, can they? Besides, they've got their medications. Let them enjoy life to the fullest. Thus, he ordered an array of hearty dishes. Except for omitting lamb to accommodate Li Yuan, everything else was rich in flavor and color. As each lid was lifted, a robust aroma instantly filled the entire dining room. Beijing roast duck, complete set 2 glossy, chestnut-hued ducks, already sliced into neat, leaf-like pieces. Lotus leaf pancakes are as thin as a cicada's wing, with strands of green onion and cucumber glistening like emeralds, and a thick, glossy sweet bean sauce. The sour fish dish features snow-white slices of black fish floating in a golden, tangy broth, adorned with vibrant red chili peppers and Sichuan peppercorns. Its aroma tantalizing the senses and making one's mouth water. The crispy fried pork, golden and crunchy, is enveloped in a sweet and sour sauce, exuding an enticing vinegar fragrance. The Xinjiang big plate chicken, though not ordered with extra spice, still boasts a rich broth, bright red chilies, tender potatoes, and wide belt noodles, embodying the bold spirit of the western regions. The mapo tofu, swimming in a pool of red oil, features tender tofu and fragrant minced beef, topped with a sprinkle of Sichuan pepper, making it a delightful accompaniment to rice. The stir-fried lettuce and baby cabbage, the only mild representatives on the table, are nonetheless sautéed in pork lard, imparting an irresistible aroma. A large platter of cold vegetarian dishes, bean curd sticks, kelp strips, boiled peanuts, and marinated lotus root, was specially ordered by Li Yu as a snack, despite the absence of alcohol today. Most notably, Li Yu bought a large bag of snacks exclusively for the little one, filled with an assortment of fish-shaped treats, Wangzai steamed buns, strawberry pocky, zizalong jelly, and a bottle of AD calcium milk with a straw. The little one, having received an injection earlier in the afternoon, was sulking, pouting her lips in discontent as she sat on a high stool, her arms crossed defiantly, grumbling, "Bad pot. Deceived me into getting a shot. It hurt. I won't talk to you." Li Yu, smiling, presented the cheerful AD calcium milk to her, really ignoring it. "This is milk that fairies drink, sweet and tangy. One sip and the pain will vanish." The little one's nose twitched, catching the alluring scent of milk. She furtively glanced, then quickly turned away, only to swiftly return her gaze. Ultimately, the allure of the food triumphed over her pride. With a slurp, she clutched the straw and took a hearty sip. The sweet and tangy flavor instantly captivated her, and the delightful texture lit up her big eyes like stars. Chapter 61. A lesson learned delicious. The little one beamed, clutching the milk bottle, her previous grievances forgotten. "Humph, for the sake of the delicious milk, I forgive the pot, but I still want that little fish snack." The family gathered around the table. Li Tai and Empress Changsun flanked the immobile Li Changqian, whose legs rested on a specially designed support. Though unable to move, he appeared to be in good spirits. As Li Yu distributed disposable bamboo chopsticks, Li Shimin had examined one closely, admiring its smoothness. Finding it even more refined than those in the palace, he began to announce the dishes like a server. "This is Peking duck, a dish destined to become a national banquet staple. There is an art to its consumption." Li Yu picked up a lotus leaf pancake, placed 2 slices of skin-on duck meat within, dipped it in sweet bean sauce, added a few strands of green onion and cucumber, and expertly rolled it into a small wrap. "Here, second uncle, do give it a try." Li Shimin, not one to stand on ceremony, accepted the exquisite little roll and took a hearty bite. Crunch. The duck skin crackled between his teeth, the meat was tender, the bean sauce sweet and savory, the green onion sharp, and the cucumber refreshing. A symphony of flavors burst in his mouth, rich yet not greasy, filling the air with an intoxicating aroma. Li Shimin's eyes widened in disbelief as he hastened his chewing. How could this duck possess not a hint of the usual gaminess? The skin was as crisp as glass, melting in the mouth. Swallowing his morsel, he gazed longingly at the platter. "I have consumed numerous ducks, primarily steamed or boiled, never realizing they could be savored in such a manner. How is the skin roasted to such perfection?" Li Yu explained, "This is Peking duck, roasted over fruitwood charcoal." Meanwhile, Li Yuan had fixated on the bowl of sauerkraut fish. Throughout his life, he had indulged in lamb, which had long since lost its charm. The tender fish fillets, glistening in the golden broth, appeared refreshing and appetizing. "Grandfather, do try this. It is sauerkraut fish, mildly spicy and quite invigorating." Li Yu ladled him a bowl, generously adding extra broth, cautioning, "Be careful, it's hot." Li Yuan trembled as he picked up a piece of fish. "No bones?" he inquired, astonished. In the Tang dynasty, the greatest fear when consuming fish was the risk of bones, leading nobles to prefer sashimi over substantial boiled fish. "These are black fish fillets, devoid of small bones. You may eat with ease." Li Yuan placed the morsel in his mouth. Sour, fresh, tender, silken. The tangy broth instantly awakened the elderly gentleman's dulled appetite. The fish slipped down without requiring mastication. Delicious. This fish surpassed the heavy, earthy broths of the imperial kitchen by 100-fold. Li Yuan took 2 hearty sips of the sour broth, beads of sweat forming on his brow, yet he felt an overwhelming sense of comfort. Setting down his bowl with a deep sigh, he looked at Li Shimin and remarked, "My dear Erlang, I once believed that the finest delicacy in the world was a whole roasted lamb. Now, having tasted the exquisite flavors of this era, I realize I was but a frog at the bottom of a well. If I could savor such delights daily, I would gladly forego lamb forever." Grandfather speaks truly. Li Tai, engrossed in devouring sweet and sour pork, stuffed his cheeks to the brim, resembling a chipmunk. This meat is sweet, a delightful tang. How is it that our great Tang only knows to use vinegar and salt? The exterior is crispy, and the interior is juicy. Oh, what bliss!" Though Li Chengqian's legs were immobile, his appetite was robust. Empress Zhangsun attentively served him a piece of potato from the large plate of chicken. "Try this potato, my dear. Yuer claims it is the auspicious harvest we have sown." Li Chengqian lifted the piece, saturated with the rich, red chicken broth and softened to a tender consistency, into his mouth. With a gentle bite, the potato disintegrated, releasing a fragrant starchiness that mingled delightfully with the meat's essence, filling his palate. The combination of potato and chicken offered a wholly unique flavor. A flash of astonishment crossed his eyes, not solely from the exquisite taste, but from the significance of this dish. Such deliciousness and abundant yield. If the common folk could dine on this, it would truly be a blessing for the realm, he mused. At the dining table, warmth enveloped the atmosphere, filled with laughter and joy. The formality of the palace, where food was consumed in silence and decorum, was cast aside, as everyone eagerly reached for dishes, sharing opinions and delight. Li Yu, holding a bottle of cola, rose to address the family. Come, dear ones. Though the doctor advises caution, today we celebrate. We shall return to moderation later. Tonight, let us discuss only the pleasures of life, not state affairs. Cheers. Cheers. 7 cups clinked together, producing a crisp sound. In that warm familial setting, Li Shimin momentarily felt that even without the title of emperor, leading the life of a wealthy gentleman, cherishing his wife and children by the warm hearth, could indeed be a splendid existence. Time flowed swiftly. An hour later, the sumptuous dishes had been nearly devoured. Even the broth from the sauerkraut fish had been used by Li Tai to soak rice, and the plate of big chicken had been wiped clean by Li Chengxian with steamed buns. However, a dilemma arose. Li Yu, concerned that everyone might not be satiated. After all, the people of the Tang dynasty had substantial appetites, had intentionally procured an abundance of staple food. He had purchased 6 bowls of rice and 12 northern steamed buns. Now, the dishes were gone, yet 3 bowls of rice and 2 buns remained. This was rather commonplace. In contemporary dining, staples often play a supporting role. As Li Yu began to clear the table, he casually picked up the remaining 2 buns and 3 boxes of cold rice, preparing to toss them into the trash. These leftovers could not be taken home. Having turned cold, better to discard them than let them spoil. This was the mindset of modern individuals. Wasting a few coins on food was no great concern. However, suddenly stop. A sharp exclamation startled Li Yu, causing his hand to tremble. He turned to see Li Shimin standing up, his eyes, still glistening with oil, filled with seriousness. What do you intend to do? Li Shimin pointed at Li Yu's hand. Li Yu, bewildered, replied, I'm throwing away the garbage. There's no use for these leftovers. Throw them away. Li Shimin strode over and snatched the bun from Li Yu's hand. He cradled the plump, albeit slightly cold, bun and glanced at the 3 boxes of white rice. Do you comprehend what this is? This is food. This is fine flour. This is polished rice. How many citizens of the Tang dynasty struggle for a year without even a morsel of coarse bread? How many children are sold into servitude for a single meal? During the great drought in the early years of Jingguan, I witnessed the starving corpses by the roadside, their mouths filled with dirt. And you wish to dispose of such exquisite buns? Li Shimin's heart ached. His voice echoing in the villa's hall. I understand that in later generations, the nation is prosperous and food piles high. But this is no justification for your wastefulness. Every bowl of porridge, every grain of rice, should remind us of its hard-earned origins. Do I need to teach you this principle? If heaven sees us squander food so recklessly, it will bring down its wrath. Li Yu gazed at the solemn emperor cradling the bun. In this era of material abundance, he had long grown accustomed to wastefulness, leaving heaps of food at buffets, discarding half-eaten takeout. Yet for Li Shimin, every grain of rice represented a life extracted from the earth, a cornerstone of the Tang dynasty's stability. This clash of values across millennia filled Li Yu with a sense of shame and admiration. Such was the mark of a wise ruler. Uncle, I was wrong. Chapter 62. Military arrangements. Li Yu lowered his head, sincerely admitting his fault. I will change. I want to throw it away. Let us put it in the refrigerator. He pointed toward the kitchen. Tomorrow morning, I'll slice the bun, coat it in egg, and fry it to make golden bun slices. The leftover rice, with some ham and eggs, will be transformed into golden fried rice. Not a single grain will be wasted. Li Shimin's expression softened at last. He carefully placed the steamed bun into a plastic bag, then gently covered the rice. His movements tender, as if cherishing a rare treasure. Let it be, murmured Li Shimin. How could one waste such fine flour? The next meal, warmed, shall serve as my breakfast. This scene imparted a profound lesson to all the princes present. Li Tai silently picked up a grain of rice that had fallen on the table, blew on it, and popped it into his mouth. After dinner, Li Yu began to assign rooms to his family. The villa, with its 3 stories, offered ample accommodations. Li Yu took the guest room on the first floor for convenience, both for errands and to care for Li Chengxian. Li Chengxian occupied the main bedroom on the first floor, which had a garden, allowing for ease of movement. Li Yuan and Li Tai resided in 2 guest rooms on the second floor. Li Shimin, Empress Changsun, and the little prince settled into the largest suite on the 3rd floor, featuring floor-to-ceiling windows and an oversized bathtub. Once the elderly and children were comfortably settled, Li Yu knocked on Li Shimin's door and summoned Li Tai and Li Chengxian to the small study on the 1st floor. The study, illuminated by soft lighting, transformed Li Yu's expression to one of seriousness as he closed the door behind him. He retrieved his phone, containing the significant events from the 8th year of the Jingguan era, spanning the next 3 years. Uncle, playfulness aside, we must discuss serious matters now. Li Yu presented the information on his phone to Li Shimin, his voice steady. According to historical records, in November of the 8th year of Jingguan, which is just over 2 months away, the Khagan of Tuyuan, Murong Fuyun, will heed the slander of King Tianzhu and launch a large-scale incursion into Liangzhou. Li Shimin accepted the documents and skimmed through them rapidly. Although simplified characters posed some difficulty, he could grasp the general meaning through educated guesses. Humph, that old scoundrel. A glint of determination sparked in Li Shimin's eyes. I have long known his treacherous intentions. I originally intended for Duan Jishuan to scout the situation first, but it proved futile. Li Yu pointed to the records, stating that while Duan Jishuan did go, Murong Fuyun employed a tactic of scorched earth. He burned the grass and drove the cattle and sheep into the desert, leaving our troops without fodder, their steeds weary and unable to pursue. We were forced to retreat, only for him to counterattack, akin to an insufferable pest. Although we ultimately emerged victorious, the battle was arduous. Li Yu indicated a line in the records that read, the troops consumed ice and snow. Uncle, look here, In the following year, the 9th year of Jingguan, you will dispatch Grand Marshal Li Jing to lead the campaign, dividing the forces into 2 routes. While Tuyuhun will be defeated in the end, the journey will be grievous. For we must penetrate the high-altitude desert and traverse the Baoyuo Valley, a desolate expanse exceeding 2,000 li. Oxygen, water, food, and fodder will be scarce. The soldiers endured by consuming ice and snow and drinking horse urine. The non-combat attrition will be severe. Over half of the war horses will perish. Li Shimon's hand clenched tightly. The thought of horses succumbing to ice and snow pained him. These were his elite steeds. The regulation of war horses in the Tang dynasty had only just begun, and each horse was a treasure. Thus, Liu revealed his military innovations. Now that we are aware of the forthcoming challenges, we must not tread the old path. I intend to upgrade the equipment of the Tang army. In this battle, we shall strive for a flawless victory, with 0 casualties. Liu laid out the blueprints for 4 items on the desk. Uncle, the Tang army suffers great losses among the war horses due to their lack of shoes. He presented a blueprint of a U-shaped iron piece, stating, this is called a horseshoe, nailed to the horseshoe. It not only protects the hoof from wear, but also provides traction on icy roads. With this, the cavalry's marching distance can be doubled, even in the highlands. It feels like walking on level ground. Simple yet practical. How could I have overlooked this? He turned to Li Tai and inquired, Qingke, can this be manufactured? Li Tai took a look and nodded confidently. Your Majesty, this is exceedingly simple. Once the mold is prepared, the Ministry of Revenue can produce thousands in a single day. This task shall be entrusted to me. Liu pointed to the next blueprint and continued, I am aware that the Tang dynasty has gunpowder, but it is merely a byproduct of alchemical furnaces, capable of producing a mere sound, sufficient to startle horses, yet not lethal. This is the optimal ratio, an improved version of 1 part nitrate, 2 parts sulfur, and 3 parts charcoal, combined with sugar and egg whites to form granules. If we make it granular, its potency can increase tenfold. Instead of creating firearms, we shall produce explosive packages and wicked artillery. Do the Tuyuhun not prefer to hide in the mountains? Do they not favor fortifying their cities? We shall obliterate them, daze their cattle and sheep. Li Tai's eyes sparkled with excitement. As an enthusiast of chemistry, he found this particularly intriguing. Explosives? Your Majesty, I shall take charge of this as well. Liu then pointed to the blueprints for civilian intercoms and military telescopes. These are the listening ear and the 1,000-mile eye. Liu demonstrated, with this in hand. Li Jing can command the vanguard stationed 50 miles away directly from the central army tent. Flanking on the left, retreating on the right. Orders conveyed instantly. On the battlefield. This is akin to a dimensional strike. There is no need for couriers to run until their legs give out. Moreover, this telescope can provide a clear view of the enemy 10 miles away. While the enemy is still preparing their meals, our cavalry will have already charged upon them. Li Shimin held the telescope with fascination, gazing out the window. With this, our forces shall undoubtedly secure the upper hand time and again. Lastly, concerning logistics. Liu pointed to the materials indicating that men cannot survive on snow alone. I shall return with samples of compressed biscuits and their production methods. A small piece can sustain one for a day, being compact yet high in calories. At this moment, Li Chengxian volunteered. His legs still weak, but his gaze resolute. Your Majesty, I am willing to take charge of logistics. Though I cannot ride into battle, I wish to procure provisions for the army from the rear and oversee the preparation of military rations. I shall ensure that our frontline soldiers do not go hungry. Li Shimin looked upon his 2 sons and 1 nephew, each with clearly defined roles and spirited ambition, feeling greatly reassured. Excellent. Let it be as planned. Qingke shall oversee the production of horseshoes and gunpowder. Chengxian shall handle military provisions, and you shall provide these marvelous inventions. In this battle, I intend to show the Tuyuhun what divine weaponry truly means. With the strategic deployment concluded, Liu suddenly smiled mysteriously. Second uncle, these are mere techniques. I have one principle to impart to you. Principle? The 3 were taken aback. Indeed, a principle that answers all your questions. Knowledgeable of the heavens above and the earth below, well-versed in 5,000 years of history, possessing strategies without fail. Liu revealed his most crucial plan. I wish to acquire a high-performance computer and a solar power generation system. And then Chapter 63. A mischievous child deserves a complete childhood. Deploy a localized version of DeepSeek on the computer. The 3 listened, bewildered. Deep what? Which great scholar is that? Liu elucidated. Imagine it as an ancient sage residing within an iron box, having lived for countless years, with a mind enriched by all the tomes, knowledge, and stratagems of future generations. Should you inquire, how can we govern the floods of the Yellow River? It would present you with 10 meticulously crafted proposals, each detailing its merits and demerits with clarity. If you were to ask, how might we reform the legal codes of the Tang dynasty? It could cite ancient texts and even weave in suggestions inspired by future legal statutes. Should you question, how can we control the temperature in steelmaking? It would illustrate the procedural steps for you. Most remarkably, it requires no internet connection, as long as there is sunlight. It can converse endlessly. If we were to bring it back to the Tang dynasty, we would essentially be returning with an omnipotent military strategist, a think tank at our beck and call. Even the typically unflappable Li Shimin found himself unable to remain composed. Such a miraculous being exists in this world. Li Tai trembled with excitement. As a technology enthusiast, he was utterly captivated by this repository of knowledge. Is this what it means for a library to come to life? With this, could the compendium I am drafting, the comprehensive geography, not be completed in a single day? One could indeed interpret it that way. Liu nodded. Tomorrow, our foremost task is to procure this essential equipment. This is our most prized treasure. The four of them quickly reached a consensus and formulated a procurement list for the following day. High-performance computers pre-installed with the offline version of DeepSeek and various offline encyclopedic packages. A portable solar power station with high-capacity foldable panels, outdoor energy storage batteries, and power strips, 6 walkie-talkies with 2 signal amplifiers, complete with ample batteries, 6 military-grade binoculars, printers with a substantial supply of ink and paper, and to print the satellite maps and deployment diagrams of the Tian. Once the business was concluded, Li Yu instructed Li Chengqian and Li Tai to return to their quarters to rest. In the study, only Li Shimin and Li Yu remained. Li Shimin picked up Li Yu's phone, having just learned how to swipe the screen, and began perusing the downloaded chronicle of major events in Tang Dynasty history. He yearned to glimpse the events following his death, and to behold the future of the Tang Dynasty. Yet, what he could access was merely a segment that Li Yu had carefully extracted, chronicling the significant events of the 8th year of Jingguan and the subsequent 3 years. As his finger glided across the screen, he read, 9th year of Jingguan, May. The retired emperor Li Yuan passes away. A tremor ran through his hand, and his eyes glistened with unshed tears. Indeed, only a year remained. Yuer, upon my return, I shall devote ample time to accompany my father. 10th year of Jingguan. June, Empress Dowager Wendy, born of the Changsun clan, passes away. Li Shimin's heart seized violently, his complexion paling. Next year, the Guanyin maid is too. He abruptly raised his gaze to Li Yu, his expression one of terror. Li Yu hastily reassured him. Second uncle, that refers to the former history. Now that aunt has the medicine, and I am here, history has already altered. She will certainly live to a ripe old age. This is merely a reference. With that, Li Shimin felt a modicum of relief, though a profound sense of urgency lingered in his heart. He continued to scroll down. 11th year of Jingguan. Wu Meinyang enters the palace and is granted the title Wu Kairan. The notation was succinct, later known as Empress Wu Zetian, the only female emperor in Chinese history. The phone was abruptly slammed onto the table. At that moment, Li Shimin's countenance was darker than the bottom of a pot, etched with shock, fury, and incredulity. A female emperor. His voice was low and thunderous. Has a woman usurped my Tang dynasty? Moreover, this woman is indeed my talented consort. He instinctively believed that upon his demise, this woman would directly rebel, or perhaps his own inadequacy had allowed her to exploit a gap. His first reaction was to blame himself. You are. Li Shimin suddenly looked up, his eyes bloodshot, exclaiming, what on earth is happening? Was it not said that the Tang dynasty would endure for nearly 3 centuries? Who is this Wu Meinyang, this harbinger of calamity? Li Yu observed Li Shimin and sighed inwardly. What is destined to come will inevitably arrive. He said nothing but retrieved his phone, searched for Wu Zetian on Baidu, and handed it to Li Shimin. Second uncle, see for yourself. Li Shimin accepted the phone, reading each word with growing intensity. The more he read, the more his expression transformed. First, she was the talented consort of Taizong. That is my fault. Then, she became a nun at Ganyi Temple. It is quite normal for her to take vows after my death. Next, she was summoned back to the palace by Gaozong Li Ji, who conferred upon her the title of Jiaoyi. Li Shimin. His eyes widened in disbelief. Gaozong Li Ji, the 9th prince. Further down, the dethronement of the king and the establishment of Wu as empress. The 2 saints presided over the court. Gaozong passed away, and Zhongzong and Ruizong were both deposed. The Tang dynasty was renamed Zhou, and she was proclaimed the holy and divine emperor. Li Shimin entered a state of profound agitation. Ji knew, he spat out. This ungrateful wretch. He actually married my talented consort, and allowed her to ascend as empress, to reign over me, ultimately surrendering the Li family's empire. Li Shimin's chest heaved violently with rage. He could hardly fathom that his seemingly simple-minded son, who only played with building blocks, was such a romantic. This was not merely usurpation. It was an utter disgrace. It was incest. It was humiliation. Li Yu watched the furious Li Shimin and hurriedly poured a glass of water. Second uncle, calm down, please. As he patted Li Shimin's back, he secretly relished the misfortune. Oh, little ninth, do not blame your cousin. He is merely looking out for your best interests. Li Shimin took a sip of water, forcibly suppressing his ire. After all, he was a legendary emperor. Reason told him that killing would yield no benefit, and besides, how old is Li Ji now? You are. Li Shimin set down the cup, his tone chilling. I shall deal with the Wu clan upon my return. Second uncle, do not act rashly. Li Yu quickly interjected. Lowering his voice, he continued. Now that you know the script, how old is my little ancestor Li Ji? Wu Meinyang has not yet entered the palace. There is still time. You could prevent her from entering the palace, or betroth her to another. For instance, as a consort for Li Ke, or as an aide to Qin Ke. As long as she is not given to Li Ji, that is all that matters. Upon hearing this, Li Shimin's expression fluctuated between dark and light. After a long pause, he sighed deeply. I shall handle the Wu clan myself. However, Ji knew. Li Shimin's face bore a cruel smirk. This lad must be thoroughly educated. Upon returning, I will personally instruct him. He must learn what it means to have a knife hovering over one's head in matters of desire. Li Yu silently lit a candle for Li Ji in his heart. It seems my little ancestor is destined for a complete childhood. Chapter 64. The fantastical journey of Prince Li Tai. The second floor of the villa in Xiujiang fell into silence. In the eastern guest room on the second floor, Wei Wang Li Tai sprawled out like a character in a grand narrative, sinking into the extraordinarily soft mattress of a plush bed. The room was illuminated solely by a bedside lamp, casting a warm and ambiguous glow around him. In his hands, he cradled a red Huawei phone, treating it as if it were a rare and priceless artifact, both cautious and enamored, although devoid of a SIM card. Li Yu had previously connected them to the villa's Wi-Fi, which he referred to as the Universal Network. The marvel of it all was ineffable. Li Tai's pudgy fingers clumsily slid across the smooth screen, muttering to himself. He had just mastered the art of switching interfaces, and each colorful square icon appeared to him as an entrance to a new realm. Suddenly, his finger paused over a particular icon, a black square emblazoned with a twisted white musical note, beneath which were the two characters Douyin. What could this be? A musical office? Curiosity, the ladder of human advancement, marked the beginning of Wei Wang's descent. Tentatively, he prodded the note with his index finger. The first video featured a blacksmith at work, a display of rawness. Li Tai wrinkled his nose and instinctively scrolled upward. The second video showcased a chef chopping vegetables. His skills decent but inferior to those of his brother, Yu Wang. Li Tai continued to swipe, but when he reached the third video, his finger froze. It was a room bathed in soft lighting. In the center of the screen stood a young woman clad in tight yoga pants. Her waist so slender it appeared to be graspable, her back turned to the camera. With the rhythm of the music, she suddenly turned to face the lens. Her gaze sultry, her lips slightly parted, and then her delicate waist twisted like a serpent in a fervent dance. The boldness of her movements, the scant fabric. The impact, Li Tai's eyes widened in disbelief. Forbidden to gaze. Forbidden to gaze. She is a temptress. This is sorcery. His face flushed crimson, beads of sweat forming on his brow. He silently recited the teachings of sages, yet his eyes remained glued to the screen as if stuck by an adhesive. He could discern the shimmering sparkles at the corners of her eyes, and every curve accentuated by her yoga pants. Such shamelessness. Even the courtesans of the Tang dynasty did not dance in such a manner. Gritting his teeth, he summoned every ounce of willpower, trembling fingers swiping forcefully upward. Begone. I am a scholar of virtue. The screen flickered. The next video featured an older gentleman lecturing on introduction to quantum mechanics. Li Tai paused, his restless heart momentarily calming, even intrigued to hear this so-called discourse on the principles of physics. However, the demon known as Big Data saw through his hidden desire, and his finger betrayed him, scrolling downward once more. Brother, give a follow. This time, a leggy beauty in a JK uniform, adorned with cat ears, faced the camera, embodying innocence as she posed, her long legs swaying before the screen, luminous in their whiteness. Li Tai felt a surge of heat rushing to his head, his nose tingling, and smoke rising in his throat. It was over. He had completely succumbed. Just one glance. I am merely critiquing. Indeed. Let us critique the decadent melodies of the present age. Li Tai swallowed hard, ceasing his struggles. He drew his phone closer, enveloping himself within the covers, revealing only a pair of glimmering, mischievous eyes. One after another, they appeared, sisters of grace, each one swaying and adorned in splendid attire. Time slipped away, and the atmosphere in the room grew increasingly heated. Li Tai's breath became labored, his gaze more entranced. Finally, in this solitary corner of the night, this talented scion of the Tang dynasty, Prince Wei, inexplicably extended his trembling hand towards the depths of his cocooned sanctuary. Oh, these ethereal ladies truly embody the essence of beauty and peril. In stark contrast to the alluring ambience of Li Tai's chamber, another space bore a silent, oppressive weight. Prince Li Chengxian sat alone in his wheelchair, the main lights dimmed, illuminated only by the cold, white glow of a desk lamp. Before him lay the crimson phone. Unlike Li Tai's frantic tapping, his disposition was more somber, sensitive, and pragmatic. Li Yu had instructed them on how to utilize the device for research, even demonstrating the art of typing. Li Chengxian extended his long, somewhat pallid fingers, locating the handwritten icon on the input method keyboard, and gently tapped it. A blank box materialized at the bottom of the screen. He inhaled deeply, yearning to uncover the fortunes of the Tang dynasty, to grasp the achievements of his father. But more than anything, he sought to unravel the haunting question that had ensnared him through countless days and nights. What fate awaited him, the solitary figure inscribed in history? Though his brother, the Prince of Yu, had assured him that he could assume the role of elder brother, asserting that as long as his mind remained intact, he was still the crown prince. The dread of the unknown compelled him to glimpse his own destiny. With precision, Li Chengxian inscribed a traditional character upon the screen. Instantly, several options appeared, and he selected the first. Next came. Upon completing the 3 characters, the search box displayed his name in a striking blue. His fingertip hovered hesitantly over the search button, trembling for what felt like an eternity. Exhaling a heavy breath, he decisively pressed down. The page transitioned, and a torrent of information surged forth. At the forefront stood Baidu Encyclopedia. Leaning closer to the screen, he read the bold, black characters that struck him like a judge's damning decree. Li Chengxian, 619 to 645, courtesy name Gao Ming, the eldest son of Emperor Taizong Li Shimin, deposed crown prince. Deposed crown prince? In an instant, Li Chengxian's mind went blank. Though he had once raved in the Dine Palace about being deposed, the stark reality of those words, now a historical verdict, overwhelmed him with a suffocating force. Yet, as a carefully nurtured heir of the Tang for over a decade, after a fleeting moment of terror, he bizarrely regained his composure. With trembling fingers, he scrolled down, peeling back the layers of his original fate. He needed to understand the circumstances of his demise. In the 10th year of the Jingguan era, Empress Wendy, of the Changsun clan, passed away. Upon reading this line, Li Chengxian's heart jolted. Would his mother depart this world next year? The Empress is his sole and steadfast shield within the palace. The mere thought of her departure conjures the stern visage of his father, the Emperor, alongside the seemingly cheerful, yet ambitious face of Li Tai. Absent the Empress's temperance, the Emperor's severity would morph into disdain, and the ambitions of Qin Kai would escalate into outright aggression. Li Chengxian, afflicted by a foot ailment that hampers his mobility, grapples with feelings of inferiority and sensitivity. He touches the plaster cast encasing his leg, a bitter smile escaping him. Without the support of his brother, the Prince of Yu, this leg would be a lifelong source of disgrace. In the 16th year of the Jingguan era, there was an unsuccessful attempt to assassinate Wei Wang Litai. In the 17th year, he conspired with Han Wang Li Yuanchang, Hou Junji, and others, aiming to usurp the throne. Upon reading this, Li Chengqian does not find it absurd. Rather, a chilling realization courses through him as he perceives the rationale behind such schemes. He swiftly envisions an alternate timeline. The Empress's untimely demise shatters his shield. His leg remains irreparable, breeding deeper insecurities that render him averse to human interaction, inevitably transforming his disposition into one of volatility and bitterness. The Emperor, witnessing his frailty and irritability, would be utterly disillusioned, turning his affections toward the exceptionally talented Qin Kai. Li Chengqian recalls the shifty little eyes of Li Tai. Should Qin Kai perceive his decline, he would undoubtedly seize the opportunity to advance relentlessly, bolstered by the Emperor's favoritism. As the Crown Prince, he faces the precipice of despair. Should he yield, it would lead to an abyss. With disdain from his father looming before him and the threat of fratricide behind. Coupled with his disability and lack of support, what alternative does he have but rebellion? Hou Junji and Helan Chusher. Must he truly find himself entangled with such characters? He envisions himself in that alternate reality, dark, twisted, and insane, like a rabid dog cornered, aware of the futility, yet compelled to bite out of desperation. This, it seems, is his fate. Li Chengqian slumps in his wheelchair, his gaze steeped in despair. The logic is suffocatingly tight, a harbinger of his predetermined demise. At 26, he would languish in obscurity. Yet, in the profound silence, a figure suddenly appears in his mind, a man clad in peculiar attire, radiating a brilliant smile. Unrestrained in his demeanor, he whispers that as long as his mind remains intact, he is the elder brother, the Prince of Yu. Li Chengqian straightens, his eyes returning to the screen of his phone, then to the plaster cast on his leg, and finally to the bottle of white calcium tablets at the table's edge. Something feels amiss, and his gaze begins to flicker. The historical Li Chengqian never met the Prince of Yu. That Li Chengqian, with a crippled leg and a departed mother, was left with no choice. But Li Chengqian reaches for the bottle of calcium tablets, grasping it tightly as though it were a lifeline. If his leg could heal, the doctors say he could ride again. There are remedies for his mother's ailment, and the Prince of Yu assures him of longevity. And then there is the Emperor. He recalls the Emperor's meticulousness over a meal prepared for him during the day, recognizing that the Emperor's gaze in the fields was not one of disdain, but rather of hope. The variable that is Prince Yu Wang is indeed the most significant variable. Li Chengqian took a deep breath. As the despair in his eyes gradually dissipated, replaced by a sense of gratitude for having survived a calamity and a profound reverence for fate, his thoughts deepened. Since someone had extended a hand to him, Li Chengwen slowly turned off the screen of his phone, gazing out into the inky darkness of the night. His expression becoming profound and introspective. The solitary figure must not step into that pit again. If Qin Kai wishes to contend, let him contest. As long as the solitary figure's legs are sound, as long as his mother remains, and as long as he himself does not err, the position of Crown Prince shall be beyond anyone's grasp. That night, Li Chengqian did not sleep. Chapter 65. Procuring the old immortal morning light streamed through the gaps in the villa's curtains, casting a warm glow on the light-colored carpet, while a subtle aroma of oil and eggs wafted through the air. In the kitchen, the frying pan sizzled delightfully. Li Yu, adorned with a cartoon-patterned apron, focused intently on flipping the pieces of steamed bun in the pan. He had promised Li Shimin the night before that not a single grain of rice or bun would go to waste. The remaining 12 northern steamed buns were sliced into evenly thick pieces, each wrapped in a mixture of egg, salt, and scallions. As the hot oil met the pan, the egg mixture quickly expanded, enveloping the buns, frying them until golden and crispy, releasing an enticing aroma. The leftover bowls of rice were transformed into a vibrant egg-fried rice, with diced ham, cucumber, and carrot dancing in the pan. Each grain of rice coated in glistening egg, translucent and inviting. Around the dining table, 7 individuals gathered. The atmosphere today was particularly brisk. Li Chengqian and Li Tai bore the marks of sleeplessness, their eyes resembling those of pandas, looking rather wilted. Li Shimin, however, held a golden, crispy piece of bun in one hand, taking a hearty bite that crackled with a delightful fusion of egg and flour in his mouth. He ate rapidly, yet his gaze remained fixated on Li Yu, as if observing a treasure trove in motion. "You Li Shimin said. Swallowing the last morsel of bun and accepting a cup of hot soy milk from Empress Johnson, he took a quick sip and wiped his mouth. Is it true that the old immortal residing in a box knows everything? Can he truly resolve the dilemmas of the Tang dynasty? Indeed. Li Yu responded with unwavering certainty as he took a bite of fried rice, without a hint of hesitation. However, he is not an immortal. He is the culmination of human wisdom, a collective of the thoughts of countless sages. Second uncle, you will understand when you meet him later. Nevertheless, we must divide our efforts to maximize efficiency. Setting down his utensils, Li Yu glanced at the wall clock, noting it was 8:30 in the morning. Your Majesty, you have just recovered. Though you have medication, it is unwise to overexert yourself or endure any shock. And the little one has yet to finish his vaccinations. The immunoglobulin must be administered for 3 consecutive days. Chengqian has a cast on his leg, making movement inconvenient. He must rest. Li Yu's gaze swept across the group, clearly assigning responsibilities. You 4 shall remain at the villa. I will find several documentaries about the Tang dynasty for you on television. They will not only alleviate your boredom, but also provide insights from a future perspective on our great dynasty. I have already arranged for lunch, which will be delivered by a knight in yellow robes. Li Yuan relished the tranquility of the moment, waving his hand to urge them to depart. Go on, go on. I shall remain here in the courtyard, basking in the sunlight while pondering your automatic irrigation system. If only it could be connected to the Imperial Garden. It would save considerable effort. Empress Changsun nodded gently. Rest assured, Yue, I will keep an eye on things at home. No troubles will arise. As for the selection of those who would venture outside, Li Yue's gaze fell upon Li Shimin and Li Tai, his eyes betraying a hint of significance. Second uncle. As the helmsman, your presence is indispensable. This ancient sage must return. How to utilize him is for you to decide. Qingke. With your technical prowess and innate talent for understanding the principles of things, you too must accompany us. Mastering the use of that device will elevate you to the status of the chief scientist of the Tang dynasty. This is indeed a technical endeavor. Upon hearing this, Li Tai nodded vigorously, his small eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Before their departure, Li Yue deliberately pulled the two to the entrance hall, assisting them in adjusting their modern attire while solemnly advising. Second uncle, Qingke, though we are family, we must adhere to the customs outside. It is 2025, not the 8th year of the Jingguan era. The place we are heading to will be crowded with people and prying eyes. Your accents and names could easily attract unwanted attention. If any discrepancies are discovered, not only will we be unable to procure what we seek, but we may also find ourselves subjected to dissection for research purposes. Li Yue looked intently at Li Shimin, emphasizing his words. Thus, once we are outside, speak as little as possible, preferably not at all. Leave everything to me. You are to observe and acquire. Do you understand? Li Shimin and Li Tai exchanged a glance, aware of the precariousness of their identities as undocumented individuals. For the future of the Tang, such minor grievances were a small price to pay. Fear not, Li Shimin replied. Adjusting his collar and taking a deep breath, I shall play the role of a mute attendant. As long as we can bring back the divine artifact, I would carry bags for anyone. At 9:30 in the morning, a sleek black BYD Tang entered the bustling Bell Tower shopping district of Xi'an. Li Yue did not lead them to a roadside computer shop. Instead, he directed them towards the digital hub known as the Haixing Intelligent Market. After parking in the underground garage, the trio ascended via the express elevator. As the elevator doors gradually opened, a tremendous cacophony surged forth. The overwhelming sound of vibrant music and the radiant glow of countless screens coalesced into a torrent of information, assaulting the senses of the two visitors from the Tang dynasty. Li Shimin and Li Tai stood at the elevator's threshold, greeted not by the wooden stalls of Chang'an's West Market adorned with fabric banners and piled goods, nor by the calls of street vendors and bargaining merchants. This was nothing short of a fantastical crystal palace. Everywhere, luminous screens adorned the walls, tables, and even the hands of passers-by. LED billboards displayed dazzling graphics of graphics cards rendering videos, mechanical dragons soaring through the skies, all vibrant enough to ensnare one's very soul. Li Tai gasped in astonishment, about to exclaim in wonder, when Li Yue gently tapped him on the back. He abruptly recalled the caution given before their departure, stifling his words and instead greedily scanning the surroundings with wide eyes, nearly twisting his neck in the process. He beheld the enormous screen suspended in the air, the peculiar metallic cubes arranged with precision, and even the flowing light and shadow upon the floor. Is this the marketplace of the celestial realm? Li Tai silently exclaimed within, recognizing it unmistakably as a treasure trove of divine artifacts. Li Shimin, however, maintained a more composed demeanor. With his hands clasped behind his back, he suppressed the awe swelling within him, scrutinizing the intricacies of this place. He sensed a meticulousness in the atmosphere. Every object on display, be it the thin iron plates reminiscent of parchment or the glimmering black boxes radiating a red glow, exuded a craftsmanship that brought him immense comfort. Stay close to me, Li Yu whispered, leading the two through the throng of people. Although Li Shimin and Li Tai were clad in modern attire, the innate aura of antiquity emanating from them captured the attention of passers-by, particularly Li Shimin's gait. With hands behind his back and a discerning gaze surveying the surroundings, made him appear as if he were a high-ranking official incognito. With a clear objective, Li Yu headed straight for the high-end computer specialty area. He entered a flagship store of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, ROG, adorned with an unmistakably futuristic design. Good sir, are you in search of a computer? A sales associate greeted enthusiastically, his eyes scanning the trio and, with professional acumen, immediately discerning that they were significant clients. Without hesitation, Li Yu produced his phone, revealing a pre-prepared configuration list, exuding an air of expertise as he coldly stated, I require 2 laptops with the highest specifications. Certainly. The associate promptly replied, our latest and most advanced model features an i9-14980HX processor, an RTX 5090 graphics card, 128 GB of RAM, and an 8 TB hard drive. With complimentary cooling installation. Li Yu nodded, continuing, not only do I need the machines, but I also require your assistance in installing the local version of the DeepSeek large model, along with these offline knowledge bases. As he spoke, he handed over a high-capacity external hard drive containing the data packets he had painstakingly downloaded the previous night. The associate hesitated for a moment, accepting the drive with a hint of surprise. Such specifications and requests were certainly not typical of an average gamer. Understood. However, the deployment will take some time. Approximately 2 hours. Money is no object. Speed is of the essence. 2 identical units, as a double assurance. Li Yu promptly produced his bank card to complete the transaction. While waiting, Li Shimin and Li Tai settled into the store's lounge area. Li Yu procured 2 cups of Snow King lemonade for them. Holding the cups, they felt the refreshing chill against their palms but refrained from taking a sip. Adhering to their principle of speaking little, their gazes were fixated on the technician busily working behind the counter. On the technician's screen, code cascaded like a waterfall, black background, green characters, dancing rapidly without pause. To Li Tai, it resembled a Taoist performing a ritual. Each pulsating character concealed profound secrets. Meanwhile, Li Shimin quietly pondered. How could such a small iron box possibly contain the equivalent of countless tomes? The process of deployment, is it akin to crafting a divine form? Yu Air claims that this contraption can predict without fail. I am eager to see how it compares to Feng Xianling and Changsun Wuji. Apart from the computer, Li Yu also activated his shopping mode. He approached the adjacent digital accessories section, gesturing towards the items on the shelves. Boss, I want that solar charging panel. The kind that can be folded to fit into a 24-inch suitcase, with high power and maximum conversion rate. 2 sets, please. Additionally, I require 4 high-capacity outdoor energy storage units, 6 of the highest power civilian walkie-talkies, 2 signal amplifiers, along with spare batteries, and a printer, a laser one. The type that is easy to refill, no inkjet models, as they are prone to clogging. Provide me with 2 boxes of toner cartridges and 5 boxes of A4 printing paper. All of the finest quality. As Li Yu recited his list, he swiped his card. The store clerk, beaming with delight, swiftly gathered the items. Li Shimin observed the array of unfamiliar yet remarkably intricate devices being packed into boxes, his eyes growing brighter with intrigue. Though he remained silent, he had keenly perceived the potential applications of these items through Li Yu's brief remarks. Could the walkie-talkies serve as ears of the wind? Did the solar panels absorb the essence of sun and moon? His excitement surged as he envisioned the Tang army sweeping across the northern deserts equipped with these marvelous inventions. 2 hours later, 2 laptops, configured with the DeepSeek Sage and a vast knowledge repository, alongside other electronic devices, were packed into several enormous shockproof cases. Li Yu lifted a box and exchanged a knowing glance with the others. Let us proceed to our next destination. Departing from the digital city, the trio drove to the suburban seed wholesale market. The ambience shifted dramatically. Gone were the garish neon lights and high-tech precision, replaced by towering stacks of woven bags, with the air suffused with the earthy scent of soil and seeds. Yet this aroma evoked a sense of kinship and reassurance in Li Shimin. It was the essence of the Tang dynasty and the nation. Li Yu skillfully navigated through the various stalls, with Li Shimin and Li Tai trailing closely like vigilant guardians. Boss, I require chili seeds, both the extremely spicy and mildly spicy lantern peppers, along with 2 pounds each of tomato, spinach, pumpkin, cauliflower, and sunflower seeds. All must be heirloom varieties with good disease resistance. For cotton seeds, I seek the finest long staple cotton. As Li Yu selected, he lowered his voice to quickly brief the others. Second uncle, these chili peppers are the very source of the flavor we enjoyed in that hot pot. With them, the people of the damp Sichuan region will find relief. This cotton is warmer than the silk of the Tang and yields even higher. It will spare us from the threat of freezing to death in winter. Finally, Li Yu arrived at a shop specializing in tropical crop seeds, his expression turning serious. Boss, do you have rubber seeds? We do, but they are delicate and require specific soil to thrive. They must be preserved properly. No matter. Please pack them in a professional insulated box with ice packs. I will plant them as soon as I return. Li Yu turned to Li Shimin and whispered, Second uncle. This rubber is the cornerstone of the Tang dynasty's industrialization. With it, wheels can turn faster and machines can seal better. Although it cannot be cultivated in Guangzhou, we can swiftly transport it to Lingnan or Cheongzhou, where it grows naturally. Li Shimin nodded solemnly. While he had not fully grasped the concept of industrialization, he understood the significance of the 2 key words. What Li Yu valued must undoubtedly be a national treasure. Li Tai gazed at the colorful seed packets, unable to resist reaching out to touch them, only to be gently swatted away by Li Yu. Do not meddle. These are the lifeblood of the Tang dynasty. If the packaging is compromised, they will not germinate. By midday, the procurement mission was entirely accomplished. In a rush, Li Yu took the 2 of them to a small noodle shop by the roadside for a quick bowl of oil splash noodles. The broad noodles, drenched in scalding hot oil over chili powder, released a rich aroma. Li Shimin was sweating profusely from the heat of the dish. Though he did not speak, his thumbs up conveyed everything. This was far more satisfying than the palace's soup dumplings, especially the chili, which was simply the finishing touch. At 3 in the afternoon, the fully loaded BYD Tang returned to the Zhujiang villa. Li Yu moved 2 hefty laptops to the coffee table in the living room and connected them to the newly acquired solar power source. He then placed the printer, walkie-talkies, and boxes of seeds all over the floor. Everyone, come over. Li Yu clapped his hands, resembling a magician preparing for a performance. Empress Changsun, Li Chengqian, who was watching television, and Li Yuan, who was strolling in the garden, gathered around. Little Zizi, holding a lollipop, squeezed to the front, excited despite not knowing what was happening, adding to the atmosphere. Second uncle, this is the old immortal I mentioned. Li Yu pressed the power button on one of the laptops. The fan whirred softly, and the RGB lights on the keyboard illuminated in a dazzling display. The screen lit up, revealing a simple yet mysterious dialogue box before everyone. Chapter 67, AI? An immortal. Second uncle, this old immortal is called DeepSeek. We can refer to it as the divine calculator in private. Li Yu pushed the laptop towards Li Shimin, his expression turning serious. It possesses no physical form, no emotions, and does not consume food or drink, yet it contains the knowledge of millennia and the wisdom of all humanity. It can calculate favorable times and places, predict the rise and fall of nations, and elucidate the principles of all things. Can it truly know the affairs of the world? Li Shimin stared intently at the dialogue box. As an emperor, he instinctively resisted this uncontrollable force. He was accustomed to wielding power and interpreting the thoughts of his ministers through their eyes. Yet, this entity had no eyes, only a blinking cursor. I cannot claim it knows the affairs of the world, but it can certainly help you with calculations. Li Yu pointed to the keyboard. Come, this is a rare opportunity. Each of you may pose a question, and let us see if the wisdom of the future can resolve your inner doubts. Li Shimin took a deep breath. His gaze sharp as a knife. He did not inquire about longevity, nor did he ask who would be the next emperor. Instead, he cast aside the weightiest stone pressing upon his heart. He posed a question regarding the resolution of logistical and water supply challenges for the 200,000 troops. Should the western regions be entirely subdued and the Silk Road opened within 3 years, all without imposing additional taxes? This was an intractable dilemma. Warfare necessitated funds, and funds required taxation, which would inevitably incite rebellion among the populace. It was a vicious cycle. Li Yu's fingers danced swiftly across the keyboard, the crisp sound of the mechanical keys resonating throughout the tranquil villa's hall. Upon completion, he pressed the enter key. Thinking, the cursor on the screen paused for approximately 2 seconds. The erstwhile strategists Fang Xianling, Du Ruhui, and Changsun Wuji had once grappled with this very issue, racking their brains without arriving at a comprehensive solution. Suddenly, characters began cascading down the screen like a waterfall. The speed was so rapid that it was nearly impossible to discern, as though an unseen entity were unveiling celestial secrets. Recite, Li Shimin urged. Li Yu, gazing at the screen, swiftly relayed the AI-generated responses: core strategies, land reclamation, financial leverage, water resource innovation. First, military land reclamation should be improved. The old methods of transporting grain are outdated. It is advisable to promote drought-resistant crops, such as potatoes and corn, in regions like Yu and Gaochang along the Hushi corridor. Adopting a strategy of farming while at war. Data suggests that planting potatoes could yield tenfold the output of millet per acre, enabling the 30,000 stationed troops to sustain themselves and even generate surplus supplies for cavalry. Second, for water acquisition, reliance on rainfall is inadequate. It is recommended to utilize the Carez irrigation system. Detailed cross-sectional diagrams and construction methods are included, harnessing the underground flow of mountain snowmelt to minimize evaporation. DeepSeek has produced predictive maps of the underground water veins in the Hushi corridor. Third, war bonds should be issued, with the court refraining from direct funding and instead soliciting investment from merchants, by offering bonds for the development of the western regions. With a promise of exclusive silk trade rights and tax exemptions for a decade post-conquest, future funds may be used to finance current military endeavors. Fourth, logistics should be outsourced, entrusting the transportation of non-combat supplies to merchant clans, while the court maintains oversight and settlement, thereby reducing inefficiency and corruption. Upon completing his recitation, the entire living room fell silent, save for the gentle whirring of the laptop's fan. Li Shimin was momentarily stunned, not due to the audacity of the strategies, for each one might have been conceived by Fang Xianling and Changsun Wuji, given half a year of deliberation. What truly unsettled him was the speed and precision. In the blink of an eye, this iron box had traversed the deliberative path the Tang think tank would have taken over 6 months. Furthermore, it had even produced construction diagrams and calculated the intricacies of funding through bonds, a concept they had never even considered. Is this the calculation of future generations? Li Yuan watched enviously from the side, unable to restrain himself from interjecting. My dear grandson, I wish to inquire, if I take good care of myself, how many more years might I live? And among the founding heroes of the Tang dynasty, who is the longest lived? I wish to compare longevity. Li Yu smiled and input the question. DeepSeek responded promptly. Based on historical data and current medical interventions, should blood pressure be controlled and emotions stabilized, complemented by modern pharmaceuticals? Li Yuan, Emperor Gaozu of Tang, could expect a lifespan extending beyond 80 years. A reference for longevity is Cheng Zhijia, Cheng Yaojing, who lived to the age of 77, serving as a benchmark for outlasting adversaries. 77. How could that old fellow live so long? Upon hearing this, Li Yuan instantly perked up, his beard bristling with determination, proclaiming, I shall certainly surpass 80. I shall outlast that scoundrel who relies solely on 3 tricks. Next, it was the turn of Empress Changsun. She hesitated, glancing at Li Shimin and then at Li Yu, softly inquiring, where, could you ask it about women's ailments? For instance, the root of emotional disorders? Additionally, how might we reduce the incidence of infant mortality within the palace? Li Yu inputted, the pathological mechanisms of asthma and ancient pediatric health protection. Almost instantaneously, a model of the bronchial system appeared on the screen, meticulously elucidating the processes of airway inflammation and smooth muscle spasm, while outlining various triggering factors such as pollen, dust mites, and cold air. It became evident that it was neither her misfortune nor the work of malevolent spirits, but rather these minuscule particles and invisible bacteria causing the afflictions. Tears welled in Empress Changsun's eyes as she contemplated the lines of health recommendations. Had she known that boiling could save lives, Crown Prince Chao would have endured far less suffering in his youth. Next came Li Tai. The chubby young prince could hardly contain himself. With a serious demeanor, he adjusted his attire as if addressing a venerable scholar. His mind was filled with thoughts of the comprehensive geography. Brother Yu, assist me in inquiring. Li Tai pointed at the screen, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. I am currently compiling the comprehensive geography, and the records regarding the source of the Yellow River are inconsistent across ancient texts. Some assert it is Kunlun, while others claim it is the Sea of Stars. Since this sage knows the affairs of the world, could you enlighten me on the true origin of the Yellow River? How far is it from Chang'an? Is there a detailed description of that region? Li Yu nodded appreciatively. This was the level expected of the Prince of Wei, pragmatic yet grand in scope. He entered geographical location and geomorphological details of the Yellow River's source. The screen immediately displayed source of the Yellow River, located in the northern foothills of the Bayanhar Mountains in Qinghai Province, approximately 200 kilometers in a straight line from Chang'an, Xi'an, with a river length of about 464 kilometers. Geographical description: alpine meadows, extensive swamps, and a scattering of lakes, the Sea of Stars mentioned in ancient texts, at an altitude of approximately 500 meters. Li Tai gazed at the screen, his excitement palpable as he noted the precise distances. Li Yu explained the units and the description of the alpine meadows and swamps. The Bayanhar Mountains and the Sea of Stars were indeed real. He pulled out a small notebook he always carried, feverishly jotting down notes, exclaiming, "Incredible! This surpasses sending 1,000 scouts for information. With this, my comprehensive geography shall be the most extraordinary tome in the world." Now, it was Li Chengqian's turn. He sat silently in his wheelchair, having undergone a profound transformation after researching his fate as the deposed crown prince the previous night. He gazed at the cursor, slowly parting his lips, his voice slightly hoarse. "Brother, could you pose a question for me?" Li Yu turned his attention towards him. "Inquire. If one were to be the crown prince, yet be physically impaired, with a distinguished ruler above and a virtuous brother below, how might one preserve their true intentions?" Chapter 68. Is this truly our Tang dynasty? Li Shimin abruptly turned his head, fixating intently on Li Chengqian. Without hesitation, Li Yu entered the question. The answer from DeepSeek was intriguing. Path to breakthrough. Transcend zero-sum game. Analysis. The crisis faced by the crown prince often stems from an excessive desire for and fear of imperial power. If one can shift their focus from vying for power to expanding it, such as exploring overseas or innovating technology, transforming their value from merely awaiting succession to becoming an indispensable agent of reform, then a disability would not be an impediment, but rather a protective guise. With the core principle being, to contend without contention. Li Chengqian regarded the phrase, to contend without contention. A smile suddenly blossoming on his face, tinged with both melancholy and a sense of liberation. Li Shimin, standing nearby, observed the lines of text, his expression oscillating between pallor and flush. This ancient sage had ruthlessly dissected the essence of the Tang dynasty, revealing its underlying ailments. With a deep sigh, Li Shimin exhaled slowly. He approached, gently caressing the cold metallic shell, his gaze intricate. "Yuer, this must be safeguarded. It is of greater importance than the imperial seal. If it were to fall into the hands of the Turkic people or be seized by those with nefarious intentions, our Tang would face irrevocable calamity. Rest assured, uncle. This device recognizes its master, requires a password, and facial recognition," Li Yu replied, pointing to the camera with a smile. "Aside from me, anyone else attempting to utilize it would merely find a glowing brick." Noticing the somber atmosphere as everyone was lost in the shock of their intellectual diminishment, Li Yu clapped his hands to shatter the silence. "All right, enough of this cerebral labor. If we continue, the old sage might start smoking." Truthfully, it was Li Yu who was hungry. Casting a glance out the window at the now completely darkened sky, he smiled mysteriously. "Uncle, Awang, the questions have been exhausted. It's time to unwind. Tonight, I shall take you to a splendid place." "Where to?" Little Zigzi, upon hearing the prospect of an outing, immediately tossed aside his paintbrush and clung to Li Yu's leg, looking up with sparkling eyes. Li Yu blinked, exuding an excitement that hinted at mischief. "Let us witness what Chang'an has transformed into after 1400 years, and in the process, allow you to experience what a true city that never sleeps is like." An hour later, the black BYD Tang roared to life once more. Inside the vehicle, the air conditioning was set to a brisk chill, yet the palms of the 6 distinguished visitors from the Tang dynasty glistened with perspiration. Initially, the scenery outside the car consisted merely of streetlights and sparse high-rise buildings, allowing Li Shimin and his companions to maintain their royal composure. Commenting on the colors of the passing armored vehicles, Li Yuan even critiqued, "Though the road is smooth, the trees on either side are too uniformly planted, lacking a touch of wild charm." However, as the vehicle approached the base of the big wild goose pagoda, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. "What is that ahead?" Li Chengqian, seated in the passenger seat, lunged forward, nearly colliding with the windshield, his finger trembling as he pointed ahead. At the end of one's gaze, a vast expanse of intertwining crimson and golden light illuminated the surroundings. This was not the flickering glow of fire, which is capricious and unstable, imbued with the scent of smoke. Instead, the light before him was a solid, translucent cascade, overwhelming in its brilliance. It resembled a colossal amber, encasing the entire neighborhood within its luminous embrace. Li Yu pressed the accelerator, and as the vehicle navigated the final turn, the renowned pedestrian street of the Tang dynasty's Eternal Night City abruptly burst into the retinas of 6 Tang citizens. It was akin to a river flowing with light. Countless structures, styled in the Tang aesthetic, stood proudly along the road, yet they were no longer the somber vermilion and gray tiles of memory. Each column, every tile, and every tree was enveloped in an uncountable array of LED lights. As light and shadow danced, the entire street appeared to hover in midair. Even more astonishing was the throng of people. They surged together, undeterred by the encroaching darkness, each one filled with exuberance. Li Yu found a parking spot and halted the vehicle, opening the door. "Step out, everyone. Welcome to the Eternal Night City of the Tang dynasty." As Li Shimin set foot upon the ground, he was momentarily frozen in place. He tilted his head upwards, gazing at the strings of red lanterns adorning the street and the illuminated poetic signboards suspended in the air. The east wind scatters flowers on 1,000 trees and blows down the stars like rain. These glowing characters hovered in the atmosphere. "Is this the Lantern Festival?" Empress Chang's Sun covered her mouth, tears glistening in her eyes. a spontaneous reaction to such overwhelming beauty. She had witnessed the Lantern Festival in Chang'an, the most vibrant night of the Tang dynasty, where the populace celebrated with revelry, and the lights shone as brightly as day. Yet compared to the spectacle before her, the Lantern Festival's illumination seemed but a mere flicker in the moonlight. However, even during the Lantern Festival, Chang'an would wait for the appointed hour to light the lanterns, and surely, it could not be this dazzling. How many candles must be burned? How much oil consumed? This is a drain on the national treasury. No oil is needed, Mother, Li Tai declared, now a steadfast materialist, after the enlightenment of DeepSeek. He pointed to the light strips, his voice trembling yet resolute. This is electricity. The night has been transformed into day by thunderous light. This is what my brother the Prince of Yu refers to as modern civilization. Li Yuan stumbled, nearly losing his balance, as his cane slipped from his grasp. He gazed at the modern young women in Hanfu taking photographs, momentarily transported back to the banquets of his youth. It feels so real, he murmured, reaching out as if to grasp the light hanging in the air. But wait, where we come from, such celestial sights do not exist. The bricks underfoot are radiant. The trees are aglow. Is this truly the mortal realm? Li Chengxian sat in a wheelchair, pushed by Li Tai. He observed the beaming faces of the passers-by. Noticing that none cast him sidelong glances due to his disability, warmth enveloped him entirely. Is there really no curfew here? Li Chengxian inquired. None at all. Here. The night is merely the beginning of life. Li Shimin remained silent, hands clasped behind his back, like a child, led by Li Yu, taking measured steps along this Chang'an street that was not his own, surrounded by the grand melodies of the dance drama, The Great Tang. The rhythmic beats resonated within his chest. He observed the jubilant citizens, the children dashing about with peculiar glowing toys, and the couples boldly holding hands and embracing in the streets. Is this how the future perceives the Great Tang? A wave of indescribable bittersweetness clashed with fervor in his heart. Would my Great Tang, even with a lifetime of effort, ever attain half, or even a tenth, of this brilliance? Li Yu gazed upon the man known in history as the Heavenly Khan, noticing the vulnerability in his eyes, akin to those of a lost elder. Li Yu refrained from offering empty platitudes. He pointed towards the stage nearby, where a performer was showcasing her skills as a balancing figure, and then gestured at the myriad lights illuminating the sky. Leaning close to Li Shimin's ear, he spoke in an almost enticing tone. Uncle, this is merely a dream fabricated by posterity, a facade. However, the seeds we hold are real, the calculations are genuine, and the boxes of blueprints are authentic. As long as you are willing to heed my counsel. Pausing for effect, his gaze intensified as he locked eyes with Li Shimin's soul. Let us return and create a Tang that shines brighter and is more authentic. A true empire where the sun never sets and all nations pay homage. Just then, the fountain at the Big Wild Goose Pagoda commenced its display, accompanied by stirring music. A towering water column soared high into the sky, morphing into a vibrant dragon under the laser lights, piercing the heavens. Following the throng, the family arrived at the heart of the bustling nightless city, standing before the popular secret box of the Great Tang stage. The crowd was a sea of humanity, tightly packed in layers. On stage, actors portraying Fang Xianling and Du Ruhui engaged in witty repartee with the audience. Fang Xianling sported a goatee and exuded elegance, while Du Ruhui maintained a serious demeanor, wielding a ceremonial tablet. Their banter transformed the legends of the Great Tang into humorous anecdotes, eliciting hearty laughter from the spectators. Li Yu had strategically brought his family to the front row, positioning them at the center stage. The seven of them stood out like cranes among chickens. Their striking beauty and noble demeanor, reminiscent of figures from ancient paintings, captured the attention of all around them. Particularly, Li Shimin, clad in the emperor's robes, exuded an air of sovereignty that embodied the essence of Emperor Taizong of Tang. The actors on stage, quick to notice, exclaimed, "Oh, look at that. Old Du. Check this out." The actor portraying Fang Xianling pointed towards Li Shimin, his eyes sparkling with recognition. These individuals down there, their aura, could they be from a freshly wrapped production? This is astonishingly authentic. Du Ruhui joined in the revelry. Quick, quick. This is an omen of good fortune, especially the gentleman in the center. With that robust figure and regal presence, he is the very reincarnation of Emperor Taizong. Come, come, let us invite this distinguished family onto the stage. Panic gripped Li Yu's heart. He hurriedly whispered instructions. If we are called up, remain composed. Remember, no matter how absurd their questions may be, maintain your smiles. It's all in jest. It's merely a jest. Do not resort to violence. It is illegal to harm anyone here. Li Shimin let out a cold snort, adjusting his collar. A jest? I am eager to witness what these two old fellows can possibly inquire. Amidst the enthusiastic cheers of thousands, Li Shimin boldly led his family onto the stage, exuding an aura that transformed the lively atmosphere into that of his ascension at the Taiji Hall. As they stepped onto the stage, a multitude of smartphones rose from the audience. The comments in the Douyin live stream erupted instantaneously. Wow, this gentleman's presence, truly reminiscent of Brother Shimin. That gaze makes me feel he is about to command everyone to stand at attention. Look at that charming young man in the wheelchair. He is so handsome. A complete heartthrob. That little girl is adorable. Is she the princess of Jinyang? Surely, this must be some historical drama troupe causing a stir. An actor, Fang Xianling, approached Li Shimin, intending to jest, but was met with a glance from Li Shimin that made his heart skip a beat. Clearing his throat, the actor remarked, "Good sir, your portrayal is quite professional. Let us test your knowledge. Who was Fang Xuanling's greatest fear during the Jingguan era?" The audience chorused, "Wife." The actor chuckled. "That is mere folklore. In the official records, it is I." Suddenly, Li Shimin spoke, his voice imbued with imperial authority. With his hands clasped behind his back, He regarded the actor with a nonchalant demeanor, his gaze akin to that of a ruler observing a minister who fears his wife. That old fellow Feng Qiao. At home he fears his wife, in court he fears me. He is apprehensive that I might deem him incapable of handling significant matters. Thus he insists on having Du Ruhui accompany him, a partnership termed Feng's strategy and Du's execution. But in truth, it is merely his unwillingness to assume responsibility. A cunning fellow indeed. The audience fell silent. The two actors were left dumbfounded. Had this gentleman immersed himself too deeply into the role? Moreover, how did he speak with such authenticity, even knowing the illustrious name of Feng Qiao? The actor, awkwardly smiling, quickly shifted his attention to Li Chengqian and Li Tai. Oh, these two young gentlemen also possess remarkable bearing. Given this wheelchair, could it be that you are portraying the crown Prince Chengqian and Prince Wei Li Tai? Pointing at Li Tai, the actor teased, Your Highness, it is recorded that you are favored above all princes, yet it also mentions your physique, ahem, rather ample. Your resemblance is impeccable. A perfect recreation. Li Tai's face turned pale. In the Tang dynasty, he despised being called overweight, and just as he was about to retort, he recalled Li Yu's admonition to maintain a smile, forcing a grin that was more painful than sorrow, fanning himself in self-mockery. Ahem, in the Tang dynasty. Plumpness is considered beauty. I am of standard stature. That is a blessing. Besides, if wisdom is too heavy, how can one bear it without a bit of flesh? The audience erupted in laughter. Ha! This Prince Wei is quite witty. The actor then turned to Li Chengqian. And what of your highness the crown prince? This wheelchair of yours is remarkably lifelike. Historically, the crown prince and Prince Wei fought fiercely for the throne, often at odds. Yet today, you appear so brotherly and amicable. Is Prince Wei truly content to push the crown princess carriage? Do you not engage in disputes? This was a pointed question, striking at a sore spot. The audience clamored, Fight! Fight! We want to see the Xuanwu Gate 20. Li Tai's hand stiffened momentarily, and he instinctively glanced at his elder brother in the wheelchair. Li Shimin and Empress Changsun also cast anxious looks towards Li Chengqian. Seated in the wheelchair, Li Chengqian slowly lifted his head. He did not appear as gloomy as before, nor as despondent as last night. He glanced at Li Tai beside him, then at Li Shimin and Li Yu in the distance. Gently patting Li Tai's hand resting on the wheelchair, he took the microphone, his voice clear and resonant, echoing throughout the square. In the annals of history, Li Chengqian and Li Tai may have clashed fiercely, a struggle that was their destiny and a lament for the Tang dynasty. But today, standing here, we are different. For we have glimpsed a broader world. He gestured towards the lights above, pointed at the distant buildings, and then down at the ground beneath them. The world is vast. Our aspirations reach beyond that cold, unyielding chair. With such a grand expanse before us, why should we remain caged, fighting over mere scraps? Qin Ke has his own principles. I have my new path. We are brothers. We are allies, not adversaries. Li Chengqian turned his head to look at Li Tai, revealing a sincere smile. Qin Ke, do you not agree? Steady yourself. Let us not provide future generations with a spectacle of folly. The men of the Li family must cast their gaze far and wide. Li Tai was taken aback. Li Shimin was stunned. Empress Changsun covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Li Tai's eyes reddened, and with a firm nod, he gritted his teeth and declared, Elder brother speaks true. Brother, hold on tight. I shall push you through this sleepless city. The audience erupted into enthusiastic applause and cheers. Wow, what an incredible line. This crown prince has truly broadened his horizons. This is the spirit of the glorious Tang dynasty. Li Yu, standing to the side, gazed at the two brothers with a smile of satisfaction. Li Chengqian had finally come to a profound understanding. The actor, Du Ruhui, clearly did not wish to overlook the exquisite beauty nearby, cradling an adorable child. Madam, your attire is as if you have stepped out of a painting of Empress Changsun. And this little princess, how utterly delightful. The actor handed the microphone to Empress Changsun. May I ask your majesty? Many say that Empress Changsun is a paragon of virtue throughout history. What do you believe is most essential for a queen? Empress Changsun accepted the microphone without a hint of trepidation. She performed a slight bow, executing a gesture of Tang dynasty etiquette so perfect it could have been taken from a textbook, radiating elegance that took one's breath away. She glanced at her husband and child, speaking tenderly. A queen must first be a wife, a mother. A virtuous empress merely assists his majesty in soaring higher, holding the string of his kite. When children lose their way, she lights a lamp to guide them home. Whether in the Tang dynasty or in future generations, harmony within the family fosters prosperity in all endeavors. Her words, gentle yet powerful, resonated deeply. Oh, why do I feel a bit teary? Is this what it means to embody motherhood? I am utterly enchanted. At that moment, the little girl suddenly peered out from her mother's embrace, chirping sweetly into the microphone. I have a nest. I have a nest. The performers chuckled, crouching down to tease her. And who might you be? The little girl puffed out her chest and proudly declared, I am the little girl, Princess Jinyang. I am the precious darling of the great pot and my father. My favorite treat is candy. As she spoke, she pulled a large white rabbit candy from her pocket and offered it to the performer, saying, Please have some candy. The audience was instantly enchanted. Ah, how adorable is that? You've tricked me into wanting a daughter. Little girl, my cyber daughter. The performer then presented the microphone to Li Yuan and Li Shimin. Ladies and gentlemen, the main event is upon us. Observing the age difference and charisma between these two, we have the retired Emperor Li Yuan and the illustrious General Li Shimin, correct? Leaning on his cane, Li Yuan raised his chin with a hint of arrogance. It seems you have an eye for talent, young man, for I am the founder of the Tang dynasty. Before he could finish, the performer, Feng Xianling, mischievously posed a provocative question. Since both Emperor and Emperor Taizong are present, we must address a long-standing rumor that has perplexed us for a millennium. Pray, Emperor Li Yuan, considering this valiant son beside you, who has led the Tang to greatness, do you now regret naming the eldest son, Li Jiansheng, as crown prince instead of elevating the second son earlier? Had you chosen the second son sooner, might we have avoided that? Ahem, filial piety incident at Xuanwu Gate? A collective gasp echoed through the audience. How audacious. The host truly understands live broadcasting. Can such things be asked? This is a live father-son confrontation. Li Yuan broke into a cold sweat, ready to intervene at any moment. Li Shimin's posture stiffened, his palms clammy with sweat. This was the lifelong knot he bore, a chasm that eternally separated him from his father. He instinctively glanced at his father, his gaze a tumult of guilt, yearning, and the stubbornness of a ruler. Li Yuan's beard trembled. He cast a deep glance at Li Shimin, who appeared as tense as a child caught misbehaving. After 3 seconds of silence, Li Yuan suddenly raised his cane, feigning a strike at Li Shimin's backside. Li Shimin instinctively recoiled, yet did not evade. However, at the moment of impact, the cane merely tapped lightly on Li Shimin's shoulder. The elder spoke into the microphone, his tone seemingly jesting yet imbued with a sense of profound experience. Regret? Humph. What I regret most in my life is not dismantling this lad's residence at the Tactics Bureau sooner. Leaving him idle, pondering how to rebel against his father. Laughter erupted from the audience. Ha ha. The official roast is the most lethal. Li Yuan then shifted his tone, gazing at the resplendent scene below, observing the joyful faces. His expression softened, even tinged with a semblance of acceptance. However, while this boy once infuriated me to the point of bloodshed, looking at the current state of affairs, I suppose he has done reasonably well. Should the sovereign arrive, it is unlikely the scene would be as lively. Though the affection displayed between father and son may be feigned, the grandeur of the Tang dynasty is undeniably authentic, and I, an old man, concede to that. In this moment, Li Shimin abruptly turned his gaze, fixating on his father's profile. To him, that single admission bore more weight than 1,000 volumes of historical accolades or the homage of countless nations. His eyes brimmed with unshed tears, yet he valiantly maintained the dignity befitting an emperor, seizing the moment to declare with pride, "Indeed, father, do you not recognize who forged this empire? This flourishing era is my tribute to you, as well as my pledge to the world." The atmosphere grew increasingly fervent, prompting the performers to escalate the drama. Actor, Fang Xianling, truly moving. This exemplifies true vision. Let us pose another profound question to Emperor Taizong. In the 4th year of Jingguan, when you vanquished the Eastern Turks, what was your mindset during such a perilous undertaking? Li Shimin inhaled deeply, suppressing the earlier emotional tumult, replaced now by the confidence of the war god of the Tang. A sardonic smile graced his lips, as if he were transported back to those days of yore, his imperial aura unmistakably present. What was my thought process? Quite simple. I divided our forces into 6 routes. Li Jing advanced from Dingxiang, Li Shiji from Tongma, Chai Xiao from Jina, Li Daozong from Datong, Wei Xiaojie from Heng'an, and Shui Wanqie from Chanwo. The core strategy can be encapsulated in 4 words. All in. With a commanding gaze, he exuded dominance. We triumphed over all nations. Should we falter, I shall lead the charge myself. Moreover, with the military genius Li Jing at my side, what do I have to fear? Kagan? I would gladly stake my claim. The audience erupted in thunderous applause, countless voices chanting the might of air Feng. Actor, Du Ruhui, truly formidable. Now, let us inquire about something more literary. The preface to Lantingyi Su. It is said you secured it from the monk Bian Kai. How did you manage such a feat? The crowd erupted in raucous laughter. Secured it. Indeed, it was a deception. Li Shimin, with a flick of his sleeve, unperturbed and resolute. Nonsense. Can the affairs of scholars be termed deceit? It was a clever maneuver by Xiao Yi, a testament to wit. Furthermore, the calligraphy of Wang Shiji is a national treasure, safeguarded solely by myself and the Tang. To allow it to languish in a monk's temple would be a gross misdeed. As for whether it resides in Zhaoling, well, here I stand, and I have not brought it with me. Desiring it? Dig for it yourself. The crowd roared with laughter once more. This Li Erfeng was quite the rascal. Actor, Fang Xianling, one last question. If you were to traverse to the present day, what would you most wish to experience? Li Shimin instinctively licked his lips, his gaze drifting towards Li Yu, before delivering the classic reply. What I wish to experience is of little consequence. What matters is whether that braised beef noodle is still available. I find it far superior to the lamb served in the imperial kitchen, especially with 2 hot dog sausages added, along with that red chili oil. The audience erupted into uncontrollable laughter. The Emperor Taizong's fondness for instant noodles was irrefutable. This advertisement placement was undeniably bold. Actor, magnificent. Your performances were nothing short of divine. Now, let us formally acknowledge this extraordinary ensemble of cosplayers. Li Shimin adjusted his attire, exuding an aura of authority. Li Yuan. The old man straightened his back, his voice resonating as he struck his cane upon the ground. I am Li Yuan, the founding emperor of the Tang dynasty. Remember, without me, there would be no great Tang. Li Shimin, with his head held high and a piercing gaze. He pointed skyward with one hand. I am Li Shimin, the grand general of the Tang dynasty. This splendid era is as I have desired. Empress Changsun, with a gentle smile and a graceful bow, she proclaimed, I am of the Changsun clan, wishing for all the children of the world to find their freedom. Li Chengqian, the crown prince seated in a wheelchair, for the first time before such a multitude, he proudly declared, I am Li Chengqian, the crown prince of the Tang. Though one leg is impaired, my ambition remains unbroken. My Tang dynasty traverses the starry seas. Li Tai, Prince of Wei, wiping the sweat from his brow while fanning himself. He remarked, I am Li Tai, the Prince of Wei. This wheelchair tires my hands, and I am not overweight. I am merely robust. It is the weight of knowledge. Little Shitzi, Princess Jinyang being lifted by Li Yu, she shouted into the microphone, her youthful voice breaking. I am Shitzi, the Princess of Jinyang. I adore the big pot, and I want candy. Finally, the microphone reached Li Yu's hands. He observed the scene with a smile and said, I am Li Yu, a guide bringing our ancestors home for a visit, while also helping them fulfill their dreams. As the performance concluded, the family had yet to descend the stage before being engulfed by enthusiastic spectators. Young man, may we take a photo together? You all resemble each other so much. Your Majesty, may I have a photo? Your grace is extraordinary. Little Shitzi, Andy has candy for you. Smile for the camera. Initially, Li Shimin felt a twinge of reluctance, perceiving the crowd as a breach of decorum. However, upon witnessing the genuine admiration and affection in the eyes of the young people, as they raised their phones and shouted that Erfing was the most handsome, his perspective shifted. He began to strike poses in cooperation, even attempting the peace sign, albeit somewhat awkwardly. Meanwhile, on Douyin and Weibo, the trending topic divine royal family of the Tang dynasty appears in the Night City surged to the forefront of discussions. In the live stream, millions of viewers gathered to witness this transcendent meeting across time. Is this truly an actor? Such charisma. I feel as though I am watching a historical documentary. The gentleman portraying Li Shimin has a gaze that captivates me. I wish to serve him as Wei Zheng. I implore the sister playing Empress Chang's son to debut. This is the visage of a prosperous and peaceful nation. That young man in the wheelchair, his words about the starry sea moved me to tears. This is the essence of a true crown prince of the Tang. Netizens fervently liked the posts, with some even delving into the backgrounds of these celestial beings, only to discover no trace of them. After the performance, the group exerted considerable effort to extricate themselves from the throng, retreating to a relatively quiet platform where they gazed back at the entire Night City. The clamor faded, yet the myriad lights continued to blaze. Li Shimin leaned against the railing, observing the resplendent cityscape and the distant silhouette of the big wild goose pagoda. The wind lifted the hem of his garments, and in that moment, he felt a profound connection with the city of Chang'an, where, in this future generation, the common folk appear to be exceedingly joyful. They fear neither the government nor me, and they dare to jest about me on stage. Li Shimin's voice trailed off, for in their hearts, he was a monumental figure of history, a beloved ancestor. They reside in an era where kneeling is unnecessary, where they are well-fed and live with dignity, an upgraded version of the harmonious world you once dreamt of, Li Yu mused softly. Beside him, Li Yuan sighed, gesturing with his cane towards the expanse of radiant light. This prosperous age is even more exhilarating than our Tang dynasty. This brilliance fills my heart with warmth. Li Tai halted his wheelchair, rubbing his aching wrist, and murmured, Brother, while this era is indeed splendid, pushing you is quite exhausting. I shall ensure to heed Prince Yu's advice and create an automatic wheelchair for you. Li Changxian gazed into the distant lights, his eyes shining with unprecedented brightness, and quietly remarked, A little fatigue is worthwhile, Qin Ke, but I hope to continue this journey, even if seated in a wheelchair, to witness our Tang reach such a day. Li Shimin turned back to look at his family. He saw a reconciled father, supportive brothers, and joyful wife and daughters. A sudden smile broke across his face, and after shedding the burdens of a timeless emperor, he felt remarkably at ease. I shall bring back all that I have seen and learned here. Those lights, that electricity, those ethereal days, and this vibrant spirit. I shall ensure that the glorious Tang of Jingguan transforms into such a city that never sleeps. I desire for the people of Tang to revel in laughter at night, just like those we see today. Li Yu beheld the spirited Li Shimin, his heart swelling with ambition. Second uncle, as long as you wish for it, we can achieve it. What we bring back is not merely seeds and computers, but the spark of modern civilization. Chapter 72, Returning home to honor ancestors in the early morning. Li Yu stuffed the last box of local specialties into the trunk, various calcium-rich milk, health supplements, and a few packs of Zhonghua cigarettes for his father that he had purchased at the supermarket yesterday. Are we all settled? Let us depart. Li Yu took his seat in the driver's cabin, fastened his seatbelt, and glanced back at the fully loaded Tang sightseeing group. In the passenger seat, the retired Emperor Li Yuan was curiously fiddling with the electric seat. In the second row, Li Shimin sat beside Empress Changsan, who held their little child. In the last row were Li Chengxian and the caretaker Li Tai. The vehicle started moving. Li Yuan gazed out at the rapidly retreating scenery, his complexion paling. You are we truly heading to Hanzhong? Of course, that is our ancestral home, Li Yu replied with a smile. You, my child, are unaware of the difficulties of the journey. Hanzhong lies to the south, the Dragon Vein, a natural barrier. Li Yuan pointed towards the majestic mountains in the south, his eyes reflecting the psychological shadows of his past campaigns. When I rose in rebellion from Taiyuan, how long did it take to navigate through Guangzhou? Later, to guard against Bashu, I specifically inspected that plank road. Is that a path for humans? It consists of mere wooden boards suspended over cliffs. Below lies an abyss of immeasurable depth. Can our vehicle of the frail and infirm, referring to Li Chengxian and himself, withstand such mountainous terrain? It may take us a month to traverse. Li Shimin in the back also wore a grave expression, his prayer beads spinning rapidly, his brows nearly knitting into a tight frown. As a military strategist, he understood all too well the significance of the Qinling Mountains. They represent an insurmountable barrier. To journey from Chang'an to Hanzhong, one must traverse the Zawugu, Taluo Road, or Baoxiao Road. Every step required one to scale the cliffs like a monkey. Li Yu glanced at Li Shimin through the rearview mirror. Second uncle, are you worried too? I wish to see how we might reach Hanzhong in just over an hour. Fear not. With a swift press on the accelerator, Li Yu maneuvered onto the city bypass, which in that era was a formidable barrier, yet in this time, it resembled a mere backyard. Look ahead. We are approaching a checkpoint. Before them, a massive toll station loomed, with a red electronic screen flashing the word South Xi'an. The vehicle decelerated slightly, heading directly towards a lane marked with ETC. Stop. Halt. There's a barrier. Li Yuan instinctively shouted, noticing a horizontal pole obstructing their path. Just as the vehicle was 3 meters from the barrier, a crisp electronic tone rang out. The red and white pole, as if in the presence of royalty, smoothly lifted, standing upright with grace. Whoosh. The car sped past without a moment's pause. Li Yuan was left dumbfounded, turning back to gaze at the pole that descended once more. We just passed through? Who was guarding this? Why was there no toll collected? How did it know we were coming? Is there some mechanism at play? Li Yu clarified. Your Majesty, that's called ETC. There's a small device in the car and a sensor at the roadside. As we pass, it automatically deducts the fee from my card. This is the modern way of processing tolls, simply a matter of facial recognition. Truly remarkable. Li Shimin stroked his chin, deep in thought. If only the checkpoints of the Tang dynasty could operate in this manner, would it not expedite commerce and travel by tenfold or more, while also eliminating the petty corruption of the guards? As the vehicle ascended the highway, speed increased to 120 km/h. The trees on either side transformed into green shadows, while the distant Qinling Mountains appeared as a vast ink painting, rushing towards them at an unprecedented speed. Hold on tight. We are about to enter the mountain. No sooner had he spoken than the car did not begin the arduous winding ascent Li Shimin had anticipated. Instead, it plunged directly into a pitch-black tunnel. Darkness enveloped them instantly, followed by 2 rows of bright yellow sodium lights whizzing overhead, retreating into the distance. The vehicle sped along a smooth asphalt road, flanked by sturdy concrete walls adorned with depictions of blue skies and white clouds to alleviate visual fatigue. Where are we? Li Shimin pressed himself against the window. Are we inside the mountain? Indeed, we are within the mountain, Li Yu replied calmly. This is the Qinling-Zhongnan Mountain Highway Tunnel, spanning 18 kilometers. We are currently traversing at a speed exceeding 200 kilometers per hour, deep within the Qinling. Li Shimin quickly calculated in his mind. 18 kilometers is roughly 36 li. They excavated 36 li within the mountain, and it is so wide, so flat, so bright. He gazed at the starlit lights overhead, feeling the refreshing air from the vents. How many laborers were needed for this? How many years of work? Will this mountain not collapse? The weight of the stones above must be tremendous. Second uncle, this is the power of infrastructure mastery. Li Yu could not conceal his pride as he spoke. In this nation, when faced with mountains, we forge paths, and when confronted with rivers, we build bridges. It is merely a fundamental skill. Do not mention the Qinling Mountains. Even Mount Tai can be traversed with ease. This tunnel employs the most advanced shield tunneling machine. A colossal steel beast akin to a pangolin, capable of devouring several tons of rock in a single bite. The vehicle traversed the tunnel for a full 15 minutes. To the ancients, this duration felt akin to traversing a time-space conduit. Li Yuan, initially filled with trepidation, transformed into a figure of curiosity. He pointed at the top of the tunnel. What is that rotating? A windmill? That provides us with air, otherwise, we would suffocate in this cavern. Ahead, a glimmer of light appeared. With a rush, the vehicle burst forth from the tunnel, and suddenly, brightness enveloped them. Just moments ago, the skies above Guangzhong were dreary. Upon exiting the tunnel, they were greeted by the splendid sunshine of southern Shaanxi. Empress Changsun patted her chest. The oppressive sensation of traversing within the mountain had left her breathless, yet now, surrounded by lush greenery, she felt a surge of tranquility. Li Shimin turned to gaze back at the unfathomable tunnel entrance, remaining silent for a considerable time. The ancient stratagem of repairing the road while secretly plotting was mere childish play beside such engineering marvels. If I had this road. Li Shimin's hands trembled with excitement. The provisions and troops of Guangzhong could reach Hanzhong and Bashu in mere half a day. That southwestern region would be as accessible as one's own backyard. What worries could arise? Should Tubo dare to act recklessly? My grand army would arrive at dawn and depart by dusk. Additionally, Li Tai chimed in from behind, his small eyes sparkling with intelligence. Father, this road can not only transport troops, but also goods. The silks and medicinal herbs from Shu can reach Chang'an in a single day. The trade taxes from this would likely surpass the current salt and iron taxes. Li Shimin cast an approving glance at Li Tai. Qin Ke is indeed correct. When the roads are open, wealth flows. The future generations have truly exemplified the essence of connectivity. Father, look. What is that? Li Tai suddenly pointed toward the towering silver-white iron towers atop the mountains. Chapter 73. Do you know who our ancestors are? Li Tai gestured to the structures nearby. Li Yu cast a glance, his tone solemn. That is the national power grid. It serves as the lifeblood of illumination. The lights seen in the cities and the sleepless city are powered through these lines, transmitted from power plants thousands of miles away. Regardless of how high the mountains or how deep the valleys, as long as there are people residing, the nation ensures electricity reaches them. Even if a household is nestled deep within the mountains with only 2 elderly residents, the state invests hundreds of thousands to extend the lines. Li Shimin gazed upward at the iron towers standing resolutely against the cliffs. An expense not calculated, solely for the sake of illuminating the populace, Li Shimin murmured. Under heaven, all lands belong to the king. My love for the people, akin to a father's, pales in comparison to this grand vision. Upon entering the Hanzhong Plain, the scenery shifted dramatically. The majestic Qinling Mountains gave way to the exquisite landscapes of Hanzhong. On either side of the road, fields stretched into a vast sea of white. Countless semicircular white greenhouses extended beyond the horizon, reflecting blinding rays of sunlight. What is that? Military tents? Has a million-strong army encamped here? Li Shimin's vigilance surged. What scale of troops could this possibly entail? Li Yu slowed the vehicle, rolling down the window for fresh air. Second uncle. Those are vegetable greenhouses. You are not worried about the scarcity of vegetables in winter, only able to consume pickled vegetables and radishes, are you? In this modern age, we have turned the seasons on their head. That thin layer, known as plastic film, appears delicate yet provides warmth and allows light to filter through. Within the greenhouse, the atmosphere is pleasantly warm, filled with fresh cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants. Outside, the heavy snow falls, while inside, it feels like spring. The Empress Zhongsun gasps in astonishment, covering her mouth. This off-season produce, it defies the natural order. Can it truly be consumed? Li Yu chuckles. Indeed, it is not only edible, but exceptionally delicious. Otherwise, how could we have dined on such fresh vegetables last night? Li Shimin gazes at the expanse of white outside, his eyes ablaze with fervor. If only the Tang dynasty possessed such technology, the common folk would no longer suffer in winter, and soldiers could enjoy fresh vegetables, alleviating the affliction of night blindness. What is this plastic made from? Is it expensive? Not at all. It is derived from refined petroleum, though the process is rather intricate. As the vehicle exited the highway, maneuvering through winding roads, it finally turned into a quaint village nestled by the mountains and water, Lijiawan. A three-story villa adorned with gleaming white tiles stood proudly. A large red lantern hanging at the entrance, while an electric tricycle rested in the yard. This is Li Yu's hometown. Dad, Mom, I'm back. He parked the car and honked the horn. Woof, woof. A large yellow dog bounded out of the yard, followed by an elderly couple, simply dressed, yet brimming with vitality. Li Yu's father, Li Jiangguo, donned a deep blue work jacket, clutching a large tea mug. His mother, Wang Xiaoying, wore an apron with flour dusting her hands. Oh my, Yuezi has returned, Wang Xiaoying exclaimed, her face alight with joy. However, when she saw the car door swing open and a throng of people disembark, she was momentarily taken aback. This group exuded an entirely different aura. Although they were clad in modern attire, Li Shimin in a stand-collar jacket, Li Yuan in Tang clothing, and Empress Zhongsun in a sophisticated trench coat, their regal bearing and commanding presence instinctively made Wang Xiaoying wish to wipe her hands clean. Particularly striking was the middle-aged man, who, with his hands clasped behind his back, surveyed the house with a slight nod, exuding the demeanor of a leader on an inspection. Father, mother. Allow me to introduce you. Li Yu hurriedly approached, launching into a rehearsed monologue with remarkable speed. This gentleman is our group's chairman, Mr. Li. And this is the former chairman. This is the chairman's wife. And these are Mr. Li's esteemed children. Mr. Li has come to trace his roots, having heard that our branch of the Li family is a prominent lineage in Hanzhong, and he is also here to inspect agricultural projects. So I brought him along. Oh my, a significant figure indeed. Upon learning that his son's superior was a wealthy magnate, Li Jiangguo's hands trembled with excitement. He quickly wiped his palms on his trousers before extending his hand. Mr. Li, welcome, welcome. It is an honor to have you here in our humble abode. Please, do come in. Li Shimin inhaled deeply, instantly embodying the persona of a skilled actor. He tempered his imperial aura, donning a warm smile befitting a successful entrepreneur, and firmly grasped Li Jiangguo's hand, shaking it vigorously. My dear brother, I hope I'm not intruding. We are of the same family from 5 centuries ago. I've heard from young Li that our branch of the Li family is a notable lineage in Hanzhong, blessed with both talent and resources. As I passed by this time, I simply had to come and pay a visit to our roots. Observing your complexion, dear brother, I can tell that this place nurtures its people well. The term dear brother left Li Jiangguo momentarily stunned, his face flushing crimson. A magnate worth hundreds of billions addressing me as brother? What an immense honor. Quickly, my dear wife, don't just stand there. Prepare a chicken. Fetch that old hen that no longer lays eggs. Instantly, the yard erupted into chaos, with chickens flapping and dogs barking. At this moment, little Zizi played a significant diplomatic role. Dressed in a pink top and sporting 2 tiny pigtails, she trotted over to Wang Xiaoying, looking up with her cherubic face and sweetly exclaiming, "Hello, Grandma. I'm Zizi. Your rooster is so impressive, even more so than my parrot." The term grandma melted Wang Xiaoying's heart. Oh my, this girl is truly adorable. She resembles a doll from a traditional painting. Wang Xiaoying scooped up little Zizi, disregarding the dirt on her hands, and planted a kiss on her small face. Come, Grandma will get you some walnuts to eat, and some freshly made persimmons. They are so sweet. Empress Zhongsun beheld this scene, her eyes filled with tenderness. She stepped forward, taking Wang Xiaoying's hand, her demeanor devoid of any pretense. Her tone as gentle as a spring breeze. Sister, you have worked hard. This child is mischievous and greedy. I hope you can be patient with her. The air here in the countryside is so fresh. It truly is a splendid place. Not at all. You resemble the Guanyin Bodhisattva from the television. Wang Xiaoying exclaimed with excitement. Come inside. Have a drink of water. Lunch was served in the courtyard. The hot noodles, soft and chewy rice noodles, were not served cold, but warm, mixed with a special red oil, garlic water, and vinegar, embodying the spirit of Hanzhong. Li Tai took a bite, slurping appreciatively. This chili is fragrant. Yet these rice noodles are more flavorful than cold noodles. The red oil looks intimidating, but is actually aromatic. The tofu, slightly sour due to the pickling, paired wonderfully with a special dipping sauce made from green peppers, cilantro, and garlic. Li Yuan savored 2 large bowls of tofu soup, exhaling contentedly. What a delight. This soup surpasses even that of ginseng. The tofu has a refreshing aroma. Excellent. Stir-fried bacon with garlic shoots presented a glistening sight, the fatty bacon shimmering in the sunlight, with lean meat glistening and the fat appearing translucent. Each bite released a smoky flavor intertwined with the meat's savory essence, becoming increasingly delicious with every chew. Li Shimin devoured 3 pieces, showering praises. This meat, brother, how did you prepare it? I would like to take some home. Upon hearing that the esteemed magnate enjoyed his bacon, Li Jianguo was overjoyed, immediately responding. I'm glad you like it, Chairman Li. This is from our own pigs. Smoked with cypress branches. I will pack 5 legs for you when you leave. That would be all the stock. During the meal, Li Jianguo presented his treasured Shifeng liquor. Chairman Li, there isn't much good liquor in the countryside. This one is a bit strong. Do give it a try. Li Shimin raised his cup and took a sip. What a fine wine. His eyes lit up. This liquor possessed the bold spirit of the Qin people. It reminded him of his own temperament in his youth. Come, brother, let us have a toast. Having had one too many, Li Jianguo began to boast. Chairman Li, since we both share the surname Li, I shall no longer consider you an outsider. Do you know who our Li family descends from? Chapter 74. I bow to myself. Li Shimin set down his chopsticks, casting a knowing glance at Li Yu. Oh, who might that be? Li Jianguo pointed toward the ancestral hall of the village, his voice resonating powerfully. Emperor Taizong. Li Shimin. We are indeed true descendants of royalty. Although our family tree has been interrupted for several generations, my grandfather insisted that we carry on this lineage. A timeless sovereign indeed. With a chuckle, Li Tai spluttered his noodles, while Li Chengqian coughed and shook his shoulders. Empress Changsun stifled a laugh, her eyes darting playfully towards her husband. Li Shimin's expression was nothing short of spectacular. He twitched his lips before finally nodding solemnly, placing a hand on Li Jianguo's shoulder. Brother, you speak the truth. I too perceive a resemblance. We share that dragon and phoenix countenance. It signifies the admirable genes of the Li family. Li Jianguo laughed heartily. Indeed, Chairman Li, your visage is that of an emperor. Had you lived in ancient times, who else would have had a chance? Li Shimin silently praised himself for his discernment. You have keen insight. I am indeed born for this. Once they had feasted and refreshed themselves, the main event commenced. Chairman Li, come, allow me to show you our ancestral hall. Let us offer incense to our forebears, ensuring your business flourishes. Blushing, Li Jianguo led the group towards the village. The verdant hills of Hanzhong were lush and inviting, with the ancestral hall nestled among several millennia-old cypress trees. The blue bricks and dark tiles, though not grandiose, exuded an air of solemnity. As they pushed open the heavy wooden door, the scent of sandalwood wafted through the air. In the center of the hall stood a table laden with a multitude of memorial tablets. Prominently displayed was the inscription, the spirit tablet of Emperor Taizong, Li Shimin. Adjacent to it, slightly elevated, was the spirit tablet of Emperor Gaozu, Li Yuan. Leaning on his cane, Li Yuan approached his tablet, squinting for a moment before shaking his beard and muttering softly to Li Shimin. The calligraphy is rather mediocre. Yet, I am content to enjoy this incense for 14 centuries. Though the Tang dynasty has perished, our lineage endures. Li Shimin stood before his tablet, motionless for an extended period. He gazed at the name, Li Shimin. In the Tang dynasty, these 3 characters represented the pinnacle of imperial authority, a name no one dared to utter casually. Yet here, it was merely a name of an ancestor, a symbol cherished by posterity. An absurd sensation arose within him. Whom was he venerating? The long-departed Li Shimin? The essence of Huaxia civilization? Or the unbroken lineage of blood? Chairman Li, come, light the incense. This is our shared ancestor, still watching over us. Li Jianguo presented 3 sticks of incense. Li Shimin accepted them, not waiting for the customary kneeling, but instead respectfully adjusted his attire, though it was a jacket, and donned a serious expression. With both hands raised, he offered the incense before the tablet, addressing the ethereal semblance of himself and the enduring bloodline, bowing deeply. This bow transcended 14 centuries. 1 bow, honoring the resilience of the land of Huaxia, enduring the vicissitudes of time, remaining prosperous and thriving. 2 bows, honoring the Li descendants, no matter where they may be, who have kept the flame of their ancestry alive. Like ordinary people such as Li Jianguo, safeguarding the family's memory. 3 bows, in reverence to the historical figure who devoted himself tirelessly to the grandeur of the Tang dynasty, he silently conveyed, your efforts have not been in vain. The spirit of the Tang lives on. Li Shimin, the emperor of the Tang, mentally echoed this sentiment. Though your nation has perished, your soul and blood thrive upon this land. I shall return and sow the seeds of this prosperous era back into the soil of the Tang. Empress Zhongsun also stepped forward to pay her respects, her gaze filled with tenderness as she watched her husband's silhouette. At that moment, she realized that Li Shimin's heart was finally unburdened. Li Chengqian, seated in his wheelchair, silently offered a prayer, while Li Tai humbly knelt on the mat, bowing his head in reverence to their ancestors. In the face of a millennium, the trivialities of power struggles seemed utterly insignificant. Brother, look, we are all here. Li Tai remarked with a smile, pointing to the small names listed in their family genealogy. Indeed, Li Chengqian replied with a relieved smile, we are all present. Having completed his offering, Li Shimin turned around, his eyes slightly reddened. He gazed at Li Yu and then at Li Jianguo. Younger brother, he said, extracting a red envelope that had been prepared in advance, an offering from Li Yu containing a bank card with a deposit of 500,000. This is for the restoration of the ancestral hall, and also to purchase some supplements for your siblings. Do not dismiss it as trifling. It is a token of my regard. Li Jianguo vehemently refused, exclaiming, Mr. Li, this is unacceptable. Your presence alone is a great honor. How can I accept your money? No, take it. Li Shimin interjected sharply, his imperial demeanor manifesting in that instant, causing Li Jianguo to tremble in awe. Am I the master, or are you? Listen to me. Ensure the ancestral hall is restored properly. Maintain this lineage. This money is rightly yours. Overwhelmed, Li Jianguo could only accept it with a shudder, internally marveling at the commanding presence of this great leader. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the Qinling Mountains were bathed in a golden red hue. The black BYD Tang revved up once more, ready to embark on its return journey. The trunk was filled to the brim with provisions from Wang Xiaoying, home-cured bacon, freshly pressed rapeseed oil, sun-dried cowpeas, and a bag brimming with walnuts and persimmon cakes. Take good care of Mr. Li. Come back often. Li Jianguo and Wang Xiaoying waved goodbye at the village entrance, their figures elongated by the setting sun. Inside the vehicle, Li Shimin held the jar of persimmon wine brewed by Wang Xiaoying, gazing out at the receding Qinling Mountains, and suddenly burst into laughter. His laughter was light and liberating. You are recalled. Yes, second uncle. Li Shimin caressed the jar, his gaze resolute. On this journey, I have glimpsed the path of greatness and illumination, witnessed the bounty of the earth, and felt the warmth of home. Upon my return, I shall ensure that the people of the Tang dynasty have homes like these, walk roads like these, and savor meats like these. Li Yu, through the rearview mirror, observed the car full of Tang entrepreneurs returning home, and could not help but smile. Yet, as he thought of the impending actions, his smile broadened even further. Hold on tight, everyone. With a firm press on the accelerator, the car surged forward like a streak of light, merging seamlessly into the sunset over the Qinling Mountains. Chapter 75, Filial Piety and Benevolence. Part 1. Without any prior warning, a torrential downpour began to pour down. The BYD Tang traversed the Jingkuan Expressway through the Qinling Mountains, its headlights cutting through the curtain of rain ahead. The relentless patter of raindrops hammered against the car roof, creating a muffled sound that stirred unease within. The windshield wipers swung rapidly, yet they failed to clear the layers of mist obscuring the view ahead. The atmosphere, which had been somewhat warm due to the ancestral visit, was abruptly chilled by the sudden downpour. You error, find a place to stop, suggested Li Yuan from the passenger seat, instinctively tightening his grip on the seatbelt. He gazed out at the curtain of rain that seemed to engulf everything, coupled with the darkening sky. The deluge was indeed disconcerting. All right, Li Yu replied, glancing at the navigation system. There's a service area ahead. Let us take shelter from the rain. The vehicle entered the Qinling service area. But instead of heading towards the brightly lit rest hall, Li Yu maneuvered the car into a secluded corner. There, two large trucks stood silent, akin to dark mountains, blocking any external view and the scant illumination from the streetlights. With a decisive action, he turned off the engine and lights. A click resonated as he locked all four doors via the central control screen, the sharp sound piercing the solitude of the rain-soaked cabin. Silence enveloped the interior. In the back seat, Li Tai muttered, "Why did you lock the doors? It's stifling. I want to get out." "Settle down," Li Yu retorted, unbuckling his seatbelt and turning to face the rear, his knees resting on the driver's seat. He refrained from turning on the overhead light, allowing everyone to remain shrouded in a dim ambience that fostered both safety and a sense of vulnerability. The torrential rain rendered any escape impossible. Li Yu surveyed the group, his gaze finally resting on Li Yuan and Li Shimin. At that moment, Li Yuan was attempting to feign interest in the rain outside, while Li Shimin, his head bowed, absent-mindedly rolled a newly acquired walnut in his hands, producing a faint clicking sound. "Uncle, Your Majesty," Li Yu spoke softly, yet in the confined space. His words were as clear as whispers in one's ear. "The rain is quite heavy. Let us take a moment to pause. Now that there are no outsiders, I have something to discuss." Li Yuan, cocooned in his jacket and seemingly asleep with his eyes closed, remained still. In contrast, Li Shimin sat upright, his fingers spinning the walnut with fervor. "Your Majesty," Li Yu called out directly. Li Yuan's eyelids fluttered but did not open. His voice was hoarse as he replied, I am weary. Whatever it is, let us speak of it upon our return to the palace." In the realm of the Tang dynasty, they were sovereign and subject, father and son, a model for the people. Some matters were best left unspoken. Yet here, in this car, they were merely family. Unless this festering issue was addressed today, none would find comfort returning home. Li Yu was resolute, presenting the prepared inquiry. "Your Majesty, the night before last at the Eternal City, upon the stage of the Sheng Tang Mihi, you remarked in front of thousands that Uncle S' performance was satisfactory, even suggesting that if constructed, it might not be as lively. I wish to know, was that a mere pretense to spare Uncle's feelings, or did you speak from the heart?" The atmosphere within the vehicle froze instantaneously. Li Shimin's hands halted their motion, his gaze fixated on the back of his father's head. A mixture of longing and trepidation reflected in his eyes. He yearned to uncover the truth, yet feared that the revelation would shatter his heart. Li Yuan, still with his eyes closed, scoffed with a mocking smile. "Do you truly take the words spoken upon the stage to heart? They are merely for the amusement of the common folk. Am I to publicly denounce him as an ungrateful son before generations yet to come? I still have my dignity." Upon hearing this, the light in Li Shimin's eyes extinguished instantly, his head drooping as if he were a child chastised by a parent for a transgression. "Is that so?" Li Yu chuckled, a hint of amusement in his tone. "But, Your Majesty, acting can only deceive for a time. It cannot endure for long. These past few days in the modern world, your second uncle has served you food, and you have eaten. He carried you down the stairs, and you did not resist. Today, back in our ancestral home, he poured you wine, and you clinked glasses with him. If you truly harbored such hatred towards him, genuinely believed him to be a despicable villain, could you have consumed the food he offered? Could you have drunk the wine he poured? In the days of Dun Palace, you would not allow him through the door. How is it that, 14 centuries later, your defenses have crumbled?" Li Yuan opened his eyes. The once kind gaze now reflected only exasperation and a touch of panic, stripped of any benevolence. He turned to glare at Li Yu, his chest heaving violently. Must you, my wayward grandson, insist on tearing down this veil? Yes, I have eaten. I have drunk. It is because I am old. I lack the strength to contend with him. In this unfamiliar place, who else can I rely on but him? But what does that signify? Does it imply that I have forgiven him? His voice rose sharply. The pent-up resentment of 9 years bursting forth within the confines of the small carriage. Li Yu, do you have any idea how much I suffer? Do you think that a few shared meals and the sight of lights can cleanse the bloodshed of the past? Li Shimin trembled, yearning to call out father, but found his voice trapped, unable to utter a single word. Li Yu did not retreat. Instead, he stepped forward. Your Majesty, where does your pain lie? Speak of it. For your second uncle is here, as am I, along with Gao Ming and Qin Quebec. Today, let us purge this festering wound. Where does it lie? Li Yuan laughed bitterly, the sound more mournful than any cry. Very well, since you, the younger generation, wish to strip away this facade, what have I left to conceal? He gestured towards the rain-soaked window, as if envisioning the bloody scene from 9 years prior. Erlang. Li Yuan did not gaze at Li Yu, but instead looked through the rearview mirror at Li Shimin in the back seat. You perceive only my favoritism. My oppression of you. But do you understand why I acted thus? I am the founding emperor of the Tang dynasty. I am not merely your father. I am also the father of Li Jianqing, the father of Li Yuanji. Both hands bear flesh. You are a valiant general, your achievements eclipsing the sovereign, and your proud warriors heed not my commands. If I do not keep you in check, what shall become of the crown prince? What of the Eastern Palace? What of the principles of this court? I sought to ensure that you brothers could coexist. I even contemplated granting you a fief in Luoyang, or even dividing the Tang dynasty in two. I have exhausted every means to preserve the lives of you brothers. Yet what of you? Li Yuan suddenly turned around, his frail fingers trembling as they pointed at Li Shimin, his eyes filled with anguish. You grant me neither time nor opportunity. On the day of the Xuanwu Gate, I was rowing a boat on the sea pond, contemplating how to resolve the discord among you brothers. And what transpired? Yu Qigong barged in with a bloodied spear, compelling me to draft an edict of abdication. Erlang, that was a palace coup. You held a knife to your own father's throat. Throughout my life, I have fought valiantly, establishing the Tang dynasty. I have always believed I honored the ancestors of the Li family. Yet, what have I ultimately received? A coup from my own son. Confined to that small place, I must watch you donning the dragon robe with grandeur, while I am forced to feign a smile. Li Yuan's accusations lashed at Li Shimin like a whip. Li Shimin's eyes reddened, his voice hoarse. Father, I have not imprisoned you. I merely just what? Li Yuan interrupted him sharply, spittle flying onto Li Shimin's face, claiming it was merely to protect me? Merely to allow me to enjoy my twilight years? Nonsense. Li Yuan's emotions crumbled entirely. He was no longer the benevolent old man. He was an elder stripped of authority, son, and dignity. I relinquished my power to you. I yielded the throne. In the contest of kings, I concede. Who compelled you to be so resolute? Li Yuan's voice suddenly fell, beginning to sob. A heart-wrenching sound. But Erlang, you must not, under any circumstances, commit fratricide. Li Yuan covered his face with his hands, tears streaming down. Jianqing was guilty. Yuanji was guilty. You killed them, and I endured. That was a conflict among brothers, a failure in my parenting. But what of those children? Qingdao, Qingda, Qingxuan. How young they were. The eldest was merely 10. The youngest had just learned to walk. They were my own grandsons. They were the children who called me grandfather. How could you do such a thing? How could you bear to do it? That night, as I listened to the screams outside, my heart bled. You slaughtered them cleanly, expelling them from the clan, leaving not even a complete corpse. Erlang, you are too cruel indeed. How can I ever forgive you? Each time I see you, I am reminded of that pool of blood. I envision rows of small coffins. Li Yuan's cries echoed within the carriage, both piercing and despairing. The little child was startled awake, bursting into tears. Empress Changsun quickly covered the child's ears, tears streaming down her face. Li Chengxian and Li Tai were utterly frozen. Staring blankly at the tragic performance of father and son, Li Shimin stood momentarily paralyzed. Li Yu timely offered a knife. Second uncle. The emperor says you do not grant him time. This phrase ignited the pent-up grievances and fears of Li Shimin, smoldering for 9 years. Time. Father. You expect me to grant you time? The poison wine Jianqing offered me was just 3 days before the incident. Had I not been fortunate enough to expel it, I would have long since become a pile of bones. Where were you then? You were in the harem, drinking wine. Li Yuanji has bribed my imperial guard, intending to ambush and eliminate me at Kunming Pool. Where were you then? You were engrossed in your balancing act. You professed a desire to safeguard us. Yet your balancing act merely allows us to tear at each other like fighting cocks. Do you truly believe that this secures the throne? Li Shimin tore open the clasp of his collar, as though striving to free himself from some unseen restraint. He knelt upon his seat, tears streaming down his face as he faced Li Yuan. Father, do you think I wish to kill? That is my own nephew. But what choice did I have? At that time, the Prince of Qin's residence and the Eastern Palace were already drenched in blood. My subordinates were watching me. If I showed mercy, if I left a potential threat, what would happen if they revolted? What would become of the Tang dynasty? Li Shimin pointed toward the trembling figures of Li Chengxian and Li Tai, tears cascading down his cheeks. You grieve for the demise of Jianqing and Li Yuanji's children. What of my children? Had it been I who lost that day, had I perished at Xuanwu Gate, do you believe Jianqing and Li Yuanji would have spared Chengxian? Would they have shown mercy to Qin Ke or Lizzie? They would have met a fate far worse than those 10 children. They would have been completely eradicated, reduced to mere pulp. Li Shimin pounded his chest, his voice a mournful wail. Father, I too am a father. I wish to protect my children. If I do not slay them, I shall perish. My entire family shall perish. 800 souls of the Prince of Qin's household shall be lost. Then, Li Shimon's emotions erupted like a deluge. Father, is it not you who has compelled all of this? This blade was handed to me by you. This dead end has been forced upon me by you. Father, it is your balancing act that has gone awry. Li Yuan opened his mouth. Gazing at his equally shattered son before him, he longed to retort, to unleash a torrent of scorn. However, as he beheld his two grandsons huddled in the corner, Cheng Qian and Tai, and the pained visage of Li Shimon, he suddenly found himself at a loss for words. For Li Shimon spoke the truth. The struggle for imperial power has always been a matter of life and death. Had Li Shimon lost, his fate would be no better than that of Li Jianqing. The carriage fell silent, broken only by the labored breaths of the father and son. Observing the two men who had laid bare their hearts and bled in confrontation, Li Yu sensed that the moment had arrived. The wounds had been torn open, the pus and blood expelled. Now, what was needed was healing and relief from pain. And this remedy could not be some ethereal notion of familial bonds. It must be rooted in tangible interests and futures. Enough, Li Yu's voice shattered the silence. He did not lean toward either side, but turned around, retrieving a half-finished bag of potato chips from beneath his seat, crunching into one. The crisp sound resonated sharply within the oppressive confines of the carriage, instantly redirecting everyone's focus. Uncle, Imperial Grandfather, you both argue fiercely and raise valid points. However, Li Yu said, casually chewing on the chips, have you ever considered one thing? While you debate right and wrong, and who bears the greater grievance, do the common folk of the Tang dynasty truly care? Li Yu pointed towards the darkness outside the window, which harbored the majestic Qinling Mountains, the very cradle of the Tang dynasty. The common folk cared little for who ascended the throne, be it Li Jianqing or Li Shimon. Did it truly matter to them? Their sole concerns were simple. Where would tomorrow's breakfast come from? Could they pay fewer taxes this year? Would winter leave them frozen? Li Yu turned to Li Yuan. Your Majesty, you consider yourself a benevolent ruler, yet during the reign of Wuda, the Turks invaded year after year, forcing the populace to flee. Is that true benevolence? He then regarded Li Shimon. Second uncle, you see yourself as a wise sovereign, yet in the early years of Jingguan, drought struck, and families resorted to eating their own children. Did that not pierce your heart? Both men bowed their heads in silence. With a sigh, Li Yu continued. In the eyes of the common people, matters such as the Xuanwu Gate incident or the struggle for succession are merely domestic affairs of the Li family. As long as these issues do not hinder their farming, they remain indifferent. A sudden smile illuminated Li Yu's face, brimming with confidence. But now, things are different. We possess potatoes yielding 5,000 jin per mu, drought-resistant corn, and cotton to keep the people warm in winter. And we have that sage who can devise unfailing strategies. Li Yu gazed at the father and son, his eyes gleaming with intensity. With these resources, the people of the Tang dynasty will have enough to eat, wear warm clothing, and live lives unlike any seen in previous dynasties. Your Majesty, if you remain fixated on the past, you will miss the arrival of this prosperous era. Second uncle, if you continue to bear the weight of past grievances, you will be unable to lead the Tang dynasty to new heights. He extended his hands, somewhat forcefully bringing the two together. For the sake of this family, for our kinship, and for the millions of people of the Tang dynasty, you two must reconcile. Only with your harmony can the family be stable. When the family is stable, the nation will be secure. When the nation is secure, the treasures we bring back can genuinely nourish the people. Your Majesty, you surely do not wish to see this promising situation tarnished by your internal strife. Second uncle, you do not wish for the people to be disappointed, nor for future generations to label you as a ruler consumed by petty disputes, he implored. Li Yu's words flowed like a clear stream, extinguishing the flames of discord within them and nurturing the parched bonds of kinship. Indeed, compared to the impending era of prosperity and the good lives of the people, their past grievances were trivial. Li Yuan looked at Li Shimon, his gaze softening at last. He recalled the delightful meals of recent days, the vibrant lights, and envisioned a future where all would have their fill. Erlang, Li Yuan's voice trembled. But no longer with sharpness, Yueker speaks wisely. Let the past be bygone. I may be aging, but the Tang dynasty still relies on you. If you can truly ensure that every citizen is well-fed and warmly clothed, I will plead with our ancestors on your behalf regarding the Xuanwu Gate incident. Upon hearing this, tears welled in Li Shimon's eyes once more. He grasped his father's hand tightly, nodding fervently. Rest assured, father, I swear, I shall ensure that every citizen of the Tang dynasty is well-fed and warmly clothed. I will bring nations to pay their respects. I will not let you down. The hands of father and son clasped tightly together. This time, there was no suspicion, no resentment, only a shared consensus toward the singular goal of a flourishing Tang dynasty. Li Yu gazed at the scene before him, exhaling a deep sigh of relief, a smile of contentment gracing his lips. This was the outcome he had longed for, not merely a reconciliation of emotions, but a harmonious convergence of interests and ideals. Enough, he thought, snapping his fingers to dispel the overly sentimental atmosphere. Since we've reconciled, there's no need for tears. Turning his attention to the two young quails cowering in the corner, a peculiar smirk crept across his face as he remarked darkly, now that the elders are settled, it's your turn. As the sobs from the front row gradually subsided, Li Yuan leaned back in his chair, eyes closed in contemplation, though traces of tears marked his face. The oppressive gloom that had lingered for 9 years finally began to dissipate. Li Shimon continued to dab his face with a tissue, occasionally sniffling like a child who, having suffered injustice, was finally rewarded with a sweet treat. The carriage fell into a tranquil silence, save for the diminishing sound of rain outside and the monotonous rhythm of the windshield wipers. Li Yu, however, did not grant the others much respite. He pivoted, kneeling on the driver's seat, his gaze sweeping over the center armrest to the two young men in the back row. There sat Li Chengqian, the crown prince of the Tang dynasty, alongside Li Tai, the prince of Wei. The pair huddled in the corner, fervently attempting to diminish their presence, clearly shaken by the explosive confrontation between their father and grandfather moments earlier. Gao Ming, Qin Ke, Li Yu's voice resonated softly, laced with a hint of scrutiny. Did you comprehend the drama that just unfolded? That was the resolution of the grievances from the previous generation. He gestured toward them, his tone shifting to one of playful intrigue. Now, it is our generation's turn. Without directly naming names, he focused his attention on Li Tai, who at that moment was clutching a copy of 100,000 Whys, pretending to read it upside down. Qin Ke, Li Yu called out. Li Tai jumped, not daring to lift his head. Brother, I'm reading. Cease your pretense. The book is upside down, Li Yu said, unrelentingly exposing his ruse. How could you remain unaffected by the fierce exchange between our grandfather and second uncle? Indeed, it left a profound impression, Li Tai stammered. The reconciliation between father and grandfather is truly a fortunate event for our family. Spare me the formalities, Li Yu replied, grinning like a ravenous wolf spotting its prey. Let us speak candidly. Just moments ago, our second uncle claimed that the incident at Xuanwu Gate was compelled by circumstances, a matter of survival. What about you? Li Tai shrank back. What do you mean? I'm perfectly well. Perfectly well? Li Yu scoffed. Qin Ke, do you believe that if you are clever enough, talented enough, and can win father's favor, that position will inevitably be yours? Absolutely not. Li Tai exclaimed, hastily waving his hands. Brother, do not misinterpret my intentions. I have no aspirations for the crown prince position. You are the legitimate heir, the rightful successor, while I am merely a compiler of books. A compiler of books? Li Yu leaned in closer, his voice lowered in an enticing manner. Does compiling books necessitate befriending numerous ministers? Does it require you to publicize your virtuous reputation far and wide? Does one need to display a more princely demeanor than your elder brother before our father, the emperor? When compiling a book, cold sweat beaded on my forehead as I cast a frantic glance toward Li Shimin. I was merely attempting to alleviate our father's burdens. Alleviate burdens? Li Yu scoffed, suggesting that you wish to share the throne with your elder brother? Elder brother, Li Tai exclaimed, his face flushed crimson. This is a heartless accusation. I have never harbored such thoughts. I simply wish to execute my duties well. Execute duties well. Li Yu pressed on, his tone growing increasingly sharp, piercing Li Tai's heart like needles. Then tell me, why, upon seeing your demotion in the history books, did your eyes reflect nothing but defiance? Qin Ke, admit it. You aspire to be emperor. Your thoughts have driven you to madness. You believe yourself more intelligent, healthier than your elder brother. You think that position rightfully belongs to you, stolen merely because you were born a few years later. You are unwilling to accept this. Are you not? Li Tai's breath quickened. He bit his lip, gripping the book tightly. He was holding back, knowing that to concede would be an act of treason. Yet, Li Yu's words were too piercing, too heart-wrenching. It felt as though he were stripped bare in public, ridiculed for his physique, with blood rushing to his head. I do not. Li Tai weakly protested, his voice tinged with tears. Beside him, Li Shimin instinctively wished to protect his Qin Ke, but restrained himself from speaking. Not so. Li Yu laughed scornfully, shaking his head. It appears I have misjudged you. You are nothing but a coward, daring to dream yet unwilling to acknowledge it. In that case, do not contest any longer. Humbly serve your elder brother as a sycophant for life. After all, you are destined to be a mere book compiler. When your elder brother ascends to the throne, should his mood permit, he may grant you a meal. Should he be displeased, well, look at you, in this cowardly state. Lacking even the courage to admit your ambitions, yet you wish to be emperor? Go home, wash up, and sleep. Enough. Li Tai could finally contain himself no longer. The thread within him, strained by Li Yu's relentless humiliation and provocation, snapped entirely. He slammed the book down onto the seat with a resounding thud. Raising his head, his chubby face now a deep crimson, his small eyes blazed with fury and resentment. I do. What of it if I have ambitions? Li Tai shouted, his voice deafening. The front row, including Li Shimin and Empress Changsun, were startled. Scrutinizing their usually obedient son, Li Tai was beyond caring. Cornered, he would fight back. I wish to become the crown prince. I desire to be emperor. What of it? I understand. Historically, I have lost. Perhaps I lacked ruthlessness. Perhaps fortune did not favor me. But, Li Tai pointed at Li Yu, his tone impassioned. That was the history of old. That was the history devoid of Prince Yu. Things are different now. Prince Yu has arrived. My elder brother's leg can be healed, and my mother's illness has improved. What does this signify? It signifies a change in destiny. If destiny can change, then why can't I fight for my chance? Li Tai grew increasingly exhilarated, as if envisioning a magnificent future where he could defy fate. I comprehend where the historical Li Tai faltered. He was too hasty, too ruthless. He uttered that foolish proclamation of killing his offspring to pass on his legacy. But now, I have discovered my advantage. As long as I steer clear of these pitfalls, as long as I refrain from errors, as long as I exhibit greater benevolence, filial piety, and capability than my elder brother, why should our father not choose me? Survival of the fittest. Surely this is the natural order. Li Tai turned his gaze towards the silent Li Chengqian, his eyes brimming with provocation. Elder brother, you claim to be the legitimate firstborn, rightful in your claim. Yet is it not true that virtue governs who holds dominion over this realm? In terms of talent, I was literate at 3 and composed poetry at 5. Regarding intelligence, during my brief time in the modern era, I grasped numerous mechanical principles with ease. Physically, I am at least a healthy individual. In what aspect do I fall short of you? If I were to ascend the throne, I would undoubtedly surpass your reign. Why should I resign myself to fate? Why must I bow and submit to you merely because I was born a few years later? I, Li Tai, refused to acquiesce. Chapter 78. Brotherhood and respect. Li Tai's roar reverberated within the carriage. Even the young child was momentarily silenced. Li Shimin observed his second son, who typically displayed utmost filial piety, now revealing such a sinister visage and raw ambition. The voracious desire to consume everything felt foreign to him. However, before Li Shimin could react, Li Changqian, who had remained silent and with his head bowed, began to move. Contrary to Li Tai's expectations of retorts, he merely struggled to adjust his plastered leg within the cramped back seat. Then, propping himself with his hands on the seat, he laboriously straightened his back, directing his gaze towards Li Shimin in the front row. In the dim light, the onlookers noticed that Li Changqian's face was already streaked with tears. Father. Li Changqian's voice was hoarse, akin to a broken bellows. I have something to convey. Li Shimin turned to look at his eldest son, a pang of concern gripping his heart. Speak, Gao Ming. Li Changqian inhaled deeply. Qin Ke is right. He is intelligent, healthy, and immensely talented. He resembles you so closely. He is indeed more suited for that position than I am. Suddenly, he reached out and grasped Li Tai's hand. Taken aback by this unexpected gesture, Li Tai instinctively attempted to withdraw, only to find himself firmly held by Li Changqian. Qin Ke desires to be the crown prince. I am aware of this. Li Changqian let out a bitter laugh, tears cascading down his cheeks. In the past, I despised him, guarded against him, even contemplated ending his life. Yet now, I have come to understand. Releasing Li Tai's hand, he struggled within the confined space to perform a clumsy act of homage towards Li Shimin. Father, I beseech you, issue a decree at once to revoke my position as crown prince. What? Li Shimin exclaimed, his face a mask of shock. Gao Ming, what nonsense are you speaking? I speak no nonsense. Li Changqian lifted his head, his face marred with tear stains. Father, I am a cripple. I am a lame man. The great Tang does not require a limping emperor. Such a figure would disgrace our nation and invite derision from all, since the Azure Bird desires it. Let it be granted. As long as it can govern the realm well and treat the people kindly, I, the son, am willing to yield. Li Changqian pointed at Li Tai, tears streaming down his face. I am truly exhausted. I no longer wish to contend nor to defend. Each night, slumber eludes me. As I close my eyes, visions of those who wish to harm me haunt me, and the coldness of the Eastern Palace envelopes my thoughts. I do not wish to become a madman, nor a beast that slays his own brother for the throne. Father, please grant me this mercy. Li Changqian clutched his chest, his voice piercingly sorrowful. I only wish to be your son, to be the grandson of the emperor, to be a brother to my younger siblings. I yearn for a peaceful existence, to witness the Azure Bird govern the realm, and to frolic with my siblings in the fields. Whoever desires the position of crown prince may take it. I truly can no longer bear it. Wailing, Li Changqian collapsed onto the chair, sobbing inconsolably. His sorrow was genuine, steeped in despair and a calculated retreat. He had realized that in this household, showing weakness might prove more advantageous than displaying strength. If he could not win, he would embody the role of the victim to its fullest, igniting his father's guilt to the brim. Indeed, his words struck a chord deep within Li Shimin's heart. Gazing at his eldest son, who cried with a limp leg, his heart nearly shattered. This was his legitimate firstborn, the one he had once held in such high hopes. Yet now, he was driven to voluntarily abdicate, feeling like a disgraceful cripple to the nation. How astute. Li Shimin's eyes reddened. He reached out to caress his son's head, his voice trembling. It is the fault of your father. He has failed to protect you. Empress Changsun was equally heartbroken, turning to embrace Li Changqian, and the mother and son wept together. Li Shimin turned to Li Tai, his gaze betraying a hint of hesitation. He pondered, if Gao Ming is in such anguish, if he himself wishes to relinquish his position, and if the Azure Bird is indeed capable, should it not be considered? If Gao Ming truly concedes, and the Azure Bird genuinely accepts, brotherly respect may indeed offer a path to resolution. However, before Li Shimin could speak, Li Tai remained unyielding. He observed his elder brother and mother, both in tears, and the hesitant gaze of his father, which seemed to suggest he should simply acquiesce. He found it amusing. Yield. Li Tai suddenly let out a cold laugh. Brother, your performance is truly commendable. You seek to elicit sympathy from our father. You are using your crippled leg to manipulate his paternal love. You claim you wish to yield? Then why not simply submit your resignation? Why cry here? You are afraid. You are hypocritical. Enough. Li Shimin erupted in fury, slamming his hand on the armrest. Gazing at Li Tai's aggressive demeanor, any fantasy of brotherly harmony evaporated. He had long known that Li Tai did not aspire to be a good brother. He wished to trample upon his elder brother, yet he had deliberately chosen not to believe it. Azure Bird, I am exceedingly disappointed in you. Li Shimin's eyes turned frigid, embodying the ruthlessness of an emperor making a decision. Your elder brother, for the sake of this family and harmonious brotherhood, is willing to renounce his title. And what of you? You exhibit not only a lack of gratitude, but also a heartless demeanor. If you were to ascend to the throne, what fate would await your elder brother? Li Shimin pointed at Li Tai and declared, let it be known today, the position of crown prince belongs to your elder brother. No one shall usurp it. Do not harbor such delusions. Upon your return, I shall issue a decree to bestow you a fief. Without my edict, you shall never return to Chang'an in this lifetime. Exile? Upon hearing this, Li Tai's face turned ashen. He gazed at his furious father, then at his disappointed mother, and finally at his elder brother, who was still sobbing, seemingly bearing an immense grievance. A surge of resentment and despair welled up within him. He could not comprehend it. His father had once favored him so dearly, had subtly indicated his potential. Why, then, was he being cast aside so abruptly? Just because his brother had shed a few tears? Just because his brother had a limp? No, I refuse to accept this. Li Tai abruptly leapt from his seat, though restrained by his safety belt, his eyes blazing red, resembling a cornered beast. Father, what pretense of sanctity is this? You wish to banish me? You call me ungrateful? Who was it that held my hand and spoke those very words to me? Chapter 79. Brotherhood beneath the throne. Li Shimin felt a sudden pang of foreboding wash over him. What did you say? Li Tai had completely abandoned restraint. With nothing left to lose, he pointed at Li Shimin, tears and snot streaming down his face, his voice piercing. Father, have you forgotten? Just last year's New Year's Eve banquet. In your hall of sweet dew, you were inebriated, grasping my hand, and pointing at my brother's back. You said, Qingke, your elder brother is physically frail. The burdens of the Tang dynasty will likely fall upon your shoulders. You must strive diligently, assist your brother, and share my concerns. Furthermore, 2 years prior, when I visited the Literary Institute, you rewarded me with a collection of ancient texts, proclaiming, the literary lineage of this world rests upon you. You must study diligently, for it will serve you well in the future. Li Tai mimicked Li Shimin's tone with striking precision, yet with a biting sarcasm. Father, these were your words, were they not? You explicitly indicated my brother's frailty. You suggested that I shoulder great responsibilities. You granted me the Literary Institute, the privilege of not needing to govern a fief. You bestowed upon me all the hope, and now you retract your promises? You accuse me of ambition? You label me ungrateful? My ambition was nurtured by you. It was you who fostered it. Li Tai pounded his chest, weeping inconsolably. You clearly provided me with a ladder to ascend, and just as I reached halfway, you retracted, leaving me to fall. Father, how could you treat me this way? How could you deny your own words? This proclamation resonated with a force far greater than the thunder outside. Everyone in the carriage was left astounded. Li Yuan gaped at his second son, his expression revealing shock at the realization that his son was capable of such defiance. Li Chengxian suddenly looked up, disbelief etched across his face. Father, did you truly utter such words? The Empress Changsun felt as if struck by lightning. She gazed at her husband, her voice trembling. Is what Erling Qingke said true? Li Shimin stood frozen. Yet, Li Yu suddenly recalled an emperor with an English name. Casting a mocking glance at Li Shimin, the latter's face flushed crimson. A wave of shame enveloped his mind, akin to the embarrassment of dancing naked in public. He yearned to deny it, to claim that Li Tai was merely fabricating tales. However, he remembered. He truly remembered. It was during a drunken stupor, or perhaps because of Li Tai's undeniable charm, that he had uttered those words of encouragement. To him, they were merely expressions of paternal affection, intended to spur his son towards greater ambition. Yet, he seemed to overlook a crucial truth. A sovereign's words hold weight. For an ambitious prince, every encouraging remark from the emperor serves as a potent stimulant, a decree leading to the throne. Why, your majesty? Li Shimin stammered, beads of cold sweat trickling down his forehead. He had remained unflustered when he committed murder at Xuanwu Gate, unshaken when facing the Turkic army at the Weishui Bridge. Yet now, confronted with his son's blatant accusation, he faltered. The facade of the perfect emperor had been stripped away by his own son. His so-called doctrine of balance had been revealed as a most insidious manipulation. How wonderful. Li Chengxian suddenly laughed, a laugh steeped in profound melancholy. So this is how it is. In the eyes of father, I am no longer the crown prince. I am merely a placeholder for Qingke. Astounding. No, that is not what I meant. Li Shimin desperately attempted to clarify. What does it mean then? Li Tai shouted back, Father, do you dare swear you never said such things? Under the relentless interrogation from his two sons, and the piercing gazes of his wife and father, Li Shimin finally succumbed. He slumped into his chair, hands covering his face, releasing a long, regret-laden sigh. It was I who spoke those words. I was foolish. Li Shimin raised his head, tears streaming down his face. I thought it was love. I believed it was to inspire your progress. I thought as long as I was here, I could keep everything under control. I was wrong, gravely wrong. It was I who dug this chasm between you brothers. It was I who handed Qingke this dagger. I am unworthy of being your father. Upon hearing their father's admission, Li Tai cried even more fiercely, his sobs a release of utmost grievance. Wah, father, since you have acknowledged it, why must you still send me away? I am your son too. Wah. Watching his two sons, now a tangled mass of tears, Li Shimin's gaze gradually hardened. He understood that a resolution was imperative. Qingke, do not weep. Li Shimin dried his tears, his tone solemn. I was misguided in the past. I have wronged you. However, it is precisely because I wish to avoid further mistakes, to prevent the tragedy of Xuanwu Gate from repeating with you, that I must make a decisive choice. For this family to find peace, there can only be one crown prince. Your elder brother is the legitimate firstborn, rightful in his claim. Moreover, his previous words revealed his benevolence. He is better suited for stewardship than you. Qingke. Li Shimin looked at Li Tai, his eyes filled with regret and an undeniable finality. I can no longer offer you any hope. This is not only harming you, but also your elder brother. Do not entertain thoughts of the crown prince position. It is a dream you must relinquish for this lifetime. Li Tai continued to sob, though his cries had softened. He was reluctant to accept the reality, yet he understood that his father had made an irrevocable decision. The public acknowledgement of error from his father was a tremendous shock, leaving him unable to persist in his futile resistance. Observing that the moment was ripe, Li Yu knew it was time for him to take the stage and bring closure. The harsh reprimands had been dealt. Now it was time for encouragement. Chapter 80. The carrot. This carrot must be substantial enough to bridge the emotional chasm created by Li Tai's loss of the throne. Qingke, rise. Li Yu urged as he lifted Li Tai to his feet, wiping away the tears from his face. Do not cry. It's not the end of the world. Your second uncle scolds you for your own good. The throne is a treacherous pit. Those who leap into it are bound to suffer. He placed a tablet computer into Li Tai's arms, a signature devilish smile gracing his face. Do you think being an emperor is impressive? That is a notion held by the unsophisticated. In this era, the most formidable individuals are not presidents or kings, but those who wield the truth, scientists. Li Yu gestured toward the world outside, glistening after the rain. Do you not revel in the study of things? Are you not most intrigued by DeepSeek? The wisdom contained within that iron box is something your father and elder brother cannot grasp as swiftly as you can. Only you, Li Tai, can comprehend it. Imagine if you could create a steam engine that allows the carriages of the Tang dynasty to run without horses. Or if you could invent an electric light that illuminates the nights of the Tang as brightly as day. Or if you could devise cannons that compel the Turks to kneel before they even see us. In such moments, who would you become? Li Yu leaned closer to Li Tai, whispering each word as though they were the devil's own incantations. You are not merely the Prince of Wei. You are Mozi of the Tang, the master of the physics sect, the saint of the Chinese Industrial Revolution. A millennium hence, when people peruse the annals of history, they may mention Emperor Li Chengqian of the Tang dynasty and say, ah, he was the son of Li Shimin. But when they speak of the individuals who transformed the world, they will say, it was Li Tai? He illuminated the technological tree of Chinese civilization. Does such honor, such a sense of achievement revered by countless generations, not far surpass the experience of sitting upon that rigid dragon throne, subjected daily to the tirades of that old curmudgeon Wei Zheng? Li Tai clutched the book, his eyes sparkling with renewed hope as he absorbed Li Yu's words. He envisioned himself standing before a colossal machine, commanding thunder and lightning, with the masses bowing in reverence. His father and elder brother gazed up at him in awe. The imagery was breathtaking. Moreover, he truly adored exploring those subjects. In recent days, he found the intricacies of mechanical structures far more captivating than the allure of beautiful women. Yet, Li Tai remained somewhat conflicted. If I do not become emperor, does that mean I must heed my brother's commands? What nonsense. Li Yu scoffed. You are a scientist, a national treasure. Your elder brother will have to accommodate you. You command him to go east, and he will not dare venture west. For only you can repair his electric lights. Only you can fabricate his weapons. Really? A glimmer of vitality returned to Li Tai's demeanor. Absolutely. Li Yu affirmed with conviction, then turned his gaze toward Li Chengqian. At this moment, Li Chengqian's emotions had somewhat stabilized, yet he still felt a lingering sense of unease. Li Yu's tone grew serious as he remarked, though your earlier words were a strategic retreat, they held a measure of sincerity that my elder brother has duly noted. However, there are a few admonitions I must impart to you. Pointing at Li Chengqian, he continued, your position as crown prince is secure. Your second uncle has spoken with authority. Henceforth, cease your suspicions and refrain from obsessing over whom might wish to harm you. You must amend your brooding and morose temperament. As the crown prince and the future emperor, you must cultivate the capacity to embrace others, particularly with regard to Qin Kai. Although his words may be sharp, he possesses talent. In the future, he shall become your most formidable ally, a potent asset for the Tang dynasty. You must support him. If he requires funds, provide them. If he seeks personnel, grant his request. As long as he does not rebel, treat him as a cherished treasure. Moreover, Li Yu gestured toward the tablet. You must learn from Qin Kai, inquire about the old sage and how to utilize these new tools. Do not hesitate to ask questions. There is no shame in seeking knowledge. Qin Kai is not only your brother, but also your mentor. Li Chengqian gazed at Li Tai, the very brother who had just engaged in a fierce quarrel with him. Taking a deep breath, he solemnly nodded, acknowledging, your counsel is invaluable, and I shall remember it. He grasped Li Tai's hand, his gaze sincere. Qin Kai, I acknowledge that I have been narrow-minded. From now on, let us unite as brothers. You shall innovate while I manage logistics, and I will ensure you face no obstacles. Li Tai sniffled and let out a haughty hum, yet he did not withdraw his hand. Witnessing this exchange, Li Shimin exhaled deeply, sinking into his chair, relieved that this hurdle had finally been overcome. Enough, Li Yu did not immediately declare the meeting adjourned. He understood that while the recent confrontation was intense, it merely served as a band-aid. To thoroughly remedy this royal ailment, a more enduring solution was necessary. He tapped the back of his chair, recognizing that while the emotional knots had been untied and the pus expelled, they must guard against the wound becoming infected again. Looking at the family, Li Yu's expression turned more solemn. Thus, we must establish a consensus. What kind of consensus? Li Shimin straightened in his seat, now genuinely receptive to his nephew's words. A candid gathering. Li Yu raised a finger, gesturing in the air. From this day forth, whether we are in the Tang dynasty or elsewhere, our family must convene once a month for such a meeting. The venue will be either the Qingguang Hall or the Lijing Hall, with the doors firmly shut. No one is permitted to enter, not even Wang De. Wang De sneezed. In this assembly, there shall be no rulers or subjects, no parents or children, only family. Li Yu's gaze swept over each member present. Any grievances, resentments, or even ambitions must be laid bare on the table, just as we have done today. Let us expose the moldy thoughts festering within. If you feel the emperor is biased, speak. If you believe your elder brother is ineffectual, voice it. If you think your younger brother is too rash, say it. This is not treasonous. This is familial psychological healing. Li Tai sniffed softly and timidly inquired. Will Father Emperor become angry? No way. Li Yu interjected on behalf of Li Shimin, asserting that in this gathering, the speaker bore no guilt. Whoever dared to seek retribution later, or resort to underhanded tactics, would face the wrath of the entire family. Li Yu then turned to Li Shimin, teasingly remarked, Second uncle. As the head of the family, You must lead by example. Do you dare to agree? Chapter 81. The mechanism of the confession session. Li Shimin paused momentarily. For an emperor to endure criticism in front of his sons. Yet, gazing into those swollen, red eyes, he recalled the heart-wrenching pain he had just felt. Very well, I shall agree. Not only that, but I shall also take the lead. Li Shimin, as if to affirm his resolve and alleviate the earlier awkwardness, cleared his throat and earnestly began his confession. In truth, there are times when I too experience fear. Everyone perked up their ears. Even the mighty Khan feels fear. I am indeed quite afraid of that old curmudgeon, Wei Zheng. Li Shimin wore a wry smile, admitting that whenever Wei Zheng glared at him, his heart would tremble. At times, I contemplate ending his life, yet I fear you would mock me for lacking magnanimity. I even dream of him chasing me with his tablet to reprimand me. A soft chuckle escaped Empress Changsun, followed by laughter from Li Chengqian and Li Tai. Even Li Yuan, who had pretended to be asleep, couldn't help but smile. It turned out that even the formidable father emperor had his moments of vulnerability. This delightful contrast swiftly bridged the gap between father and sons. Moreover, Li Shimin gazed at Li Tai, his expression turning complex. My previous favoritism towards you was indeed selfish. I perceived you as a reflection of my younger self, full of vigor and brilliance. I treated you as my shadow, which was a mistake. I should not impose my own shadow upon you. Li Tai listened, his eyes reddening once more. However, this time he did not weep. Instead, he inhaled deeply and stood tall. Father Emperor, I understand now. I shall not be your shadow. I aspire to become the Mosey of the Great Tang. I shall surpass you. Excellent. Such ambition. Li Shimin erupted in laughter. Allow me to speak as well. Li Chengqian gathered his courage and glanced at Li Tai. In truth, Qin Ke, I envy you. You are intelligent, healthy, and favored by Father Emperor, as well as adored by all. At times, I regard you and feel like a superfluous presence. Elder brother, Li Tai interjected in alarm. Please, allow me to finish. Li Chengqian waved his hand dismissively, a relieved smile gracing his features. But today, after hearing elder brother's words, I have come to a realization. I shall not compete with you in intelligence or talent, but rather in generosity. If you can invent that steam engine, then you are remarkable. However, I can provide you with the finest laboratory and shield you from the scorn of those censors. Does that not also denote my worth? Li Tai paused for a moment, then nodded vigorously. Indeed, elder brother is the greatest. Observing this scene, Li Yu smiled with satisfaction. Finally, this was as it should be. This was the life of a normal family. With the rules established, they would adhere to them moving forward. At the beginning of next month, on the first day, the inaugural formal confession meeting will take place, and no one is permitted to take leave. Li Yu pointed towards the car window. Get out. Let us breathe some fresh air. And while we're at it, let us accomplish something significant. What significant thing? Li Yuan inquired curiously, as he too felt the fatigue of sitting. We are going to take a photograph. Li Yu declared, pulling out his phone. Come on. Let us capture a family portrait in this world, 1400 years later. Everyone exited the vehicle. The air, fresh from the rain, was infused with the unique scent of the Qinling Mountains soil and pine resin. The service area was desolate, with only a few scattered private cars. Li Yu directed everyone to arrange themselves for the photo. Grandfather, you stand in the center, the prime spot. Yes, don't look so serious. Give us a smile. Li Yuan stood in the middle, grinning widely, his posture straightened, tightly clutching a porcelain teacup emblazoned with the phrase serve the people. Second uncle. You and the others stand behind grandfather. Second uncle, don't keep your hands behind your back. Wrap your arm around it. Yes, that's right. Be more affectionate. This is modernity. We don't adhere to such formalities. Li Shimin's face flushed, but he still extended his arm, clumsily draping it over Empress Changsun's shoulder. She leaned gently against him, her expression radiating a sense of tranquility and happiness after a storm. Gao Ming, you sit in the front with your wheelchair. Qin Ke, don't hide. Lean on your elder brother and make a peace sign. Yes, just like the gesture I taught you earlier. Li Tai chuckled, his chubby frame resting on Li Chengqian's back. Li Chengqian grimaced under the weight. You fatso, it's time to lose some weight. Ha ha ha. Li Tai made a silly face, his pudgy fingers forming a V over Li Chengqian's head. I'll hold little CZ. Li Yu cradled the sleepy little CZ, with milk stains still lingering at the corner of the child's mouth, standing at the edge while adjusting the phone to selfie mode. On the screen, 7 faces were squeezed together, some old, some young, some with swollen eyes from tears, others beaming with radiant smiles. The barriers of ruler and subjects, father and son, brothers' grievances had vanished, leaving only family unity. Are you ready? Look at the camera. Li Yu shouted. What should we shout? Long live the Tang dynasty. Li Shimin instinctively exclaimed. Long live science. Li Tai chimed in, waving a book in his hand. Long live candy. Little CZ sleepily called out, her voice adorably innocent. Cheese. Li Yu pressed the shutter. Click. The flash illuminated, freezing the moment. In the photograph, Li Yuan smiled like a humble farmer. Li Shimin's gaze was filled with tenderness. Empress Changsun was dignified and beautiful. Li Chengqian's eyes were clear. Li Tai made a silly face. Little CZ rubbed her eyes in confusion. And Li Yu beamed the brightest, revealing a set of gleaming white teeth. Let us go home, Li Shimin proclaimed, waving his hand. His voice echoing in the empty parking lot with vigor. The vehicle roared to life once more, heading toward the city of Xi'an. As Li Shimin gazed at the swiftly receding scenery outside, he turned to Li Yu and glanced at his 2 sons. What is the first thing I shall do upon our return? Li Yu asked while driving. I shall build the largest laboratory for Qin Ke. Then, let us construct the finest sanatorium for Chengqian. And furthermore, a stage for my father. As for myself, Li Shimin gently placed his hand over his heart and let out a long sigh of relief. I desire a restful slumber, a sleep that allows me to awaken naturally. No one shall disturb me. Chapter 82. Li Ke's resolve in Chang'an, within the Tai Chi Palace, at the council hall of the Central Secretariat. The cicadas outside were a source of vexation. Li Ke sat behind the grand Zetan desk originally belonging to Fang Xianling, his back straight and posture impeccable. Beads of sweat forming on his forehead, yet the pen in his hand remained steady. It had been a full 24 hours since his father, accompanied by the entire family, had gone with his brother Li Yu to the Qingguang Hall to pray for blessings. Li Ke had scarcely closed his eyes. Your Highness. A secretary from the Central Secretariat entered with a stack of urgent memorials, carefully presenting them. These pertain to water conservancy repairs in Huainan. Set them down. Li Ke instructed without lifting his gaze, his attention fixed on a document regarding the locust plague in Hebei. He picked up his pen, poised to make annotations, but suddenly halted midair. By protocol, the Prince Regent could review memorials but could not use the imperial red ink that was reserved for the Emperor. He could not issue direct orders but could only command or advise. Taking a deep breath, Li Ke switched to a black ink pen and meticulously inscribed his opinions in the corner of the memorial. The Ministry of Revenue shall immediately verify the grain reserves in Hebei, without need for reporting, and allocate 30,000 shirt at Sangzhou for contingency. If no disaster occurs, the grain shall be used for labor to repair the riverbanks. If disaster strikes, the granaries shall be opened. This, as instructed by the regent, Prince Wu. Upon completion, he did not immediately affix the regent's seal, but instead retrieved a small personal seal inscribed with the character Ku, placing it in the corner. Next to it, he added a humble and cautious note. Once the Emperor's well-being is assured, please supplement with the red seal. After finalizing the document, Li Ke rubbed his aching temples. Your Highness, at that moment, Zhang Xingqing, the Deputy Minister of Justice, entered, exclaiming, Your Highness. Zhang Qing, what is the matter? Li Ke glanced at him, lifting the now lukewarm tea for a sip. Over in Wanyan County, the grain merchant Zhao Si has colluded with 13 rice dealers from Shishir, abruptly announcing a depletion of their grain reserves, raising the price of rice from 5 coins to 8 coins. Moreover, Zhang Xingqing lowered his voice. Rumors are rampant. There are whispers that His Majesty has been abducted by the sorcerer Li Yu and that his fate is uncertain. They claim the fortunes of the Tang have run dry. They even say that Your Highness has taken control of the palace and is preparing to ascend the throne. Is that true? Li Ke set down his teacup, the porcelain clattering against the table. He stood and walked to the window, gazing at the overcast sky. They are forcing my hand. The chill in Li Ke's voice was palpable. The rise in rice prices stirs unrest among the populace, while the spread of rumors sows discord among the military. They wish to see whether I, the Regent Prince Wu, have the courage to enact punishment. If I falter, chaos will ensue in Chang'an, providing them with cause to summon the retired emperor, even though he is not present, or to request Longsun Wuji to take charge. If I dare to act, Li Ke scoffed, it would be deemed tyrannical, an overreach, a means to win favor, thereby solidifying the charges of treason against me. This is a deadlock. No matter the course of action, it is fraught with peril. Zhang Xingqing wiped the cold sweat from his brow. Your Highness, what should we do? Shall we invite Minister Fang or Lord Changsun for a discussion? Absolutely not. Li Ke's gaze was as sharp as a blade. This is a critical moment. The imperial authority cannot be divided. If I were to consult them now, it would signify my inability to maintain control, and that would lead to true chaos across the realm. Issue the decree for me to act as regent. Command the Jinwu guards to mobilize immediately and seal off the 13 rice shops involved in the West Market. The shopkeepers who instigated the price hike and spread rumors shall be executed without trial. Their heads will be displayed in the West Market for all of Chang'an to see. The remaining 12 shopkeepers shall each receive 80 lashes and be shackled in public for 3 days. All stored grain will be confiscated, and we will immediately open the granaries on Zhuke Street, distributing rice at 4 coins per dough. Your Highness. Zhang Xingqing was taken aback. Executing merchants without the approval of the 3 judicial offices. This is tyranny. The censorate will surely come to impeach me. Li Ke declared sternly. Inform the censorate that I am regent. The chaos in Chang'an is my responsibility. If merchants cause disorder, I will execute them. If scholars create turmoil, I will arrest them. Whoever dares to stir trouble at this critical juncture, my blade will show no mercy. Go and carry out my orders. Yes, Your Highness. Zhang Xingqing, captivated by Li Ke's fervor, hurriedly departed with the decree. Li Ke gazed at the empty doorway, leaning heavily on the table as he breathed heavily. He understood that with this command, he had irrevocably positioned himself against the aristocracy and the civil officials. When his father returned, should anyone accuse him of unjustly executing innocents to win the people's favor, he would have no defense. Yet, he knew he had to act. In the secret chamber of the Duke of Zhao's residence in Chang'an, 5 individuals gathered. Among them were the Right Minister of the Ministry of Personnel, Duke Changsun Wuji, the Chancellor, Duke Fang Xianling, the Grand Tutor to the Crown Prince, Duke Wei Zhang, the General of the Left Guard, Duke Cheng Yaojin, and the General of the Right Guard, Duke Wei Qigong. Let us speak. Duke Changsun Wuji commanded from the head of the table, his round face betraying no emotion, though a dangerous glint flickered in his slender eyes. His Majesty has been silent for 2 days. Wang De, that old eunuch, guards the Qingguang Hall as if we were thieves, refusing to open the door. Fang Xianling sighed, stroking his beard, his brow furrowed. I have just received news that Prince Wu has killed someone in the West Market. Zhao Si's head is already on display. Furthermore, Prince Wu has opened the granaries, distributing rice at fair prices. Such decisive action mirrors His Majesty's style. Wei Zhang commented coldly, his tone inscrutable. Ah, what a style of His Majesty. Humph, what majesty? Changsun Wuji slammed his hand on the table, his voice chilling. He is merely trying to win the people's hearts. He seeks to establish his authority. A bastard prince behaving so sagaciously at this juncture. Do you not find it terrifying? Changsun Wuji rose and approached the map, pressing his finger heavily on the location of the palace. Gentlemen, let us analyze the current situation. The harem is controlled by concubine Wei and Wang De, impermeable to our influence. That old fool Wang De has shown unexpected tenacity, holding firm against His Majesty's prayers. What does this indicate? It signifies that the harem is already under their control. In the imperial court, Li Ku wielded the regent's seal to manipulate public opinion and control resources. With the Jinwu Guard now at his command, this Prince of Wu was seizing power. The most alarming moment arrived when Changsun Wuji turned around. Your Majesty prays for blessings. Why must the retired emperor be taken away? Why must the crown prince be removed? Why must the Prince of Wei be gone? Even the empress and princess have been taken. In the palace, apart from Li Ku and Prince Jin, all those entitled to the throne had vanished. As these words echoed, the atmosphere in the chamber grew frigid. Cheng Yaojin and Yu Qigong exchanged glances, their expressions darkening. As martial generals, they were straightforward and not prone to convoluted thoughts. Yet they understood the principle of eradicating threats at the root. Lord Zhao, do you mean? Yu Qigong's voice was grave. The Prince of Wu has taken your Majesty and the others. He made a gesture across his throat. I dare not speak. Changsun Wuji's tone was ominous. However, if I were Li Ku, and if I aspired to the throne, this would be the perfect opportunity. Especially since he bears the blood of the Yang clan from the previous dynasty. That kind of madness and ruthlessness is ingrained in his very bones. If your Majesty truly does not return, the Tang dynasty will have to adopt the surname Yang. Preposterous. Cheng Yaojin slammed his palm down, shattering the tea table before him. Rising with a fierce countenance, the Tang shall forever bear the surname Li, the Li of Li Shimin. Whoever dares to harm our emperor, I shall cleave him in twain. Lord Gua, please remain calm. The previously silent Fong Xianling finally spoke. He was the intellect of the group, maintaining the last vestiges of rationality. There is as yet no conclusive evidence to prove the Prince of Wu's treason. Wang De's actions, while suspicious, may genuinely be the execution of a secret order. After all, the Prince of Yu, Li Yu, does possess some inscrutable methods. We must not act in haste. If we do, we play directly into their hands. Fong Xianling turned to Changsun Wuji. Brother Fujiji, we understand your concerns. However, to initiate a military coup without just cause would be unjustifiable. What then? Shall we simply wait? Changsun Wuji urged. Shall we wait until Li Ku has thoroughly purged the Jinwu Guard? Until he has rendered us, the old ministers, obsolete one by one? Certainly not. Wei Zheng rose, the toughest bone of the Tang dynasty, his eyes filled with resolve. Tomorrow marks the 3-day period your Majesty mentioned. Tomorrow at the hour of Chun, I shall carry a coffin to the Jiade Gate to die in protest. I intend to use my life to force open the doors of Qingguang Hall. I must see with my own eyes whether the emperor lives or dies. If the emperor is well, I shall die before him to atone. If the emperor has met with harm, Wei Zheng's voice faltered. Then my coffin is prepared for that sorcerer and those treacherous ministers. Agreed. Yu Qigong stood, hand resting on his sword. Tomorrow, I, along with Cheng, will gather the troops of the left and right Wu guards outside Xuanwu Gate. The moment Wei Gong's coffin touches the ground, or if there is any movement within, we shall charge in. Cheng Yaojin added, his eyes gleaming with ferocity. Regardless of regency or princely titles, if we do not see the emperor, we shall turn Chang'an upside down to find him. Changsun Wuji gazed at this assembly of allies, united in their purpose to defend Li Shimin, despite their differing positions, and felt a sense of reassurance. With a nod, he decisively proclaimed, very well. It is settled. This night, we shall act separately. Minister Fong will contact the officials of the 3 provinces and 6 ministries to jointly press for the imperial audience tomorrow. Duke Wei will prepare for a deathly admonition. The 2 generals shall take charge of the outer city defenses to sever the communication between Li Ku and the troops outside the city. Gentlemen, Changsun Wuji bowed deeply to the assembly. The destiny of the Tang dynasty rests upon our actions tomorrow. I entrust this to you. In the afternoon, during the hour of Wei, Li Ku had just finished processing a series of documents concerning the locust plague and had not yet had a moment to refresh himself with water when a guard announced at the door. Your Highness, Duke Su and Duke Yi request an audience. Startled, Li Ku's hand trembled, causing ink to splatter onto his sleeve. The anticipated moment had arrived. These 2 esteemed figures were the highest authorities in Chang'an at present and represented the forces he most feared. Without their support, his role as regent would be rendered a mere farce. Please. Moments later, Cheng Yaojin and Yu Qigong strode in, clad not in court robes but in heavy armor. Swords sheathed at their waists, an aura of intimidation enveloping them. We pay our respects to His Highness, Prince of Wu. Although they saluted, their posture remained rigid, devoid of any semblance of reverence. There is no need for formalities, generals, Li Ku replied, forcing himself to appear composed. May I inquire the purpose of your visit? Nothing of great consequence, Cheng Yaojin replied nonchalantly as he took a seat. I heard that your Highness executed a grain merchant in the West Market. Quite impressive. I, Old Cheng, came specifically to witness the swiftness of your blade. Li Ku's heart tightened, and he responded coolly. In tumultuous times, strict measures are unavoidable. Indeed, quite unavoidable, Yu Qigong sneered. Stepping closer to the desk, his dark visage looming over Li Ku, their noses nearly touching. His Majesty instructed us to heed your commands for these 3 days. Therefore, for this duration, you may command the Imperial Guards as you wish. We shall overlook any acts of violence, provided they serve to stabilize Chang'an. My brother and I will support you. However, Yu Qigong's tone shifted sharply. This arrangement is time-limited. 3 days, only 3 days. Today marks the 3rd day, come tomorrow. If His Majesty has not made an appearance, Cheng Yaojin interjected leisurely, his fingers drumming against the scabbard, producing a resonant sound. Your Highness, you know my temper is rather volatile. If I do not see His Majesty by tomorrow, I might suspect that you have concealed him. At that point, should my hand slip, I may not be able to restrain my blade. This was an overt threat. Li Ku regarded these two formidable figures and understood that this was no jest. Should the Emperor fail to return by tomorrow, they would indeed rush in and reduce him to mere pulp. Yet he could not show weakness. As the regent prince, he embodied the dignity of his father. Drawing a deep breath, he rose abruptly, meeting Yuqi Gong's fierce gaze. General Yuqi, General Cheng, I respect you as loyal subjects of my father, which is why I tolerate your rudeness. But remember this, I am a Li. Blood of the Emperor flows within my veins. I, like all of you, yearn for the safe return of my father. I stand here not for the sake of position, but to ensure the tranquility of this great Tang. Li Ku gestured towards the entrance. Do you wish to take my life? So be it. As long as my father does not appear by tomorrow, you may come for my head at any moment. But until then, as long as I remain the regent, you are bound to obey my commands. You must safeguard these 9 gates. Should anyone dare to let in a treacherous rebel, I shall not show mercy. His words resonated with righteous fervor. Cheng Yaojin and Wei Qigong were momentarily taken aback. They exchanged glances, and the malice in their eyes diminished, replaced by a hint of admiration. This young man possesses some courage. He does not resemble a treacherous usurper, but rather a cornered guardian dog. Very well. Cheng Yaojin rose, sheathing his sword, and bowed to Li Ku with a respectful gesture, this time lowering his waist slightly. With such words from your Highness, I am reassured. We shall guard the palace gates, ensuring not even a fly can enter. However, Cheng Yaojin raised his head, his gaze unwavering. Tomorrow at dawn is the final deadline. Your Highness, take heed. Chapter 84. A dazzling entrance. With that, the two men strode away. Li Ku watched their retreating figures, his legs giving way as he collapsed into a chair. He touched his back, drenched in sweat, as though he had just emerged from water. Father, the Duke of Yu. Li Ku gazed out at the darkening sky, his heart heavy with despair. If you do not return by tomorrow, it shall be the anniversary of your son's mourning. On the third day, dawn broke. A throng of people gathered outside the Jiada Gate in Chang'an. Almost all officials of the 5th rank and above from the 3 provinces, 6 ministries, and 9 ministers, along with the censorate, had assembled. At the forefront of the crowd lay a dark, thin coffin. Wei Zheng, clad in plain white, sat atop the coffin, his face gaunt and eyes bloodshot. He had penned a final poem and today intended to emulate the ancient loyalists who sacrificed themselves, using his own blood to force open the tightly shut palace gates. The hour has come. Wei Zheng's voice, hoarse yet powerful, echoed across the silent square. Your Highness, the King of Wu, the 3 days have elapsed. We beseech the Emperor to return to court. At the foot of the Jiada Gate, Li Ku stood alone, clad in armor and wielding a sword, facing the wall of imperial guards. He gazed at the coffin and the officials, who, despite their usual proclamations of virtue and morality, now pressed forward menacingly. He felt a profound sense of helplessness. He was merely fulfilling his filial duty, protecting his family. Why, in the eyes of these individuals, had he become a treacherous usurper? Changsun Wuji stood at the forefront of the procession, donned in a purple robe, his gaze icy. Your Highness, he began, his voice quiet yet imbued with an undeniable authority. The Emperor has been missing for 3 days with no word, and as regent, instead of seeking the Emperor, you seal the palace gates to obstruct the officials. What is your intent? I do not. My father is in prayer. This is his decree. Prayer? Changsun Wuji scoffed. Whose decree? Wangda's? Or that sorcerer Li Yu's? Your Highness, you are too young. You have been deceived by that charlatan. Longsun Wuji advanced step by step, declaring that Li Yu is a demonic figure. His abduction of His Majesty is a plot to disrupt the great Tang dynasty. Open the door and allow us entry to rescue the Emperor, and you shall remain a loyal minister of the Tang. Should you remain obstinate, his gaze turned frigid, then you are a conspirator, a usurper. Bring forth the men. With a wave of his hand, hundreds of officials chorused. We beseech His Majesty to take the throne. Execute the demon. The clamor surged like a tidal wave crashing towards Li Ku. Trembling, he gripped his sword, staring into the hostile and suspicious eyes surrounding him. Catching sight of Cheng Yaojin and Wei Qigong, their hands poised upon their sword hilts, though they had yet to move, he realized that words had lost their power. In the face of political correctness in the Tang, truth bore no weight. Who dares? Li Ku erupted, swinging his sword fiercely, striking the stone steps before him, sending sparks flying. I am a son of the Li family. I am the regent appointed by my father. As long as I draw breath, none shall step foot within the palace. Who dares approach? Kill, without mercy. In that moment, Li Ku had resolved to fight to the bitter end. Unyielding, Longsun Wuji shook his head, his gaze sharp. We can delay no longer. Imperial Guard, heed my command. Prince Li Ku has been bewitched by the demon and has lost his senses. Seize him. Charge in. Rescue His Majesty. The situation spiraled out of control. Wei Zheng leaped from the coffin, leading the charge inside. Though the civil officials were unarmed, their spirit was undiminished. The military commanders followed closely, waiting for an opening. Li Ku closed his eyes. Father, I have done my utmost. Just as the tension reached its zenith, a deep, resonant chime echoed, penetrating the ears of all present. It was the Jingyang bell, a royal bell that only rang during the emperor's ceremonial rites. Everyone froze. Wei Zheng halted his advance. Longsun Wuji's hand paused midair. Li Ku immediately opened his eyes, his body relaxing in an instant. In the next moment, the heavy vermilion palace doors slowly swung open. Wei Zheng's hand rested on the coffin, prepared to leap inside at any moment. Longsun Wuji's breath caught, his eyes nearly bulging. Cheng Yaojin and Wei Qigong gripped their sword hilts tightly, their muscles taut. Li Ku pondered whether, should a swarm of armed guards emerge, he should first strike Long Sun Wuji on the left or Wei Gong on the right. All envisioned a bloody coup unfolding within the palace. As the doors parted, what emerged was not the clamor of battle or the clash of weapons, but rather a voice exclaiming, "Ouch! Slow down. Why is this threshold so high? Is it trying to crush me?" The voice was robust, laced with a hint of playful complaint. Moments later, a plump figure came into view, Princely Tai, struggling to lift an oddly shaped chair over the threshold, exclaiming to those beside him, "Elder brother, hold steady. This is, cough cough, an all-terrain war chariot. We must make our entrance with flair." Seated upon the chair was none other than the crown prince, Li Chengqian. However, his appearance at this moment was rather peculiar. His left leg was ensconced in a thick, white cocoon-like wrap, resembling that of a silkworm. Even more outrageous was the abstract depiction of a small turtle adorning the white cocoon, accompanied by the crooked inscription, "Wishing you a swift recovery." Yet, what was most astonishing was the expression upon his face. The normally brooding and sensitive prince, known for shattering cups at the slightest provocation, was now tilting his head, gazing at his brother who was puffing and straining to push a cart, wearing an expression that could only be described as one of exasperated affection, a smile that conveyed, "Though you may be inept, I am your elder brother and must indulge you." Behind them, pushing the cart was the legendary sorcerer, Prince Li Yu. Dressed in an array of eccentric garments, yet appearing spirited and lively, he was engaged in jovial conversation with Li Chengqian. At the rear, the retired Emperor Li Yuan ambled out, cradling a chipped enamel teacup, while leisurely pointing out various aspects of the palace walls to Li Shimin, who walked beside him. "Erlang, why do these palace walls appear so dilapidated? We must attend to their repair. For they lack the sophistication of even a service station's lavatory. We ought to adorn them with white, ceramic tiles. Brighten them up." Li Shimin, walking closely alongside his father, surprisingly offered his arm for support, his face adorned with that signature smile, infused with a hint of what one might call modesty, as Li Yu had taught him to express, a quality of concealing one's merits. "Father, we shall surely repair them. We will construct a grand hall with glazed windows, allowing you to bask in the sunlight daily." This family strolled leisurely out, appearing less like individuals who had just endured a harrowing ordeal of uncertainty, and more akin to those who had merely taken a jaunt to the outskirts of Chang'an for a picnic. However, what truly rendered the assembled ministers momentarily speechless was the sight of their hands intertwined. Li Shimin held Li Yuan's hand tightly, devoid of any formality between ruler and subject, nor any distance between father and son. It was reminiscent of a dutiful son, having just earned a fortune, leading his father to a temple fair in the bustling west market of Chang'an, so natural it brought tears to the eyes, so intimate it evoked trepidation. Behind them, the plump Princely Tai, burdened with a bulging backpack, resembled a jolly figure of fortune. He would occasionally produce a golden-hued wafer from his bag to feed Li Chengqian, and then a dark morsel for Li Yu. "Elder brother, open your mouth. This one is tomato-flavored, crunchy." Li Chengqian, showing no disdain, opened wide to partake, savoring the taste and licking his lips, exhibiting none of the airs befitting a prince. Amidst the silence of the crowd, an audible gulp could be heard. "Oh, everyone is here?" Li Shimin's gaze surveyed the assembly, tinged with a mischievous delight in the spectacle. The attendance was quite robust. He stepped forward a couple of paces, addressing the ministers with a drawn-out tone, "My esteemed ministers, you are indeed diligent." His voice carried a tone of playful sarcasm, reminiscent of Li Yu's sharp retorts, prompting Li Yu to lower his head, shoulders shaking, as he struggled to suppress his laughter. In recent days, in the modern realm, His Majesty Erfing has not only mastered the use of the toilet, but has also learned the art of retorting with the language of yin and yang. Li Shimin's gaze was precisely fixed upon two individuals in the front row. The first was Cheng Yaojin, who at that moment maintained an awkward stance, poised with his sword half drawn. His dark complexion had turned a shade resembling that of pig liver, and his wide eyes bulged as they darted between Li Chengqian's wheelchair and Li Yuan's thermos, clearly indicating that his mind was in turmoil. Li Shimin extended a finger, seemingly pointing at the sword that had become lodged. "You may proceed, General," he commanded. Cheng Yaojin shuddered, instinctively attempting to sheath the sword, but his hand slipped, causing the scabbard to clatter against his thigh with a sharp sound. "Your Majesty." Li Shimin's lips curled into a smirk. "That sword of yours is quite polished. Is it not? Are you preparing to slice apples for me? Or perhaps you find the threshold of the Jiada Gate too high and wish to adjust it for my convenience?" "Your Majesty." Cheng Yaojin forcefully shoved the sword back into its sheath, and, like a black bear, hastily knelt. "I, old Cheng, have come to guard the city for you." His booming voice, tinged with a note of anguish, brought forth tears, his performance reaching its zenith. "Indeed, the threshold is too high. Just now, I witnessed the crown prince being pushed out by the Prince of Yu, and the wheels were jostling. My heart ached. I was contemplating leveling it to ease the Emperor's passage. I thought I would never see you again, Your Majesty. For 3 days, I could hardly eat, losing several pounds." Around him, the martial generals twitched at the corners of their mouths. "You lost weight. Who was devouring 2 legs of lamb in the barracks yesterday?" Li Shimin snorted coldly, dismissing the old warrior's theatrics. He turned his attention to the ominous black coffin and, beside it, the figure of Wei Zhong, clad in somber white, preparing to offer a deathly admonition. At that moment, Wei Zhong was taken aback. He had envisioned countless scenarios of reunion, the Emperor imprisoned, gravely ill, or even deceased. Yet he never anticipated encountering His Majesty adorned in peculiar attire, radiating vitality, hand in hand with the retired Emperor, resembling a wealthy gentleman returning from a leisurely stroll. This sight rendered the poignant words he had prepared, those timeless admonitions, lodged in his throat, unable to be swallowed or uttered, causing his face to flush with embarrassment. Li Shimin approached the coffin with a light-hearted stride. He extended his hand and tapped the smooth cypress lid, producing a resonant sound. Qiansheng, he sighed. His tone suffused with emotion. What performance is this? I have merely prayed for the retired emperor's well-being for 3 days, and you are so eager to arrange my funeral? He bent down, leaning closer to Wei Zhang's rigid face, his eyes glinting with mischief. This coffin appears to be of fine material. You must have invested quite a sum for my farewell. Tell me, is your household in disarray? Has your wife not taken a feather duster to you? Your Majesty. Wei Zhang finally regained his composure. The mingling of embarrassment, awkwardness, and overwhelming joy rendered him utterly flustered. He leapt down from beside the coffin, momentarily disregarding decorum, and knelt directly in the muddy water that had been trampled by an unknown foot. Let us not discuss the absence of kneeling etiquette. I have been misled by you, as it is merely a daily practice that is not required, but for occasions of penance, festivals, and ancestral worship, kneeling remains essential. Yet, compared to the likes of Ma Qing, who kneels at the slightest provocation, there truly exists a vast chasm between us. He held his neck high, the stubborn vein on his forehead pulsating vigorously, his voice hoarse yet resonant, exuding a mixture of relief from surviving a calamity and a hint of grievance from being mocked. I, your humble servant, offer unwavering loyalty. Wei Zhang suddenly bowed his head, splattering mud upon his grizzled beard. I believe that your Majesty had met with misfortune, harmed by treacherous individuals. I have come to deliver my deathly admonition. This coffin is not meant for your Majesty. It is prepared for myself. He raised his head, tears streaming down his face, pointing at the coffin. If your Majesty does not return, I shall perish right here before the gate of Jiada, with my fervent blood. I shall report to the late emperor, no, to the supreme emperor, nay, to our illustrious ancestors. Enough, enough, Li Shimin waved his hand. I am aware of your loyalty. Even if you were to place a dagger at my throat, I would know your intent is to groom me. He recalled the words Li Yu had taught him in the carriage, gazing at the ministers brandishing weapons and surrounding the coffin, unable to suppress a bemused smile that bore the essence of a country bumpkin's mystique. However, dear ministers, your tactics are truly elaborate. He gestured toward the gate of Jiada behind him. Had I delayed my emergence any longer, would you have dismantled the imperial palace? Would you have turned the city of Chang'an upside down? We deserve death. The 4 words seemed to activate some hidden switch. Regardless of whether they were civil officials or military generals, chancellors or minor clerks, the hundreds of individuals finally emerged from their stupor. Fear, guilt, trepidation, and surprise mingled together, manifesting as a synchronized bow. The once formidable military generals now lowered their heads, wishing to bury themselves in their garments, their weapons cast far aside. Meanwhile, the civil officials exhaled deeply, some even collapsing to the ground, gasping for breath. Chapter 86. A row of seats. The emperor was neither dead nor mad. Albeit his speech bore an unusual tone. The supreme emperor was not imprisoned. In fact, he appeared healthier than anyone else. The sky over the Tang dynasty had not fallen. A bunch of old fools. Li Shimin chuckled reproachfully. He turned and strode down the steps, approaching Li Ku directly. Li Ku maintained his stance with the dagger, his face streaked with tears and smeared with mud, a pitiful sight that evoked sympathy. Father, Li Ku's voice trembled. A strong hand firmly supported his arm. Sailing. Li Shimin gazed upon his son, typically so spirited, now weeping like a child, his expression softening. He had studied history in modern times and knew the fate that awaited this son after his death, realizing the immense pressure he had just endured. Well done. Li Shimin firmly patted Li Ku's shoulder, his voice deep and resonant, audible only to the two of them. You have not brought shame upon me. You have borne the weight of this regency well. In an instant, this single statement shattered the last string of composure in Li Ku. He fell into Li Shimin's embrace, weeping uncontrollably, releasing all the grievances that had built up within him. Li Shimin allowed him to cry for a moment before pushing him away with mild disdain, primarily concerned about the possibility of snot staining his garments. Enough. You are no longer a child. Do you fear your brothers will mock you? He gestured toward the back, where Li Chengxian sat in a wheelchair, giving Li Ku a thumbs up, his smile warm. Li Tai, with half a potato chip in his mouth, mumbled indistinctly, third brother. Impressive. Li Yu blinked and saluted with 2 fingers. Li Shimin turned to face the assembled ministers and military officials. Since you are all present, let us not disperse. He glanced at the sky. The sunlight was just right. Perfect. There is no need to return home to change. We shall proceed directly to the Taiji Hall for the morning assembly. The ministers were taken aback. Changsun Wuji looked at the muddy hem of his robe. Wei Zhang glanced at the enormous coffin behind him, and Cheng Yaojin surveyed his full armor. This is utterly inappropriate, Your Majesty, Fang Xianling said with a grimace, stepping forward with a tablet in hand. This is against protocol. We appear in disarray and bearing weapons and a coffin to the court. If word of this gets out, it would be the subject of ridicule throughout the realm. Ridicule? Li Shimin raised an eyebrow. I do not find fault with you. Why do you take offense? He approached Wei Zhang's coffin and audaciously patted its lid. What of armor? What of carrying a coffin? This is loyalty. This is deathly counsel. This is the most beautiful spectacle of the Tang dynasty. However, he added, after the assembly, there will be penalties. Each of you has behaved quite improperly. As for that coffin, Wei Xuanqing, do not discard it. Summon a few strong men to carry it into the court alongside us. At these words, what had initially seemed a breach of decorum transformed into an emblem of honor. Wei Zhang's excitement made his beard tremble, and he longed to carry the coffin in celebration. Thus, an unprecedented and comical scene unfolded in the history of the Tang dynasty and indeed, in Chinese history. At the forefront of the procession were not ceremonial troops nor the imperial guards, but the retired Emperor Li Yuan and Emperor Li Shimin, walking side by side rather than in their customary one before the other formation. In an absurd twist, Li Shimin still grasped Li Yuan's sleeve. As they walked, Li Yuan sipped goji berry tea, humming an unfamiliar tune. Following them was Prince Li Yu, pushing a wheelchair, in which Crown Prince Li Chengqian sat. No longer with his head bowed, but standing tall. Li Tai, like a cheerful George, trailed behind with a backpack, bustling about to offer snacks and water to the two. Behind them followed a disheveled group of ministers, their clothes muddied and stained. The military officials, clad in heavy armor, clanked as they walked, resembling a group returning from a recent skirmish. Cheng Yaojin strode forward with exuberance, his muddy attire resembling a badge of honor. The civil officials, clutching their tablets, followed closely, navigating with a mixture of confidence and trepidation. Fang Xianling lamented the loss of his abacus beads that had fallen to the ground. At the center of the procession, a dark, lacquered coffin was prominently carried. For guards of the Jinwei, panting with exertion, bore the weight, while Wei Zheng walked beside the coffin, standing tall and proud, as if escorting a rare treasure. This grand entourage passed through the Jidemen, traversed the imperial path, and made its way towards the Taiji Hall. The palace guards along the way stared in disbelief, eyes nearly popping from their sockets. Was the retired emperor and the current sovereign sharing laughter? Was the crown prince seated in a wheeled iron chair? And was there a prince munching as he walked? Not to mention the coffin trailing behind. Had it not been for the commanding aura and the familiar faces of chancellors and generals, they might have mistaken this for a troupe of actors invading the palace. What's the matter? Cheng Yaojin chided, slapping the helmet of a wide-eyed guard as he passed by. At the Taiji Hall, the heavy black cypress coffin swayed slightly on the shoulders of the 4 Jinwei guards before it thudded heavily onto the steps of the hall. Adjacent to the pristine white marble, Wei Zheng refused to allow it inside but insisted it be placed at the entrance, in a position where the emperor could easily see it. Inside the hall, the civil and military officials stood in 2 lines according to their ranks. Yet today's procession was a chaotic sight. On the right side, the military officials were in disarray. Cheng Yaojin's gleaming armor was splattered with mud, and as he walked, the armor clattered noisily, reminiscent of a wild boar that had just emerged from a mire. Yu Qigong instinctively gripped the hilt of his sword, his eyes darting anxiously toward the entrance. On the left, among the civil officials, Fang Xuanling's official hat sat askew, his palm slick with perspiration as he held his tablet. Changsun Wuji's expression was as dark as a stormy sea, his hand clutching a string of prayer beads concealed within his sleeve. Wang De and Li Shimin reached the steps of the throne and abruptly halted, Li Shimin pointing at the elevated dragon throne with an air of casual authority, as if instructing a servant to fetch a chair. Go, bring me another chair. It should be soft and spacious, positioned beside my dragon throne. Wang De was momentarily taken aback. Your Majesty, this. Li Shimin frowned. Did you not notice the elder's difficulty in standing? Yes, yes. Wang De quickly commanded several young eunuchs to bring forth a large, soft-cushioned Zeton chair from the inner hall, placing it beside the dragon throne, not at a lower position, nor to the side, but truly side by side. This action caused the left eyelids of the ministers below to twitch uncontrollably. Chapter 87. The retired emperor's endorsement, the dual sovereigns at court, to be seated equally? Li Shimin supported Li Yuan as they ascended the steps to the throne. Take care. Father, the steps are steep. Enough, Erlang. I am not so frail as to be unable to walk. Li Yuan retorted, though his body leaned heavily against Li Shimin, who helped him settle comfortably into the soft chair, shifting slightly for ease. Meanwhile, Li Shimin assertively took his place upon the dragon throne. He did not maintain his usual aloofness. Instead, he leaned forward, his hands crossed over his knees, gazing down with a playful glint in his eyes at the petrified ministers below. Meanwhile, Li Yu, pushing the wheelchair, casually stood at the lower left of the imperial steps, a position typically reserved for the crown prince. The silence within the grand hall endured for a full 3 breaths. Then, suddenly, Your Majesty, Wei Zheng moved. He did not temper his words simply because the coffin remained outside the hall. On the contrary, the sight of Li Shimin's disheveled appearance only ignited the wrath of the foremost advisor of the Tang dynasty. He stepped out of the ranks, his boots thudding heavily against the golden bricks. He did not glance at Li Yuan or Li Shimin. Instead, his unwavering gaze was fixed on Li Yu, who was still toying with a lighter at the lower left. Minister Wei Zheng, I hereby impeach Prince Yu Liu. Wei Zheng's voice rang sharp and clear. Your Majesty has been missing for 3 days. We have been consumed with worry. We feared the worst, and I prepared a coffin, ready to follow you to the underworld. Yet, to our shock, Your Majesty has been ensnared by this sorcerer, engaging in such absurdities. He raised his tablet with a flourish, pointing directly at Li Yu. This man. His origins are shrouded in mystery, his movements furtive. Upon entering Chang'an, he stirred up chaos. In these past days, he has led Your Majesty to sever all ties, resulting in the neglect of state affairs and the paralysis of the 6 ministries. Now that you return, Your Majesty, both you and the retired emperor display no semblance of dignity, all tainted by this man's sorcery. This is witchcraft. This is the root of national discord. This is the calamity of the Tang dynasty. Wei Zheng's words pierced deeply. With his impeachment, Changsun Wuji, who had been holding back his fury, also stepped forward. I second this motion. Changsun Wuji's countenance was grim, his gaze sharp as a blade. Your Majesty, this man employs nefarious methods. Let us not even mention the crown prince's movable chair. The repeated suspensions of court sessions surely indicate that this man has used his cunning tricks to blind your discernment. If we do not investigate thoroughly, The very foundation of the Tang dynasty may be at stake. We second the motion. We beseech your majesty to eradicate this sorcerer, to restore clarity. The hall erupted with a chorus of voices, a multitude kneeling in submission. Fang Xianling, though silent, also knelt, his expression complex. Cheng Yaojin exchanged glances with Yu Qigong. Though no words were spoken, they gripped their sword hilts more tightly. This was the bureaucratic elite of the Tang. They could tolerate the emperor's flaws, endure political strife. But they could not abide an uncontrollable variable standing at the pinnacle of power. It was a visceral rejection. Faced with this overwhelming tide of accusations and hostility, Li Yu appeared utterly unfazed. Bored, he yawned, extracted a piece of chocolate from his pocket, unwrapped the foil, broke it in half, and casually offered one half to Li Chengxian in the wheelchair beside him. Here, Hai Ming, care for a bite? A little extra energy. For it seems it will get rather noisy shortly. Li Chengxian accepted the offering with a smile, unhesitatingly popping it into his mouth. This scene only served to further incite Wei Zheng's fury. Crown Prince, how dare you indulge in such personal amusements amidst the court? With a sharp crack, a sound resonated from the imperial steps. It was the sound of a porcelain cup crashing heavily onto the imperial table. Suddenly, the languid Emperor Li Yuan, who had been sitting idly, stood up. Though aged, when he straightened his back, the ferocity he had once clawed from the depths of bloodshed, along with the imperial aura that established the Tang dynasty, instantly enveloped the entire hall. Wei Xuanqing, Li Yuan's voice was not loud. Yet every word seemed to be squeezed from between clenched teeth, carrying a chilling menace. Whom did you just insult as a demon sorcerer? Wei Zheng was taken aback, and with a stiff neck replied, Your Majesty, I was referring to that seducer of the sovereign with an obscure background. Silence. He pointed at Wei Zheng below. You old fool, look closely. Li Yuan pointed towards Li Yu, his voice brimming with protective fervor, even tinged with a hint of sorrow. Behold these features. Observe the nose. Is this a demon sorcerer? This is my grandson. He is the offspring of my unfortunate third son, Xian Ba, Li Yuan Ba. At this proclamation, the ministers stirred restlessly. Your Majesty, we understand that Li Yu has been conferred the title of Prince of Yu, as Long-Sun Wuji stated. But Wei Huai Wang died young, without marriage, and thus has no descendants. The genealogical records of the Imperial Clan Bureau clearly state this. The Imperial Clan Bureau knows nothing. Li Yuan spat vehemently, completely disregarding his imperial dignity. Back when Xian Ba roamed the realm, I tacitly permitted it. He has left behind a lineage. How could I be unaware? I personally verified the birthmark on this child. I have witnessed the divine strength he possesses. He is truly a spitting image of Xian Ba. With reddened eyes, Li Yuan descended from the throne, seizing Li Yu's hand and clasping it tightly in his palm, fearing that if he loosened his grip, this long-lost grandson would vanish again. This child has wandered among the common folk for 20 years. His voice trembled with emotion as he addressed the assembled officials. He has endured countless hardships, finally found, to return to his roots. I have yet to properly cherish him. And you, a bunch of ungrateful wretches. You call him a demon and disrupt the state. What is it? Do you intend to force this old man to be buried outside the Jiada Gate? Wei Zheng stood in the center of the hall, like a desiccated bamboo stalk, both dry and obstinate. The dark cypress coffin still lay outside the hall, the wind causing the lid to creak ominously, sending chills down his spine. He understood that on the matter of lineage, the Emperor Li Yuan had resolutely closed off all avenues in the most tyrannical manner. Yet, he could not retreat. He was Wei Zheng. He was the solitary valiant spirit of the Tang dynasty. Thus, he tidied his attire, besmirched with mud, and bowed solemnly before Emperor Li Shimin, who sat at the imperial desk alongside Li Yuan. Even if Prince Yu's lineage were indeed true, being a descendant of Prince Wei Huai, acknowledging one's ancestry would be a fortunate event for the royal family. He then raised his head, shifting the topic. However, it remains a fact that the emperor has neglected state affairs these past few days due to the Prince Yu. As a member of the imperial family, the prince should comprehend the importance of decorum and adherence to the law. The emperor publicly declared his 3 days of prayer at the Qingguang Hall. Yet during these 3 days, the hall remained shut tight, devoid of any human presence or the sound of scriptures being chanted. Wei Zheng stepped forward, his boots thudding heavily on the golden bricks. I dare to inquire, during these 3 days, was the emperor truly engaged in prayer? Or indulging in some arcane pursuit of immortality? Has the Prince Yu lectured the emperor on doctrines, or merely entranced him with beguilements? If not sorcery, why is the emperor's demeanor so drastically altered? Why do we witness the peculiarities of the Grand Emperor? This is flattery towards the sovereign. This is the inception of political turmoil. If there is no punishment, how shall peace be secured in the realm? Flattery? Sorcery? Before Li Shimin could respond, the voice of Crown Prince Li Chengqian suddenly resonated. Lord Xuanqing, your words are excessive. Though his tone was modest, it bore an unprecedented steadiness. Do you claim that Prince Yu is a sorcerer? Do you assert that we engaged in the practice of sorcery within the Qingguang Hall? Li Chengqian smiled faintly, an expression of serene comprehension. He extended his hand, lifting the blanket draped over his legs. With a rustle, the blanket fell away. All eyes, including those of the ministers who had previously buried their heads in the sand, fixated upon his legs. Esteemed officials, do you know what this is? Li Chengqian gently tapped the rigid plaster, producing a hollow sound. These past 3 days, I, along with my father and grandfather, was indeed at Qingguang Hall. However, we were not practicing the art of immortality. Li Chengqian raised his gaze, calmly surveying Wei Zheng's face, his eyes devoid of reproach, filled instead with an earnestness that captivated the heart. In order to cure the affliction I have endured for many years, my brother Prince Yu devoted great effort, employing the profound skills he acquired in seclusion. With hammer and chisel, he forcibly broke my misaligned bone. Then, painstakingly, he realigned it. Finally, he secured it with this plaster. Li Chengqian's voice was gentle, yet each word struck like a hammer upon the heart. Lord Xuanqing, the pain was akin to 1,000 ants gnawing at my bones. Akin to a saw tearing flesh. I fainted thrice from the agony, only to awaken thrice anew. Yet, during these 3 days, I found them to be the clearest days of my life. He inhaled deeply, and his demeanor suddenly transformed, no longer that of a gloomy invalid, but subtly exuding the dignity of a crown prince. For my brother has stated, once the bone is mended, in 3 months' time, when the plaster is removed, that shall be the moment I rise anew. I shall walk as a normal person, ride and shoot arrows like my father, and stand to receive the respect of all officials. Li Chengqian gazed directly at Wei Zhong, his eyes clear. The classic of filial piety states, our bodies, hair, and skin are received from our parents.